From what I was hearing from Tulsi Gabbard's stuff, if I'm not misunderstanding, it really, really, really sounds like Tulsi Gabbard is throwing the White House under the bus significantly. That's what I heard. When somebody asks you, like, did you guys assess that Iran was an imminent threat to the United States? And she says, the intelligence community is responsible for putting together all sorts of stuff. We don't assess whether or not something is immediately a threat or whatever. That's up to the president. Like, when she was saying that over and over and over again, what's being communicated in my mind is this was a decision that was solely made by the White House. It did not come from the intelligence community, which is a pretty big... Can we watch Desai's video on it? Does he point this out? Feels
like for you, first of all, to be back in Washington.
Oh, man.
Did Desai get a tan? Here. Oh, maybe it was this. Hold on.
That only the president, yesterday you said that only the president, the only person who can determine what is an imminent threat is the president of the United States.
The only thing that makes me second guess my interpretation is it seems like the people questioning her weren't picking up on this. But so maybe I could be wrong. And I feel like they would know, but I don't know.
Yesterday you said that only the president, the only person who can determine what is an imminent threat is the president of the United States. Do you stand by that statement?
Yes, I do.
Director Ratcliffe, do you agree with that assessment? That the president is the only person that can determine if something is an imminent threat or not?
To me, it sounds like she's just really afraid to say outright, we did not tell the president the threat was imminent, which does what you said, but also dissolves any trust in her position. I disagree. Taking her at her word and then reading between the lines, I don't know if you say reading between the lines. It sounds like what she's saying is that the intelligence community, I need to find the exact line of questioning. I listened to it with Mooten. I don't think it was on stream, but somebody was asking, like it was a clear line of questioning. Did you blow up all of Iran's nuclear reactors? Yes. Did you really obliterate their facilities? Yes. And do you think there was an imminent threat? The president decides that. That sounds to me like you're saying, we said shit was fucked. We were fine on it. Everything was good. Iran was nowhere near anything. The president's the one who decides whether... That's what I heard when she was speaking. But I don't remember I don't know which part of it we were listening to, or if Mooten had the link to that. I think I was just watching their stream when he was watching it. Oh, it might have been when Ossoff was questioning her, actually.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. Before I
we'll just listen to his whole line of questioning, I guess.
A few questions. I want to call everyone's attention again to this fundraising email signed by the president that Senator Kelly mentioned earlier.
These are crazy, bro.
In which the president of the United States invites his campaign donors to, quote, claim your spot, join now to receive private national security briefings, to his political donors, featuring a photo of the president at a dignified transfer ceremony with a flag-draped coffin of an American service member killed in action returning to their family. And the American people need to know that the president of the United States is fundraising for his political campaign and his...
Tulsi Gabbard just doesn't know how to spin this. I disagree. I hate her, but I think if she needed to spin this, I think she could. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because I feel like my analysis was bolstered by, if it's even true, but if it's not true, then forget everything I'm about to say. Laura Loomer today was tweeting out that Gabbard is on her way out, but maybe Loomer's just trying to create pressure, or maybe, I don't know if she just tweets random shit or whatever. Dude, people that use Twitter this much, this is not healthy. What do these people do all day? I get paid to do this shit and I don't tweet this much. The fuck? Scoop. You know it's true because she put scoop. Tulsi Gabbard's political staff expect that she is about to resign following the resignation of her colleague, Joe Kent, 16 Jan 19. But I don't know. I would wait for other people to report on that for it to see if any of this is true or not, I guess.
PAC using images of American service members killed in action, and it's a disgrace. Now, Director Gabbard, I'd like to reground this in your core responsibilities. Under the law, you are responsible for providing national intelligence to the president, correct?
Yes.
And to the heads of executive branch departments and agencies, yes?
Yes.
And to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and senior military commanders?
Do they need to spin anything at this point? Yes, because I think the writing is on the wall that this is not a popular war. I can't tell you. I can't give you a state of mind or predict. I really don't know. I don't know.
Across the IC, yes.
And to the Senate and the House and relevant committees, correct?
Yes.
And the law states that the national intelligence you provide to Congress, quote, should be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations, correct?
Yes.
And you noted in your opening statement you're here fulfilling a statutory responsibility and that your testimony, quote, represents the IC's assessment of threats,
That's right.
correct? That opening statement, as submitted to the committee in advance of this hearing, stated that as a result of last summer's airstrikes, quote, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated, end quote, correct?
That's right.
Now, don't always think about what they say. Think about what they're not saying, right? Now, again, these people aren't stupid. So she knows where this line of questioning is going. Now, if this was like a Christy Nome or Pam Bondi or whatever other bullshit, one of these other fucking stooges who's up here, right? If they were said, you guys said correct that you obliterated Iran's nuclear capability, correct? Instead of just saying correct, they would say, yes, but they could still be working on something. We obliterated what was there at the time, right? They could say a whole bunch more, but she doesn't. She gives a crystal clear, yes, it was destroyed. Yes.
Quote, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated.
Obliterated. The nuclear enrichment program, not just their warheads, not just the bomb, but their enrichment program was obliterated.
End quote, correct?
That's right.
And is that in fact the assessment of the intelligence community?
Yes.
Yes. That's it. Yes. Nothing else. Yes. Just yes. That's it.
So the assessment of the intelligence community is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated by last summer's airstrikes.
Yes.
That's it. Yes.
And the opening statement you submitted to the committee last night also stated, quote, there has been no effort since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And that's
That's it. No effort to rebuild.
the assessment of the intelligence community.
Yes.
Yes.
The White House stated on March 1st of this year that this war was launched and was, quote, a military campaign to eliminate the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, end quote. That's a statement from the White House. Quote, the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime. Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was an imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime?
There are a million ways that she could answer this question. She could just meander to other facts. Well, Iran has been hostile in the past. They could, try to get weapons again. We know they were trying to reacquire them, or they were rebuilding, or we don't know where all the nuclear material. There's a million ways that she could answer that question if she was trying to provide any cover whatsoever for Washington. Right? There's a million ways she could answer this question.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was an imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime?
The intelligence community assessed that Iran maintained the intention to rebuild and to continue to grow their nuclear enrichment capability.
Was it the
They had the intention to.
assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
False.
And he-
The only person who can make that call about imminent threat is Trump. That is a total shuffle of responsibility to that decision. All of that is on Trump. In my opinion, especially given how much every cabinet level loser has carried water for Trump, that is a crazy you to the White House to just totally, because it doesn't sound to me, now maybe in other parts of this hearing, maybe I changed my mind, I've listened to the whole thing, maybe in other parts here she's more supportive of Trump, but this sounds to me like a complete and total, we gave him the intel, I said what the fuck I said, whether or not he thinks we're going to get blown up, that's on him to figure out. We didn't say shit about that.
This is
made
the
that
worldwide. This is the
determination.
worldwide threat.
This is exactly what Trump wants. He has the power to decide is how he sees it. I disagree. I think it's what Trump wants in reality, but in presence to the media, I think Trump wants other people to kind of like take some bullets for him or to shuffle the responsibility around, especially with this war being so unpopular, right?
Threats hearing where you present to Congress national intelligence, timely, objective, and independent of political considerations. You've stated today that the intelligence community's assessment is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated and that, quote, there had been no efforts since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. Was it the intelligence community's assessment that nevertheless, despite this obliteration, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat?
It's not unpopular for the people that vote Republican. I think that overall with the American people, it's very unpopular. I think Republicans have kind of sort of supported it, but less than they have other things in the past. Give me polling data for Republicans right now and how they feel about it. Also, it won't survive the gas price hikes. It won't. The opinion will not survive that.
Threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
Okay.
That is up to
Here's
the
the
president
problem.
based on a volume
No,
of
it is
information
precisely
that he receives.
it is precisely your responsibility to determine what constitutes a threat to the United States.
It absolutely is the responsibility of the intelligence community. It absolutely is. Like, obviously, this is part of your IC. This is part of your threat assessments, right? For presidential briefings and everything else. Of course it is. You would never leave this up to just the president. Now, it might be the president's final call to act, but
This is the worldwide threats hearing where, as you noted in your opening testimony.
Tulsi is just saying it in a way that will make Trump happy because he hears that he's the boss on I disagree. I totally disagree. But who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe I'm looking at this completely differently. I feel like this is throwing him under the bus completely on this.
Quote, you represent the IC's assessment of threats. You are here to represent the IC's assessment of threats. That's a quote from your own opening statement. And so my question is, as you're here to present the IC's assessment of threats, was it the assessment of the intelligence community that, as the White House claimed on March 1st, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
Once again,
Well, look who it is.
Stream.
and Senator, the intelligence community has
What'd I miss?
provided the
I'm just rewatching this Tulsi Gabbard thing.
inputs that make up this
It's a
annual
fucking
threat
cinema,
assessment.
isn't it?
You want to answer the
And
question?
She is throwing her
nature
under the
of
bus.
the-
You were correct.
Wait, why are you saying I was correct? Did something come out to prove my point?
I sent you
The
3
Laura Loomer
links.
thing?
That kinda, but I sent you 2 other links of this hearing, and she kinda did another Donald Trump bad-esque move.
Shit. Okay, I'll check. Hold on.
Imminent threat that the president has to make that determination based on a collection and volume
You're here
of
to be
information and
timely.
intelligence that he is
you're here-
provided with.
You're here to be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations.
Exactly.
I don't think he's ashamed of being responsible for this war, considering he uses literally every opportunity in front of a camera talking about the war. Yeah, but you don't want the impression that like your top cabinet people are not supporting you on it, and this is not a supportive decision. Or she's not giving supportive statements.
Exactly what I'm doing.
No, you're evading a question because to provide a candid response to the committee would contradict a statement from the White House. Let me ask you about your presence in Fulton County on January 28th of this year.
Now that was weird.
You were present at the FBI's raid on the Fulton County Elections Office on January 28th, correct?
I was present for part of the FBI exercising a warrant approved by a municipal judge.
Yes, and the FBI was there executing. The
investigation.
FBI was there executing that warrant to seize ballots and materials associated with the 2020 election, correct?
Yes.
And are you aware that members of this committee have already opened inquiries into your election-related activities?
Yes.
And are you aware that your general counsel and deputy general counsel have already provided testimony to this committee regarding those activities?
Yes.
On February 2nd, you sent a letter to Senator Warner regarding your...
If she is throwing Trump under the bus, why isn't Ossoff playing along? Genuine question. I actually don't know. That's the only thing that makes me second guess.
I don't think it's super obvious, and I think he's just going down his line of questioning.
Yeah,
in my
usually
opinion.
these guys have their line of questioning written down prior to coming into here. Like they're reading off papers and everything, yeah.
But also, he probably
presence at
wants
the-
a harder response, right? But she can't. I mean, you can't really do that. She's doing it enough. I agree.
Sure. Well, technically, if she wasn't a Republican sellout piece of shit, you would hope that this person would be publicly stating, we had no reason to believe it was an imminent threat. But then, of course, she would be immediately removed from the cabinet, I guess. But, yeah.
Yeah, she'd
The
be
raid was
removed
that-
from the cabinet. But who else has like done this besides, I guess, maybe like what's his name, Tillis or whatever, who's not running for re-election? Even the people who aren't running for re-election haven't really gone full out like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I guess.
Sure.
Letter accurate?
I don't recall the exact date, but if I sent a letter that had my signature, it was accurate.
You stated in the letter that your presence at the raid was, quote, requested by the president, correct?
Yes.
When did the president request your presence at the raid?
The day of the raid, the warrant execution commencing.
The day of the raid.
Yes.
He called you on the phone?
I'm not going to disclose how the message was delivered, but it was a request from the president's administration to go and help oversee this warrant being executed along with the deputy director of the FBI.
Is it your...
Oh. Oh. I feel like I actually should watch this now. Because
You should.
I might just be autistic, or I might have totally different interpretation from everybody. This is also... I don't know if she has to say anything about what comes from the president, because there's this really broad thing that I don't understand called executive privilege. And I think it's like the Fifth Amendment, like times 20 billion. Basically anything related to the president, you can just like, executive privilege. I don't have to talk about this. I don't know if she actually has to say anything about communication between her and the president. But she's literally
her saying it's an order from the president is crazy.
Yes. She's literally saying the president of the United States is the one who ordered me to go to Fulton County to be there. Like, that's a pretty crazy statement.
The letter that
Warner regarding your presence at the raid. Was that letter accurate?
I don't recall the exact date, but if I sent a letter that had my signature, it was accurate.
You stated in the letter that your presence at the raid was, quote, requested by the president, correct?
Yes.
When did the president request your presence at the raid?
The day of the raid, the warrant
And the day of the raid, Jesus.
That's a
Okay.
crazy one too.
execution
But I
commencing.
mean, was she even in the fucking area?
I mean, she's a DNI. She could just take a... I'm sure they got like a CIA Black Ops jet or something, right? They can invoke that in court, but Congress has the power of oversight. No, the executive branch can't conceal things from the legislative branch. No, I'm pretty sure they can, right? Because I think on the J6 Select Committee stuff, a whole bunch of that, people were claiming executive privilege and stuff, right? Like Mark Meadows
said
never had to
something,
testify
too.
or anything. What?
Kafka typed too.
Executive privilege isn't that strong. They can overcome it with a sufficient showing of the need for evidence. Yeah, I guess I don't know what that sufficient showing means or how often executive privilege is overcome or...
That's probably not a hearing, though. That's probably like
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be here. It'd be
additional
another
thing.
Yeah,
So she could just claim executive privilege here and then make him like actually do that later would be my guess.
maybe. Yeah.
Request your presence at the raid.
The day of the raid, the warrant execution commencing.
The day of the raid.
Yes.
He called you on the phone?
I'm not going to disclose how the message was delivered, but it was a request from the President's administration to go and help oversee this warrant being executed along with the Deputy Director of the FBI.
Is it your
and
role to
thank
oversee-
the FBI agents who were conducting
Is it
this
your
warrant.
role to oversee the execution of criminal warrants?
It is my role, based on statute that Congress has passed, to have oversight over election security, to include counterintelligence.
But you said
to
you
include
oversaw the raid, correct? You just testified you oversaw the raid?
portions of it.
Okay. Did you handle any ballots or election-related materials?
No.
You were inside an FBI evidence truck, correct? You were photographed inside an FBI evidence
It was an
truck.
empty truck, yes.
The president stated, quote, you looked at
Senator's time
votes that
expired.
wanted to be checked out.
The
Is that
senator's
accurate?
time is expired.
Did you look at votes as the president
Senator
stated?
Ossoff, your time is expired.
You respond
can
for the
have her.
record?
No, she cannot respond
No,
because
for the record. Will the director please respond for the record to that question is my
I'm
my
happy to
question.
respond to questions for the record.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate.
Wait, she said she was happy to respond to questions.
Well, that's where the Twitter clip ends.
National Security Agency, Lieutenant General William J. Hartman, and Director of Defense Intelligence
Swap my
Agency,
screen. I don't wanna
Lieutenant
see
General
Hartman,
James
but-
H. Adams III. Thank you all for being here. It's a gross understatement to say that a lot has occurred since we met at this hearing last year. Before I address the issues I had planned, I want to address Iran. Once it was clear that diplomacy would not stop Iran from developing a nuclear weapon or holding the world under threat through ballistic missiles and terrorist networks, President Trump took decisive action to eliminate the threat. Make no mistake, Iran is committed to acquiring nuclear weapons. It's been their policy.
Do you eat with a fork and knife? No, you hold it. What are you talking about? But you don't fold a pizza. That's ridiculous.
You have to fold it if it's gonna flop.
Then you're eating bad pizza. Then why don't you eat a real piece of pizza?
No, your average pizza is so stuffed with toppings that you can barely fit it in your mouth, which means that it's going to flop no matter what.
Okay, why
So
not
how
just,
do
if you want to eat bread, just get breadsticks.
What are you talking about,
If
man?
you're
How
so
do you eat
mad
your pizza normally?
that you're putting stuff on your pizza to make it good, why are you... Oh, I can't have any toppings on my pizza. I just need to sprinkle some cheese and then eat
Respond to
my
my claim, then.
cardboard
Respond
paper.
to my claim.
What claim?
How do you eat your pizza with all those toppings?
You pick it up with your hand and you put it in your
And?
mouth and bite it.
Okay, so you're telling me your pizza doesn't flop?
Nope. It doesn't.
You're lying.
I don't
man.
eat floppy
You're lying.
pizza.
I don't
eat
know
floppy
what to
pizza.
tell you. You're lying.
I don't eat floppy pizza. Sorry.
You're lying. Okay, you can lie.
And it
That's
is
fine.
their intent. Anyone who thinks we weren't on borrowed time is refusing to acknowledge the failure of prior policies. It's a simple fact that the consecutive administrations had exhausted all other options to end this threat. Our witnesses here are tasked with providing intelligence to inform decision makers. But there's only one person in America who has the responsibility and the obligation to act when he believes there is a clear and present danger to our safety. The Commander-in-Chief has that duty, and I commend his decisiveness in this most difficult of decisions. I've been in briefings that the administration provided to all members, to this committee, and to the Gang of Eight. The classified case is
New Yorkers are literally 2 months away from just arguing that they should be able to throw their pizza in a blender and drink it, and it's going to be the same shit. Unbelievable.
clear, even if it can't be fully discussed in the open. The president made a difficult but necessary decision. My Democrat colleagues have made it clear that they don't agree. What we shouldn't disagree on is that the United States has effectively been at war with the Iranian regime for the last 47 years. The Death to
47,
America is
that's
not
the
just
number.
a slogan on a T-shirt that you
Drop.
buy at Tehran International Airport or at the campus bookstore at Columbia University. It's their ethos and their policy. They are responsible for the deaths of countless Americans. I want to thank the many service members and intelligence officers involved in Operation Epic Fury for their selfless service. For those who have lost loved ones in this fight, please know that you are in our prayers, most
Anybody
sincerely.
else who's epic out here, guys?
Your loved ones died in service to the United States of America. We honor them and you for their service. Freedom-loving people everywhere are thankful for their sacrifice. That said, there are a few other topics it's important for me to
I will
address.
say
First, after
square
4 years of Biden's
is the
wide
best pizza shape.
True. True.
I'll agree with you there.
open borders and anemic foreign policy, in just one short year, the Trump administration has secured our borders and reasserted America as a decisive leader that commands respect on the world stage.
True.
This administration has secured a stunning number of wins for the United States,
Wow.
including reasserting the importance of the Western Hemisphere and disrupting China's predatory Belt and Road activities in our neighborhood, negotiating a ceasefire in Gaza resulting in the freeing of the hostages held by the bloodthirsty Hamas terrorists, and working with our NATO partners to more than double their
doing
defense
it,
spending
dude,
against
not
pressing
me.
threats from CCP and Russia. I thank each of the witnesses here today for their parts in the reassertion of American leadership. Second, our role here is to both authorize your authorities and resources and oversee their implementation. One of those authorities is FISA 702, which expires in just over a month. The President is seeking an 18-month clean extension to provide more time to assess the implementation of the 56 reform measures included in the last.
Listen, I know people are saying that this was a thing before Trump, but I don't believe it. This obsession with calling things like clean,
Oh, clean coal and shit? Yeah, retarded.
Yeah. Oh, no, not that. That is retarded. But like when you can't pass. Did this guy flashlight me and then shoot my free kit? This obsession with calling things like a clean resolution or a clean budget or a clean thing because you can't pass a real budget, so you're just trying to pass bits and pieces, is so stupid and cringe to me. Oh my God.
Reauthorization. I'm working with the ranking member, House leadership, and Judiciary Chairman Jordan to support that request. We look forward to an update from the panel today on compliance efforts, ERISA implementation, and mission value. Third, last year, I made clear my expectation that we would work together to end the weaponization of the intelligence community, improve analytic integrity, and fix our broken counterintelligence enterprise. Many in Congress and across our nation have lost trust in the intelligence community. While we have made progress, there's still much work that remains to be done. I hope to continue working with each of you to do the hard things necessary to protect American citizens while regaining their trust. I also remain committed to tackling the issues that allow hostile foreign powers to operate so effectively against us, including within the United States. Specifically, foreign intelligence threats targeting the United States now surpass levels seen at the height of the Cold War in both scale and complexity. These threats include cyber penetrations of critical infrastructure, U.S. government systems, and private sector innovators, as well as surveillance near sensitive military installations, intelligence collection against foreign dissidents living in the United States. Like in the Cold War, where conflict often gave way to irregular operations below the level of traditional warfare, today's adversary tactics have made the homeland a contested environment. We must properly resource and reform our nation's counterintelligence enterprise to meet that threat. We must transform our approaches in order to confront adversarial intelligence services at scale, driving back operational activities in the homeland and forcing our adversaries to rethink their risk calculus for operating in the United States. Unfortunately, in recent years, the counterintelligence enterprise lost a significant amount of credibility with the American people due to the actions of those involved in cases like Crossfire Hurricane and Arctic Frost. For our intelligence community to best serve America, the CI community and the larger IC must stay out of domestic policy debates and focus on unrelenting, aggressive mission execution. For our intelligence community to best serve America, the CI community and the larger IC must stay out of those debates. Director Gabbard, I want to particularly commend your efforts in this space. Specifically, I want to thank you and President Trump for working with us to declassify the HPSI Majority Staff Report on the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment on Russian Plans and Intentions in the 2016 election. The Majority Staff Report, which had been kept from the American people for 8 years, proves that the 2017 ICA, the public genesis of the Russia collusion hoax, was a politicized document.
Wow. Its
key assessment on Putin's hopes for the 2016 election was built on, at best, abysmal analytic tradecraft, and at worst, willful political charged intentions. This was a necessary act of transparency to begin the process of rebuilding trust with the American people and the IC. But please know the challenges facing each one of you that are testifying here is not lost on this committee. Getting a large ship back on the right course is never easy. The task can certainly be challenged by unforeseen obstacles and obstructions. You know you are doing something right when all the weapons in the media's arsenal are pointed directly at you. Thank you all for pressing forward. We can walk and chew gum.
You know, the more people that call you retarded, the smarter you actually are.
Same time, and we must have our IC as aggressive as ever in pursuing its mission while holding those accountable who participated in its misuse. I thank each of you for doing this and encourage you to all keep moving on both fronts. Finally, now I want to speak to our remarkable IC workforce. I'm immensely proud of the incredible work that you do, especially over the last year, to support critical military intelligence and law enforcement operations. From Operations Midnight Hammer, Absolute Resolve, Southern Spear, and Epic Fury, to the many other operations you've conducted in the shadows with no fanfare, Americans will never be able to fully appreciate all you do to protect this nation. I think I can speak for the entire committee when I say we extend our deepest gratitude. America truly has the best of the best in our ranks. It's for this primary reason I would like to address the House Intelligence Committee's ongoing investigation into the intelligence community.
Where is my Hassan stream, Mutin? Has he streamed yet today?
Brother.
He was supposed to be streaming today.
He's still on the fucking plane, man.
He was supposed to be streaming today.
He's still on the plane, dude.
What do you think of the chances that he would just go to, like, some island in the Caribbean? How much power does Cuba have right now? Like, wouldn't it be weird? Like, imagine if he's, like, one of the only people with power, sitting with his, like, $7,000 outfit, streaming in some bougie hotel room, while everybody else is suffering on the island. Jesus.
Well, I don't think he's gonna stream because he's gonna cope. He's gonna be like, well, the bad Benado guy says he's gonna kill me.
Okay, true.
Mishandling of anomalous health incidents, also known as Havana syndrome, and the mistreatment of AHI survivors. I'm aware of the drastic increase in media reporting around.
ASU approved our event with Destiny. Then Erica Kirk shows up and complains. Hours later, it's canceled at a public university. We're suing Arizona State. What? Our shit better not be canceled. I already booked my tickets.
This issue, and I'd like to first reiterate the committee's commitment to releasing additional unclassified information. Our team has worked diligently to conduct this investigation with the utmost integrity, and we cannot be driven by outside timelines. I commit to the workforce to release additional reports as appropriate. Put simply, it's my clear opinion that individuals in the intelligence community were involved in a cover-up. Manipulating intelligence processes in a breach of Intelligence Community Directive 203 to provide a desired outcome rather than a forthright analysis to inform decision makers. Our investigation, the vast majority of which remains appropriately classified, continues to show that the intelligence community assessment was constructed upon flawed analytic tradecraft. This includes the use of study results from the National Institutes of Health that were manufactured through highly unethical means and in collaboration with individuals working for the CIA.
Whoa!
ICAs carry a great deal of weight. While typically classified, the impact is increased exponentially when declassified and released as part of public messaging effort, as was done with the AHI-ICA. As I have repeatedly stated since December of 2024, the AHI-ICA and its follow-on updates caused real, serious harm to some of our nation's bravest. Last month, I called for its immediate recall, and I reiterate my position today. According to recent media reporting, Director Gabbard, your office has said your review of the ICA will be, quote, comprehensive and complete.
What state
end
is
quote,
this
and
guy from?
that you remain committed to sharing findings from your review with the American people. Thank you for that. And separately, Director Ratcliffe, your team is also quoted in recent media reporting saying that you support the OD&I review and look forward to the report. Thank you so much for that, Director. I thank both of you for your commitment to this review's completion and publishing. This issue is complex and the underlying facts are not as simple as often portrayed in the public. No fully informed analysis will make everyone happy. That said, today I call for this review to be provided to the committee and strongly urge you to release the public whatever portion of this review can be made unclassified. This is vital to rebuilding trust moving forward. I want to thank our witnesses again for being here today. And with that, I want to recognize the distinguished ranking member, Mr. Himes, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and a big welcome to all of our witnesses. I hope that whatever else is said today, that you will convey to your workforces our deep admiration and appreciation for their diligence, their commitment, and their sacrifice.
Deep hammer.
Sometimes this moment feels a little bit like that old Billy Joel song, We Didn't Start the Fire. North Korea, Red China, war in Ukraine, Greenland, Cuba, terrorism, burning drug boats, and of course, the massive fire that we did start, our latest Middle Eastern war. Where to begin? Our national elections are about 7 months away, and plenty of Americans are worried that President Trump may indeed, as he said, take control. Meanwhile, we are not receiving the traditional indications or warnings of foreign intelligence efforts to interfere in those elections. There have been several terrorist attacks in recent weeks, and meanwhile, the FBI, our premier counterterrorism agency, has pivoted hard to immigration enforcement. But I can't begin today with anything other than that fire that we did start, Iran. The Constitution, to which every single one of us swears an oath, reserves decisions of war to the representatives of the people. And that's not ink on parchment. There are good reasons for that.
What?
First, let's start with why.
Okay.
Why did we and are we risking our blood and treasure on a deeply risky venture, one that the President of the United States and the Director of National Intelligence have spent years telling us is a terrible idea?
True. Good question. Why?
The president has said that Iran was preparing an imminent attack on the United States.
Okay.
That is not true.
Ooh.
As awful as the regime is and always has been, not one of your agencies has produced a single report saying that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States. The president also claimed that Iran would soon possess a nuclear weapon, perhaps in weeks. That is also not true. It is not supported by a single report from your agencies, and it is certainly belied by the repeated claim that Iran's nuclear capability was obliterated mere months ago.
Ooh.
Second, let's consider the consequences, as the Congress should have done. The Congress, not one man, should consider whether our constituents in uniform will live or die. The Congress, not one man, should decide if Americans will spend an additional $30 a week to fill their gas tanks. The Congress, not one man, should consider if it is wise to allow the Russians to sell their oil to India so that they have millions of dollars with which to kill the Ukrainians that we are now begging for help to defend ourselves against Iranian drones.
True.
Finally, had the administration chosen to
Where's
abide
Mr. Himes from?
by the Constitution, Congress might have considered the answer to General Petraeus's all-important question. Tell me how this ends. When the Iranian Navy is sunk and the missile launchers are destroyed and we have re-obliterated the nuclear infrastructure, do we declare victory and sail away? How do we feel about a new supreme leader who is more extreme and vicious and dedicated to the development of a nuclear weapon than the last one? Do we do a deal with him? How do we get him to open the Strait of Hormuz? Do we bomb more? And if we sail away and declare victory, are we back there 9 months from now to resink a rebuilt Navy and rebomb rebuilt missile launchers? Is this going to be an every 9-month thing, or is it going to be annual?
True.
The very core purpose of the intelligence community is to answer these questions for the president, for us, and for the American people. Right now, as we watch the dignified transfer of lost American patriots at Dover, as we watch gasoline approach $5 a gallon,
It's not good.
as we watch our allies mocking us on the world stage, we need to know.
I thought they
Were
respected
those questions
us.
asked? How did you answer them for the President of the United States? And did he listen? I understand that the administration may come to the Congress to ask for funding of $200 billion for this war.
Damn, that's a lot of money.
As you answer those questions for us today, I'd ask you to remember that old saying, if you want me there for the landing, make sure I'm there at the takeoff.
Wow, deep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
3 deep, 5 you.
Thank the gentleman for his comments. Before I turn it over to Director Gabbard, I would like to thank General Hartman for nearly 4 decades of service. I know you're retiring, I think, tomorrow. You are here. I just applaud your service to this nation and your leadership at the NSA, and thank you and wish you all the best in your retirement.
Thank you, Chairman. I think tomorrow as well.
All right. Thank you. Director Gabbard, you're recognized.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Good morning,
Gab.
Chairman Crawford, Ranking Member Himes, members. I'm here today to present the 2026 Annual Threat Assessment and joined by my colleagues, the directors of the CIA, the DIA, FBI, and NSA. This briefing is being provided in accordance with ODNI's statutory responsibility. What I'm briefing here today does not represent my personal views or opinions, but rather the assessments of the intelligence community of the threats that facing the United States, our homeland, and our interests. In this assessment, we're following the structure of priorities that were laid out in the President's national security strategy, starting with threats to our homeland, then shifting to global risks. The defense of our homeland is of the utmost importance to the American people, and efforts by this administration over the last year to bolster homeland defense have yielded significantly positive results. For example, the strict enforcement of U.S. policies at the U.S.-Mexico border and regionally have served as a deterrent and drastically reduced illegal immigration. Based on Customs and Border Patrol data, January 2026's monthly encounters are down 83.8% compared to January of 2025. The drivers of migration are likely to continue. Potential worsening instability in countries like Cuba and Haiti risk triggering migration surges. Smugglers who often operate as transnational criminal organizations view chaos as an opportunity for profit and will likely continue to profit from these illegal immigration flows. These TCOs continue to pose a daily and direct threat to the health and safety of millions of U.S. citizens, primarily by producing and trafficking in illegal drugs. Under President Trump's leadership, fentanyl overdose deaths have seen a 30% decrease from September of 2024 to September of 2025. His aggressive efforts to more directly and actively target these transnational criminal organizations and reduce the inflow of fentanyl precursors has already had a significant
How are we going to power the
impact, which
fent
is likely to
reactors
continue.
if we're not getting any more?
Mexico-based transnational criminal organizations like the Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New
Notice I should compare it specifically to January 25th. Wait, what do you mean by that? What's the significance of that? Reporting to FENTCOM. True. Oh, you mean January 2025?
Generation Cartel dominate the production and smuggling of fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine into the United States. Colombia-based TCOs and illegal armed groups like the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia and the National Liberation Army are responsible for producing and trafficking large volumes of cocaine into the U.S. and European markets, with some indicators that they are now attempting to expand to the Asia-Pacific region.
Damn.
Colombia remains the world's largest producer of cocaine, and Colombian criminal groups have expanded their trafficking relationships with neighboring Ecuadorian and Brazilian gangs. MS-13 is well established in cells in the United States and uses violence to intimidate the Salvadoran diaspora, engaging in murder, extortion, retail drug trafficking, firearms offenses, and prostitution, fueling increased violence and instability. These and other TCOs present a very tangible and individualized risk of violent crime to everyday Americans and contribute to regional instability. As the president increases counter-drug and counter-cartel pressures, they are likely to seek ways to try to adapt their operations, including shifting and decentralizing production locations and trafficking routes and methods. The United States continues to face a complex and evolving threat landscape with a geographically diverse set of Islamist terrorist actors seeking to propagate their ideology globally and harm Americans.
Not good.
Even as Al-Qaeda and ISIS organizationally remain weaker today.
Hassan claims that he flew to Miami, then flew in a fully chartered plane to Cuba. The one that we just saw, or are there multiple fully chartered planes leaving today to Cuba? Because he would definitely have been in that video. Unless he's like telling people like, start the video here. I don't want to be on anybody's social media, which would be funny in and of itself, but he said it was full of activists and politicians. Okay. We'll watch some later. I don't need to play-by-play of everything going on Hassan's stream. Thank you, though.
They were at their respective peaks. The spread of Islamist ideology, in some cases led by individuals and organizations associated with the Muslim Brotherhood, pose a fundamental threat to freedom and foundational principles that underpin Western civilization.
We've got a
These
tweet?
Islamist groups and individuals use
we
this
do have a
ideology
tweet.
for recruiting
Okay,
and
that's
financial
good. So
support
he
for
is in
terrorist
Cuba.
groups
Okay.
and individuals around the world, and to advance their political objectives of establishing an Islamist caliphate which governs based on Sharia. There are increasing examples of this in various European countries. President Trump's designation of certain chapters of the Muslim Brotherhood as foreign terrorist organizations is a mechanism to secure Americans against this threat. In response to setbacks of their capabilities of conducting large-scale complex attacks, the IC assesses that Islamist terrorist groups have shifted towards focusing on executing information operations to spread propaganda and inspire or enable individuals located
Mr.
in
Moten.
or with access to the West. U.S. counterterrorism operations are ongoing, primarily in Iraq, Somalia, Yemen, and Syria, and have removed key terrorist leaders and operatives, degrading the ability of al-Qaeda and ISIS to quickly reconstitute its leadership and launch large-scale attacks against the homeland.
The homeland.
Strict U.S. border enforcement measures and increased deportations of individuals with suspected links to Islamist terrorists have reduced access to the homeland and removed some potential sources of future terror attacks. Since January, U.S. officials have only had a handful of encounters at our borders with individuals associated with terrorist groups. This is a positive trend. However, our interagency coordinated efforts to identify, locate, and remove known or suspected terrorists who are already in the U.S. continues with vigilance.
Okay.
In 2025, there were at least 3 Islamist terrorist attacks in the U.S. Law enforcement disrupted at least 15 U.S.-based Islamist terrorist plotters. Roughly half of last year's...
In 2025, there were at least... She said there were 3 Islamist attacks in the U.S. What is she referring to here? I know we had the... Are we just accounting everybody that was anywhere near associated with Muslim or Islam shit? Like, there was the one where the 2 National Guard people were shot and killed. But, like, do we know... Was that, like, an Islamist thing or whatever? Or... The New Orleans thing? I don't even remember the New Orleans thing. Fuck me. List of terrorist incidents in 2025. Your keyboard is so not balanced. I can tell it's not. I can tell it's rocking.
It is, man.
I can tell it's rocking. I can tell it's rocking. I hate you.
It's because my mic is on the desk.
No, I hate you. A 42-year-old man inspired by the Islamic State drove a rented... Oh, okay. That counts, I guess. Damn, I don't even remember this. January 1st, killing 14 people. This was 3 months ago? No, this was a year and 3 months ago. Not good.
Or you.
What? And then what are the
What was your
other...
question?
When she says 3 Islamist terrorist attacks in 2025, I'm curious what she's referring to. Jesus.
The one on Austin Street?
A car bomb detonated at the entrance of a fertility clinic in Palm Springs, California, killing 1 person and injuring 4 others. Was this a guy who... He was the only... Oh. The perpetrator was identified as Guy Edwards Bartkus, a 25-year-old man from 29 Palms, California. He was the only person killed in the attack. Yikes, dipshit. And his motives stemmed from ideologies that included an anti-pro-life ideology, as well as pro-mortalist and anti-natalist beliefs. Okay, Jesus. The anti-natalists are out here doing terror attacks? Pro-mortalism, a philosophical belief that holds that it is better for being to die rather than continue living. Okay. Jesus. If I recall, he didn't want to kill anyone. Well, he did. Boulder, Colorado, United States. Mohammed Sabri Solomon, A male Egyptian living in Colorado allegedly used a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails to attack a group participating in a solidarity walk for hostages taken from Israel during an October 7th attack. What are the three Islamist terrorist attacks? Okay, I don't know, whatever.
Disrupted plotters had some online contact with Islamist terrorists inspired by Islamist foreign terrorist organizations abroad. Al-Qaeda and ISIS pose the biggest threat to U.S. interests overseas in parts of Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, where these groups operate. In the Middle East, AQAP in Yemen, ISIS-K in South Asia, and ISIS in Syria are among the most likely groups conducting external plotting.
What?
ISIS in Syria specifically is likely seeking to rebuild its ranks, expand support networks, and solicit funds by re-engaging with and recruiting from the likely hundreds of ISIS detainees and thousands of ISIS-linked women and children who escaped or were released from prisons and displaced persons camps. Meanwhile, state actors present a risk broader in scope by seeking new capabilities in kinetic and cyber warfare. The U.S. secure nuclear deterrent continues to ensure safety in the homeland against strategic threats. However, the IC assesses that Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and Pakistan have been researching and developing an array of novel, advanced, or traditional missile delivery systems with nuclear and conventional payloads that put our homeland within range. The IC assesses that threats to the homeland will expand collectively to more than 16,000 missiles by 2035, from the current assessed figure of more than 3,000 missiles. The IC assesses that China and Russia are developing advanced delivery systems meant to be capable of penetrating or bypassing U.S. missile defenses. North Korea's ICBMs can already reach U.S. soil. The IC assesses that it is committed to expanding its nuclear arsenal. Pakistan's long-range ballistic missile development potentially could include ICBMs with range capable of striking the homeland. The IC assesses that Iran has previously demonstrated space launch and other technology it could use to begin to develop a militarily viable ICBM before 2035, should Tehran attempt to pursue the capability. However, these assessments will be observed and updated as the full impact of Operation Epic Fury's devastating strikes on Iran's missile production facilities, stockpiles, and launch capabilities is determined. Shifting to the cyber domain, the IC assesses that China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and non-state ransomware groups will continue to seek to compromise U.S. government and private sector networks, as well as critical infrastructure, to collect intelligence and create options for future disruption and for financial gain. The IC assesses China and Russia present the most persistent and active threats and are continuing R&D efforts. North Korea's cyber program is sophisticated and agile. In 2025 alone, North Korea's cryptocurrency heist probably stole $2 billion, which is helping to fund the regime, including further development of its strategic weapons program. Financially or ideologically motivated non-state actors are becoming more bold, with ransomware groups shifting to faster, high-volume attacks that are harder to identify and mitigate. Innovation in the field of artificial intelligence will likely accelerate the threats in the cyber domain. They will increasingly shape cyber operations, with both cyber operators and defenders using these tools to improve their speed and effectiveness. For example, in August of 2025, cyber actors used an AI tool to conduct data extortion against international government.
Cyber actors? You mean VTubers? Get it?
Government, healthcare, and public health emergency service sectors, and religious institutions. Shifting to the Arctic, the IC assesses that Russia, and to a lesser extent China, aim to strengthen their presence in the region through increased maritime trade, natural resource extraction, and military activity. Russia, which has the longest coastline in the Arctic, has long sought recognition of its quote-unquote polar great power status and is deploying more military forces and building new permanent infrastructure. China, though not an Arctic country, is engaged in more limited efforts in the region to advance its strategic and economic interests. On the technology front, artificial intelligence capabilities are rapidly advancing and changing the threat landscape. As this is a defining technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human learning, comprehension, problem-solving, creativity, and autonomy, it'll be critical to ensure that humans remain in control of how AI is used and of the machines that may threaten to autonomously violate the interests of the American people across all domains. The IC assesses that China is the most capable competitor in this field and aims to displace the U.S. as the global AI leader by 2030. AI adoption at scale across the spectrum of usage poses serious risks. AI has the potential to aid in weapons and systems design and has been used in recent conflicts to influence targeting and streamline decision-making, underscoring the risk and likely threats that could manifest on the battlefield. Early developers in quantum computers will give countries an extraordinary technological advantage over others to quickly process national security information and break current encryption methodology used to protect sensitive finance, healthcare, and government information.
Damn.
The global security landscape is volatile and complex, with armed conflict growing more common and posing potential threats against U.S. interests. The space domain is becoming increasingly contested, with China and Russia developing counter-space capabilities to challenge U.S. space efforts. The threat of nuclear proliferation and advancing chemical and biological warfare capabilities continues to grow. Turn now to the Western Hemisphere, where flagging economies, high crime rates, pervasive organized crime, migration flows, corruption, and narcotics trafficking present a broad spectrum of risks to U.S. interests, and where strategic competitors seek to gain greater influence in the region. The IC assesses that Latin America and the Caribbean almost certainly will see hotspots of volatility in the coming year, with the potential to undermine or distract some countries from improving economies and living conditions and tackling illicit drug flows and cartels. The U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement review in 2026 will likely increase uncertainty in many Latin American countries, especially those that rely on Mexico as an export destination for intermediate goods for manufacture and onward export to the U.S. China, Russia, and Iran are seeking to sustain economic, political, and military engagement with Latin America. The IC assesses that China's demand for raw materials is likely to drive continued economic outreach, while Russia likely wants to expand its current security and diplomatic ties with Cuba and Nicaragua. The IC assesses that China aims to elevate its own political, economic, military, and technological power to increase its own regional positioning, global influence, and to fend off threats to their interests. While there are challenging areas where interests diverge, President Trump's diplomatic engagements with President Xi have enabled progress on areas where mutual interests align. The IC assesses that China continues to rapidly modernize its military forces across all domains in pursuit of its goal to achieve world-class status by mid-century. This includes building a force with the aim of being capable of deterring U.S. and allied forces in the region, and to achieve their stated objective of having the capability to seize Taiwan by force if necessary. However, the IC assesses that China likely prefers to set the conditions for an eventual peaceful reunification with Taiwan short of conflict.
That's just how she sounds.
An increasingly confident North Korean regime remains a source of concern regionally and globally. Its weapons of mass destruction, conventional military capabilities, illicit cyber activities, and demonstrated willingness to use asymmetric capabilities poses a threat to the U.S. and its allies, particularly South Korea and Japan. North Korea's partnership with Russia is growing, and in 2025, Kim took steps to improve ties with China, still North Korea's most important trading partner and economic benefactor. The IC assesses that North Korea's support for Russia in the war against Ukraine has increased North Korean capabilities as their forces have gained combat experience in 21st century warfare, along with equipment. Pyongyang continues to develop and expand its strategic weapons programs, including missiles that can evade U.S. and regional missile defenses. Russia retains the capability to selectively challenge U.S. interests globally by military and non-military means. The IC assesses that the most dangerous threat posed by Russia to the U.S. is an escalatory spiral in an ongoing conflict such as Ukraine, or a new conflict that led to direct hostilities, including the deployment of nuclear weapons. The IC assesses that Putin continues to invest in Russia's defense industrial base, as well as novel capabilities that may pose a greater threat to the U.S. homeland and forces abroad than conventional weapons. The IC assesses Russia has advanced systems, hypersonic missiles, and undersea capabilities designed to negate U.S. military advantage. Russia is also building extensive counter-space capabilities to contest U.S. space dominance. Its development of a nuclear counter-space weapon poses the greatest single threat to the world's space architecture. During the past year, the IC posed capabilities to contest U.S. Russia is also building extensive counter-space capabilities to contest U.S. space dominance. Its development of a nuclear counter-space weapon poses the greatest single threat to the world's space architecture. During the past year, the IC assesses that Russia has maintained the upper hand in its war against Ukraine. Ongoing U.S.-led negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv continue. Until such an agreement is met, if an agreement is found, Moscow is likely to continue fighting a slow war of attrition until they view their objectives have been achieved. In the Middle East, conflict and instability will shape security, political, and economic dynamics in a variety of ways. The IC assesses that Operation Epic Fury is advancing fundamental change in the region that began with Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7, 2023, continued with the 12-day war last year, resulting in weakening Iran and its proxies. The IC assesses that the regime in Iran appears to be intact, but largely degraded due to attacks by Israel and the U.S. on its leadership and military capabilities. Its conventional military power projection capabilities have largely been destroyed, leaving limited options. Iran's strategic position has been significantly degraded. The U.S.-led maximum pressure campaign and snapback of European sanctions added additional pressure to an already bleak Iranian economy, resulting in mass protest and with advancing fundamental change in economic dynamics and objectives have been achieved. If an agreement is found, negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv continue. Until such an agreement is met, if an agreement is found, Moscow is likely to continue fighting a slow war of attrition until they view their objectives have been achieved. In the Middle East, conflict and instability will shape security, political, and economic dynamics in a variety of ways. The IC assesses that Operation Epic Fury is advancing fundamental change in the region that began with Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7, 2023, continued with the 12-day war last year, resulting in weakening Iran and its proxies. The IC assesses that the regime in Iran appears to be intact, but largely degraded due to attacks by Israel and the U.S. on its leadership and military capabilities. Its conventional military power projection capabilities have largely been destroyed, leaving limited options. Iran's strategic position has been significantly degraded. The U.S.-led maximum pressure campaign and snapback of European sanctions added additional pressure to an already bleak Iranian economy, resulting in mass protests earlier this year that Tehran suppressed by killing thousands of protesters. Even if the regime remains intact, internal tensions are likely to increase as Iran's economy worsens. Even so, Iran and its proxies continue to attack U.S. and allied interests in the Middle East. If a hostile regime survives, it will likely seek to begin a years-long effort to rebuild its military, missiles, and UAV forces. Prior to Operation Epic Fury, the IC assesses Iran was trying to recover from the severe damage to its nuclear infrastructure sustained during the 12-day war. Iran maintained the intention to rebuild its infrastructure and nuclear enrichment capability and continued to refuse to comply with its nuclear obligations with the IAEA, refusing them access to key facilities. The IC assesses that China, Russia, and North Korea see the United States as a strategic competitor and potential adversary. Iran has long viewed the U.S. as an adversary and is engaged in active conflict with the U.S. as of this writing. These four countries are likely to continue their selective cooperation with each other, which could bolster their individual capabilities and threats to U.S. interests more broadly. However, currently these relationships are primarily bilateral on selective issues and depend on broader circumstances, divergent sovereign interests, and in some cases concerns over directly confronting the U.S. These factors are likely to constrain their relationships. Finally, conflicts on the continent of Africa are likely to persist through 2026 due to poor governance, economic demands, and external support. Tensions continue between Ethiopia and Eritrea, which could rapidly accelerate to conflict. Contentious national and federal elections in Somalia could distract the federal government away from counterterrorism actions against al-Shabaab, which continues to conduct terror attacks while providing funding and propaganda support to other elements of al-Qaeda in Yemen. The civil war in Sudan continues even as external negotiations occur, and ISIS in West Africa and the Sahel have increased the intensity of their attacks against local security forces, expanding their areas of operation and moving closer to cities with a U.S. presence. African governments will use their wealth and critical minerals to seek partnerships that deliver them meaningful benefit. Concurrent conflicts and crises across the continent will continue to put U.S. citizens at risk and cause further instability. In closing, as leaders of the intelligence community, we remain committed to providing the President and policymakers with timely, unbiased, relevant intelligence to ensure the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Director Gabbard. We appreciate that. We'll now move to member questions, 5-minute increments. With that, I recognize myself for 5 minutes. Director Patel, our state and local officials are on the front lines of increasingly dangerous, unrestricted warfare activities being undertaken by Chinese nationals, such as marijuana grow operations protected by armed militants, secret police stations engaged in transnational repression, Chinese-operated sim farm sites, crypto mining facilities, and land purchases near strategic locations. The CCP is exploiting legal gray areas and a lack of awareness at the state and local level to establish strategic footholds. 2 states, in fact, New Hampshire and Florida, are now advancing legislation to establish offices of counterintelligence, which would bolster states' ability to confront foreign adversaries without relying on the federal government. Do you support that? What can be done to better support the states and local officials?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have infused funding into our entire program taking on the CCP. And while we are well versed in the fact that we have our capabilities with folks like CFIUS when it comes to the purchases of land around.
What?
PvP? Stella?
Maybe later? I gotta focus. I gotta lock in on this fucking thing.
Okay. Military bases, that only extends 1 mile under the current law, so the FBI had to get creative. So what we did was directly engage with our state and local partners. And I'll give you...
Clav responded.
All right, let's
Chicken
see.
biryani?
Yep, exactly. Destiny is trying to interview... dude, Destiny fell off.
Just get it. What's the prize? I don't know, Chad.
Where's Destiny even stream?
How you doing?
Fall off
Doing
mod.
bro, McD, by the way,
Yeah, like
can I tell
political?
you something, McD? I thought you were like a fat Mexican.
Honestly...
It's because I have a woman's name. Rip.
2 examples. 400-acre farm in the state of Texas was owned by a CCP official, but because he was outside the reach of the CFIUS law, the FBI executed a unlawful possession of firearms, a criminal complaint, and received it. We seized the land in its entirety, and that CCP national is back in mainland China, and we are working to get him back here. In another example, off the coast of Louisiana, we worked with Governor Landry's team on drilling sites off the coast of Louisiana because, again, they were outside the whole of CFIUS in the 1-mile radius, and with the intelligence we were able to provide our state and local authorities, they shut down that CCP drilling center, which we believe was actually used to provide and steal data and intelligence from American lives. So that's just a little bit of an example. On the marijuana grow houses, we have 6 active ongoing investigations in 6 multiple jurisdictions for specifically taking...
Did we ever actually change the structure of TikTok? Because I know they basically axed the TikTok ban bill that we even got a Supreme Court ruling to ban, and now they brag about saving TikTok. Do they still operate as a dual entity, or what happened? I don't know what even changed formally with the organization of that company. I don't remember.
CCP-affiliated grow houses from Maine to Georgia and across the country.
So it sounds like, from your characterization of CFIUS, it's inadequate at this point. Maybe we could do something legislatively here in this body to provide some broader authority to address that challenge.
I would love that.
Okay, great, excellent, thank you. Director Ratcliffe, in January 2021, in your role at D&I as the director, you sent this committee a letter outlining your concerns about an intelligence community assessment in which, among other things, analysts tailored their analysis towards a preferred policy outcome. CIA management pressured analysts to withdraw their support from an alternative viewpoint, and the full body of intelligence reporting wasn't considered. Now, in your role as CIA director, you have retracted several reports for political bias and not meeting IC analytic standards. That's good progress. Retracting faulty reporting is a critical step, but I remain concerned about that it maybe doesn't get to the root of the problem. How many analysts were involved in the products you recently retracted?
I don't know the specific number, Chairman.
What remediation actions have taken place as a result?
Well, I've made the focus of, as you pointed out, both as D&I and now as CIA director, focused on the importance of analytic objectivity. As you pointed out, when I was the D&I, when I saw conduct from Russia and China, the exact same conduct result in different assessments, that's not a good reflection on the analytic judgments. Now, when I was the D&I, when I saw conduct from Russia and China, the exact same conduct result in different assessments, that's not a good reflection on the analytic judgments.
Ratcliffe is not a retard, right? We don't think Ratcliffe is retarded. I just haven't listened to opinions he's given on too many things, other than just knowing generally about him. He is. He's not. Just because two different countries have the same action, why would you necessarily view those the same? I mean, the two different countries can have different histories and there's different context. There must be something he's saying here that I'm just not understanding or whatever, or maybe.
Actions have taken place as a result?
Well, I've made the focus of, as you pointed out, both as D&I and now as CIA director, focused on the importance of analytic objectivity. As you pointed out, when I was the D&I, when I saw conduct from Russia and China, the exact same conduct result in different assessments, that's not a good reflection on the analytic judgments.
What you going to debate Mullally for what? Where?
Reference in my role as CIA director, withdrawing reports that we went back and looked that didn't reflect the analytic standards that we would expect. I retracted those judgments because they show bias and influence for political reasons or otherwise. So that has continued to be a focus and will be. I think that message has been received within our analytic community, within the CIA, and really across the CIA, because this administration has put a focus on taking politics out of our analytic judgments.
Excellent. Thank you, Director. Appreciate that. I want to, as I made clear in my opening statement, I'm trying to get this done in the little time that I have remaining. The intelligence community assessment on AHI is deeply flawed, and I've called for its recall immediately to start for a fresh start, similar to my question in last year's session. But I'd like to get a yes or no answer from each of you on whether you agree this ICA should be retracted. Director Gabbard?
Yes.
Director Ratcliffe?
Say it again. The question
AHI, ICA?
Yeah. So for the ICA, I understand that Director Gabbard is reviewing that, and I've deferred all AHI investigations to her review. So if in her judgment that is something that should be retracted, then I would agree with that.
And yes. Okay, Director Patel?
Yes.
Thank you. General Hartman?
Yes.
And General Adams?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you all for your responses. I'm going to recognize the ranking member for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Director Gabbard, as was well covered yesterday in January, you were present at the execution of an FBI warrant at the Fulton County, Georgia election office at the direction of the president and to all appearances in connection with the president's false claims about the 2020 election. The unsealed affidavit submitted by the FBI made zero reference to foreign powers or outside interference. I don't want to relitigate the reasons why you were there, but I do want to know whether, as a result of your visit, there is credible intelligence in your possession pointing to foreign interference in Georgia in the 2020 election.
Thank you for the question, Ranking Member. As you know, over each of the previous elections, there is an ongoing effort by different foreign entities.
Ma'am, it's a very specific question.
Is
there intelligence in your possession relative to foreign interference in the 2020 elections? Very simple, straightforward question.
We are continuing to look at previous attempts to interfere in our elections and any ongoing threats that may exist for the upcoming elections.
Okay, but can I assume that the answer to my question is no, that you have no specific intelligence related to foreign meddling in the Georgia election?
We are continuing to look into this matter.
Okay. Director, the ODNI has confirmed on the record that your office took custody of voting machines from Puerto Rico last May. I'm not aware of any previous DNI taking similar actions. Did your office promptly notify the committee about taking custody of Puerto Rico's voting machines?
I don't believe we did. However, this was done at the request of the Puerto Rico AUSA attorney.
And it's a yes or no question. The answer, as you have acknowledged, is no. You did not inform the committee about the taking of a territory's voting machines. Is there a specific foreign threat? And I've read the...
Ooh, I'm slowing this down to 1.25. I do think it's noteworthy, and you can still hate Tulsi Gabbard. I know I do. But it sounds like she is like heavily pawning all of this off onto the executive branch, onto the White House. I should say more specifically.
She answers questions.
Yeah. But it's like, because what she just said there, she just said that we did it at the behest of a U.S. attorney or whatever. So if she's doing like intelligence-related stuff I don't think they need the Department of Justice or like the DOJ or whatever ordering them around. They would do this as part of like intelligence operations. So the fact that that's not what's happening, and the fact that it's like the executive branch that's like bossing them around to go do things, like is heavily pointing to the fact that there is no intelligence supporting any of this stuff.
Reporting that you were looking for possible foreign threats, but is there a specific foreign threat that drove you to take this action?
There were questions about whether or not there were vulnerabilities that a threat could have taken advantage of, and that was the purpose for their requesting us to look into those vulnerabilities.
Where are those voting machines now?
I believe they are held in a secure facility at ODNI.
Have you or other ODNI officials taken any other state or territory's voting equipment into custody?
Not to my knowledge.
I want to turn on the subject of elections to a paradoxical thing. You will all be aware that the U.S. government is apparently going to grind to a halt. The president is going to sign no more bills. The Senate will spend 2 weeks apparently debating the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act, of course, would make illegal foreigners voting in U.S. elections, which is already illegal. So we are to do no more business because of apparently the existential threat to our democracy associated with foreigners voting in our elections. I am therefore puzzled by the fact that neither the unclassified nor the classified threat assessment makes any reference to risk or danger associated with foreigners voting in our elections.
Gotcha, John.
Director Patel, how many non-citizens have been convicted of voting in U.S. elections in the last 10 years?
The conviction stats are with the Department of Justice. I defer to them on that.
You are the...
Oh, shit, he's about to say... okay, because sometimes I wonder if I'm retarded here. Like, the FBI is considered like a sub-part of the Department of Justice, right? Or is it a totally separate thing? Is it considered an inferior office, or it's a whole other thing? But he might just say it.
Director of the...
Conviction stats were with the Department of Justice. I defer to them on that.
You are the director of the FBI. Give me a guess. How many convictions in the last 1 year, 5 year, or 10 year? Ballpark.
I don't have that with me, sir. Again, it's with the department.
You don't have that with... Okay. Director Patel, how many active investigations does the FBI have into foreign individuals voting in U.S. elections?
Can't speak on active investigations, even though he spoke on every single active investigation related to any shooter that could be politically expedient. Just kidding. He's not going to say that. He's going to answer this question, honestly and truthfully.
Cope.
We have a number of investigations, generally speaking, ongoing about individuals across the country.
Yeah, I'm asking for that number.
I don't have that number with me, but I have a number.
Or he doesn't know. Okay.
You have a number of investigations. Okay, is that number 10,000? Is it closer to 10,000 or closer to 10?
It's probably somewhere in between.
Okay. Will you please provide the committee with that number?
Got him.
Okay. Director Patel, since you don't have the numbers, would it surprise you to know that the Heritage Foundation, which is not exactly the Columbia University Faculty Lounge, found only 77 instances of non-citizen voting in the 24 years between 1999 and 2023, each of which faced investigation by the appropriate authorities. So Heritage has a number of 77 examples in 24 years. Does that number surprise you?
No, because it's low.
I don't understand your answer.
You asked me if I was.
Are you disputing that the number is in the range of 77 examples of non-U.S. citizens voting in U.S. elections in a 24-year period?
I just said that number's low.
You think that number is low? Okay.
Bro, wait, what happened? Did they not get their adrenochrome today? Are both of these guys just like, fuck this? Patel and Gabbard are like, wait, this is bro. Shit is
So why, if this is a meaningful issue, do we have no, and I guess I direct this to Director Gabbard, why is there no mention of this thing that will grind the American government to a halt for a 2-week period in the worldwide threats analysis?
I don't know. Ask Trump.
This annual threat assessment was shaped around the national security strategy's prioritization of threats to our nation and our nation's interests. There are multiple platforms and venues where there have been and there will be reporting on threats to our foreign threats to our elections.
Yield back.
Gentleman yields. Vice Chairman Kelly.
I'd first just like to say, Director Gabbard, you being in Georgia was a part of your duties as DNI to make sure that our elections remain safe, secure, and free from every type of influence. That was why you were there. Is that correct?
There he goes.
Yes.
Okay. I would argue, I want to talk about some of the points about the strikes on Iran, the current attacks, Epic Fury. And I would state that not only are there imminent threats from Iran, but there are actual threats. And I've been on the receiving end of those threats. I was in Iraq in 2005, where Iranian-based and manned and equipped units attacked American soldiers, including me, multiple times. I will also tell you, I went back in 9 and 10, where EFPs developed by the Iranians struck my soldiers and our equipment. I would tell you.
Ooh, I wonder how she engages with like the Glazers.
The Houthis have continued to strike Saudi Arabia. I will tell you Hamas and Hezbollah has continued to strike throughout the Middle East. And although we're not in an armed services hearing, we had that yesterday. But I will tell you, because we took out their ballistic missiles and their ability to defend from the air, that Europe is no longer under threat from Iran, who showed they will strike everyone that they can by striking all of their Arab neighbors in Azerbaijan and Turkey and everywhere else. With that being said, Director Ratcliffe, I think the CIA has had a great year in providing intelligence, whether that's in Venezuela, the initial Midnight Hammer strikes, or also the current strikes in Iran. Can you tell us kind of some of the things the CIA has done over the past year that you're proud of?
Congressman, good to see you again. Thank you for the question. Good to see all of you and be back in the House. I guess I'll start by saying I think you all know there was bipartisan concern when I took over the CIA that our human collection was in a downward spiral and had been for some period of time. And you all wanted a more aggressive CIA, one that was focused on core mission, one that was collecting the kind of intelligence and stealing secrets that would provide a decisive strategic advantage that can contribute to national security and foreign policy successes. I do think that the CIA, I agree with you, has had a great year, and that's a credit to our workforce. So you talked about some of the very public successes like Operation Midnight Hammer and Operation Absolute Resolve, where our agency contributed to a, frankly, flawless intelligence picture that allowed for flawless military operations. And I want to...
Ooh, flawless? So who blew up the little schoolgirl place? I feel like that's a little bit of a tasteless statement, but okay.
Credit everyone here. There's been bipartisan praise from this committee, even from those of you who may disagree with the underlying policies. But I think those successes are really emblematic of success that the agencies had across the board on all national security matters in all national security spaces. And it's not just an opinion. It's reflected in our statistics. So when we talk about stealing secrets, you need assets and sources on the ground around the world. We're up 25% in that regard just in the past year. Our foreign intelligence reporting, meaning the intelligence that really matters to you as decision makers and the president as commander in chief, that's up across the board, 25%. Other categories, specific targets and adversaries like China, it's up 100%. Areas like technology, it's up 100%. Issues like counter-narcotics, our operations are up by 70%.
I think he was talking specifically about Venezuela? Oh, okay, maybe. Maybe that was just specifically about Venezuela. Never mind. Okay.
50%. With regard to counterterrorism, those are classified numbers that we'll get into in the classified portion, but those are triple digits. We've accomplished more on the counterterrorism front in the past year than in the prior 4 years combined. Again, really a credit to the CIA workforce. Morale at the agency is high because people are doing the work that they signed up to do, and this administration is calling on them to do more. I would say they are.
If I can step back the final 45 seconds, I have one question for Director Patel. Director Patel, the current shutdown that is caused by us not funding TSA, Border Control, DHS, and all those things, how hard has that made the job of counterintelligence, FBI, to protect us here in the homeland from threats that came through our borders or internally and already existing in the United States? Director Patel.
Thank you for the question. When it comes specifically to the combination efforts between the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, we have 59 Homeland Security task forces that we have stood up in every single state, and then some, that are co-led by the FBI and HSI. And obviously having a stopgap in funding is hurting those abilities to go out there and fight crime and pick up violent offenders across the country. Even though the DHS workforce shows up every day, I think they've gone 1 month without a paycheck now. We also have things like our Southern Border Intelligence Center in Tucson, Arizona, that is our hub for intelligence collection operations on foreign terrorist organizations, specifically the narco traffickers down in Mexico.
Thank you. My time's expired.
Mr. Carson's recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. The Trump administration has justified this war with Iran as necessary to stop an imminent threat. But the administration has not provided this committee with any intelligence indicating Iran was preparing a nuclear weapon, planning a preemptive attack on the United States, or possess any immediate capability to strike the U.S. homeland.
They want.
That raises very serious questions about what the analysis of the IC provided before the decision to go to war was made. Directors Gabbard and Ratcliffe, is there any evidence that Iran intended to conduct a preemptive attack on the United States? And I ask this because 13 service members have been killed in Trump's war, including Captain Seth Koval, a husband and a dad from my state of Indiana, and my constituents want answers. So is there any evidence that Iran intended to conduct a preemptive attack on the U.S. prior to beginning this war, yes or no?
Congressman, the answer to this question needs to be reserved for a closed hearing. I will say, however, the intelligence community does provide the assessments of the threats that exist to the president so that he can make that determination within the body of information and intelligence and activities within the region that ultimately he is responsible for. What is an imminent threat? And if there is an imminent threat, what actions need to be taken?
Ooh, actions too.
Congressman, as the DNI said, there's a body of intelligence that we'll be able to cover in the classified portion of this hearing that does reflect that in the likely event of a conflict between Iran and Israel, that the U.S. would be immediately attacked, regardless of whether the United States stayed out of that conflict.
Shifting gears to Ranking Member Himes' point, let me read to you from the 2025 Annual Threat Assessment under your watch last year. Quote, Moscow's malign influence activities will continue for the foreseeable future and will almost certainly increase in sophistication and volume. Moscow probably believes information operations efforts to influence U.S. elections are advantageous, regardless of whether they affect election outcomes. By contrast, this year's threat assessment makes no mention of foreign threats to elections. Meanwhile, the IC has been publicly warning about foreign powers interfering in our elections for nearly a decade. So the omission is very striking. And to that point, sitting here today, I'm not aware of any intelligence products in the past year dedicated to foreign plans and intentions toward current and future U.S. elections.
It is kind of funny because I think Tulsi gave, I'm trying to remember when she gave like their big threat assessment presentation. It was like an open hearing thing or whatever. And I don't think Venezuela had been mentioned at all. And then it was like weeks later, we invaded Venezuela. And it's like, well, hold on. Why are we invading Venezuela like it's this huge threat to the United States when we just had a threat assessment? I don't think we even mentioned this country. Where did this come from? I think it was a chain of events there. Like,
Director Gabbard, yes or no, ma'am, have you directed or been directed to stop or limit dissemination of intelligence reports or finish intelligence reporting concerning foreign plans and intentions about upcoming U.S. elections or foreign threats to the midterms?
No.
Director Patel, same question for the FBI, sir. Yes or no, sir?
No, sir.
Director Ratcliffe, same question for the CIA, sir. Yes or no?
No.
General Hartman, same question for NSA. Yes or no, sir?
No, sir.
General Adams, same question for the DIA. Yes or no, sir?
No, sir.
I yield back, Chairman.
Gentleman yields. Ms. Stefanik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, when you began your testimony, you stated that your remarks do not represent your personal beliefs. That's the first time I've heard that at a committee hearing. Why did you say that? Or is there anything in the threat assessment that you personally disagree with?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. The reason I've said that is twofold. Number one is when I assumed this role as Director of National Intelligence through the confirmation process and beyond, many members of Congress rightly said your personal views and your politics in this role get checked at the door. And as Director of National Intelligence, my responsibility is to report the intelligence community's assessments objectively and to make sure that they are not politicized in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, there are those who, for one reason or another, have tried to mischaracterize the intelligence community's assessments and saying, well, this is just a political view or trying to misdirect from what the intelligence community is reporting. So I took the opportunity to state that from the outset, that this is the intelligence community's assessments.
Thank you. I also wanted to ask this because this week there was a high-profile resignation of Director of National Counterterrorism Center. Now, I want to be clear from the outset. I've communicated directly with President Trump my support for Operation Epic Fury, and I was very not only disappointed, but how inappropriate this letter was. And I want to read a statement that and get your personal assessment, whether you agree or disagree with that. And that's this. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed no imminent threat to the United States and that you should strike now. There was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie and is the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into a disastrous Iraq war. Now, I cannot say how much I disagree with that statement. Do you agree or disagree with what this letter was put out by former Director Kent?
He said a lot of things in that letter. Ultimately, we have provided the president with the intelligence assessments, and the president is elected by the American people and makes his own decisions based on the information that's available to him.
But do you agree?
Oh, right? Like, this is a huge opportunity for her to disavow, especially with what the Kent guy said in his leaving letter. That's pretty crazy that she didn't even speak to that.
Elected by the American people and makes his own decisions based on the information that's available to him.
But do you agree with, does that statement he made, blaming Israel, concern you?
Yes.
My next question is, I want to touch on the rise of terrorist attacks on the homeland. In the month of
Wait, does it concern you because he made that statement, or does it concern you because of the factuality of the statement? We didn't clarify
March
that.
alone. There were multiple high-profile Islamic terrorist attacks. You had Temple Israel Synagogue in Michigan. You had in Texas. You had an ISIS-inspired attack where they threw an IED in New York City. What is your assessment as to the rise of Islamic terrorism on the homeland?
As you've pointed to, Congresswoman, this continues to be an extreme concern, not only because of the rise of these attacks, but the mechanisms which they're carried out and the challenges that the intelligence community has.
You know what the funniest loop on all this shit is? I wonder if I don't know what Tulsi Gabbard's background is. She was in Hawaii, she was a senator, right? Senator Gabbard? Congressman Gabbard? She was a senator, right?
She previously, no, U.S. representative.
Oh, she was a representative?
Second.
I wonder if she, like, because just the way she speaks, she, like, reeks of, like, Russian interests and all this bullshit. But I wonder if she was, and she's, like, tried to, like, rig everything so that, like, look, Trump, like, Iran's not a threat. Look, everything you hear is fine. Like, look, we're good or whatever. But Trump's just so fucking retarded. He just doesn't listen to anything, even when the information is true. So she's like, F this guy. Because now Putin is, like, and shooting her text message, like, bruh, the whole reason why you're here was to keep this shit from happening. What's going on? And you're like, bruh, I told him that Iran wasn't a threat. I don't know why this motherfucker going in anyway. And she's like, fuck.
As in being able to try to detect some of these threats and attacks in advance. I'd like to defer to the FBI director on some of this because they have been very successful in many cases over the last year in detecting them and preventing these attacks. But due to the nature of the challenge in many of these attackers not having contact with known foreign terrorist entities or individuals makes this a much...
She's probably on her way out. I don't know if she would be, because I don't know if Trump knows what, like, anything in this part of the government does or cares about what anything in this part of the government does. Like, I don't think he has any idea or gives a fuck. Like, supposedly, if the earlier articles are to be believed, I think she was excluded from a lot of the talks having to do with capturing Maduro. Like, they just didn't even have the DNI roped into that. They're like, oh.
Well, I think that's because of her. Is it not because of her thing that's sitting in, like, a locked room in somewhere that they're trying to figure out? It was like a whistleblower report.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure just because she's like a super America isolationist person who doesn't like doing any of this shit. But Trump doesn't really need, like, Trump is a retard, so of course he hates intelligence, right? Like, he's not gonna. Yeah, I don't think he doesn't give a fuck. I don't think he thinks he needs to work with these people at all. Anyways, like, fuck him, I don't need any of this shit.
more challenging threat to deal with.
And I want to turn to Director Patel. I think that's a good, important segue to get your assessment. And I also want to add another aspect of the question. We're working on a 9/11 Commission review, 25-year review. What other tools do you need to make sure that we are able to have the most robust, effective CT efforts?
Yeah, thank you, Congresswoman. Just real quick. So last year we had 2,300 arrests related to foreign terrorist organizations. We had 700 counterterrorism arrests, and the FBI had 640 counterterrorism disruptions where we stopped attacks on the homeland. Specifically in December, we stopped 4 in an 18-day span. What I need is specifically highlighted in the Norfolk attack. In Norfolk, an individual who was convicted of terrorism and sentenced based upon that conviction should have still been in prison. The Department of Justice in the first Trump administration sought a sentence of 240 months. The judge in that case downward departed and gave a variance to nearly half that sentence. If that had not occurred, that individual would still be in prison and a member of our uniformed military service would still be alive. I want to work with the legislature to figure out how to increase the sentencing for convicted terrorists and also work on the denaturalization process for someone who should not be in this country who wants to attack and kill American citizens and American service members.
Thank you. Yield back.
Gentleman yields. Mr. Castro.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you all for your testimony today. I want to start with a question about Iran and discuss first how the war began. Secretary Rubio told us that Israel was going to strike Iran regardless, and that doing so would have triggered Iranian retaliation against U.S. forces already in the region. And Director Ratliff, you seem to affirm that in comments just a few moments ago. So rather than tell Israel to stand down, the president joined the war. The Congress and the American people still don't know what the president's actual goals are. True. And yet, we have lost 13 U.S. service members. But here's what we do know. The president has said that he wants a deal. He said Iran wants to make a deal and that he's not ready because, quote, the terms aren't good enough yet. Yet, they just killed Ali Larijani, the de facto leader of Iran, who, while not a friend of the United States, would have been the person to negotiate any agreement with.
True.
The president explicitly said that the United States did not strike Iran's energy infrastructure because, in his words, having to rebuild it, quote, would take years. Yet this morning, Israel struck the South Pars gas field, the world's largest natural gas reserve, triggering Iranian attacks on Qatari gas facilities. Oil prices are up 15% in the last 24 hours. In San Antonio, my hometown, where I represent, the cost of gas has gone up nearly 40% in 3 weeks. Last night, the president said that the United States knew nothing about the attack and called on Israel to stop similar attacks on energy. Israel denies this and says that the attack was cleared by the United States.
I can't believe, unless, I have a few weapons guys on Discord. I can't believe that there are people operating in a similar like theater of war that aren't constantly giving advanced warning to each other about ongoing or upcoming operations. I can't believe that, just because the potential for some kind of catastrophic misunderstanding or shooting, like friendly fire incident or something, like I just can't believe that that's the case. That there would be American and Israeli operations over the Iranian skies, and there's no coordination or collaboration, or at least like notice given from one side. I just can't believe it. There's no way that's true.
So my question is, what does the intelligence community assess Israel's goals in this war to be? And are those goals aligned with the goals of the United States?
I'm thinking carefully here about what can be said in this open setting versus a closed setting.
Are the goals aligned?
Wait.
In this war. So my question is, what does the intelligence community assess Israel's goals in this war to be? And are those goals aligned with the goals of the United States?
I'm thinking carefully here about what can be said in this open setting versus a closed setting.
Are the goals aligned?
The objectives that have been laid out by the president are different from the objectives that have been laid out by the Israeli government.
And how do they differ?
We can see through the operations that the Israeli government has been focused on.
This is a crazy, candid answer in a non-classified environment. I feel like that's an unbelievable amount of transparency into things that are going on. For the head of the the National Director of Intelligence is telling us that the war aims of the United States and the military and Israel and the IDF are not aligned, or not after the same objectives. That's pretty crazy.
From the objectives that have been laid out by the Israeli government.
And how do they differ?
We can see through the operations that the Israeli government has been focused on disabling the Iranian leadership and taking out several members, obviously beginning with the Ayatollah and the supreme leader. And they continue to focus on that effort.
And how does that differ from our goals?
The president has stated that his objectives are to destroy Iran's ballistic missile launching capability, their ballistic missile production capability, and their Navy, the IRGC Navy and mine laying capability.
So the death and destruction continues, the economic cost to the United States.
So her statement there, she's saying that the American president's goal is the destruction of the military capacity for Iran, which you can arguably defend or whatever as protecting American interests or whatever, but that the Israeli goal is regime change, and that Israeli goal is not in step with the American goal, that these two things are not necessarily, that we're not sharing the same goal here. It's interesting.
I don't believe
to
that.
Israel, to the Gulf.
You what?
I don't believe that.
Why not?
Because it's retarded to just go there to kill all their things and not expect a regime change, or not want a regime change.
I mean, you can do things like that. It just depends on what you're doing. Like we bombed their shit one time, right? A year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then why are they back in there if they have no nuclear capabilities like they're saying?
I don't know what got Trump to go back in or not. I really don't know. I don't know what now he told him, or what clearly didn't come from Tulsi. It didn't come from our intelligence agencies, unless she's just outwardly lying about everything. But.
So the death and destruction continues, the economic cost to the United States, to Israel.
Destiny, does it matter if they do not share the same goal? What would matter is if either of them are against what the other is doing. Well, not sharing the same goal is very, 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 very crazy, right? That we're in a war that is having a massive downstream impact on everything in the world, including the U.S. domestic markets and everything else, like our oil, our energy and everything else. And that war might be driven, like this is literally Zog, right? That we're having a war that's at extreme detriment to ourselves, but it's being driven by Israeli interest in regime change because it benefits them in the region.
To the Gulf states and to the world continues to increase. So I want to ask you, to the best of your knowledge, do you know whether Israel is supportive of the president's call to make a deal with Iran?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know Israel's position on that.
To the best of your knowledge, do you know whether Israel is supportive of the president's call to make a deal with Iran?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know Israel's position on that.
And to what do you attribute Israel's decision to strike Iranian energy infrastructure, despite President Trump's call to keep those facilities off limits?
I don't have an answer for that.
Jeez.
So they ignored the president. Do you agree with that?
I'm not privy to any of their deliberations or what went into their calculus in launching this or other attacks. I'm not. We are not involved with in the operational element of this. We're providing continuously on a daily basis the intelligence assessments of the events that are occurring, and
I guess I know the FBI can't because they're domestic, but can anybody else at the table provide any insight into that?
I guess I'm not sure what the question you're asking, Congressman Castro. I guess a couple of things. The goals that the president set out are clearly defined. The DNI related those. What was not included is a goal of the U.S.
Well, Director, let me start with this.
Let me
start with this question. You asked what my question is. Let me reclaim my time, Director. Come on. Do you know why Israel decided to strike that infrastructure, despite the fact that the president said it should be off limits?
I wouldn't speak for Israel.
What do you guys know? We're at war. What do you guys know?
We'll have to take that for.
Wait. 30-second meme. Pope Leo.
Pope is calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East and to reopen dialogue. What do you say about Pope?
Well, look, we can have dialogue, but I don't want to do a ceasefire. You know, you don't do a ceasefire when you're literally obliterating the other side. They don't have a Navy. They don't have an Air Force. They don't have any equipment. They don't have any spotters. They don't have anti-aircraft. They don't have radar. And their leaders have all been killed at every level. We're not looking to do that. Thank you.
Isn't this exactly when you do a ceasefire to negotiate like an end to the? Okay, I don't know.
For the record.
Yes, let's take it for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to welcome the panelists here today. Today is March 19th. On April 19th, FISA goes dark. 702 goes dark. And it's been talked about many times, but up to 60% of the president's daily briefing is derived from FISA 702. And we look at the successes that we've had in protecting the homeland and also the conflicts the U.S. has been involved with. The flawless operation in Venezuela, Operation Fury in Iran, troop protection, the successes we've had on the battlefield in Ukraine, the recovery and release of the Hamas hostages in the tunnels in Israel, all derived from FISA 702. There is not a military operation that we've been involved with where FISA 702 was not, as Director Ratcliffe has said, been indispensable to the United States in the protection of our country. Director Patel has also said FISA 702 is indispensable. We're 30 days away from it going dark. Director Ratcliffe, can you clarify the president's position on an 18-month clean reauthorization and how that's going to proceed moving forward?
Congressman, thank you, and thank you for highlighting this issue. So the president is in favor of an 18-month clean reauthorization of FISA 702, and I would add to that, I'm heartened by the fact to hear that the chairman of this committee and the ranking member are in agreement with that. And I know there's bipartisan support for that, and there should be. And I know this is an important vote for you to take, but I would ask that you all consider when you do that, when you look at the fact that former DNIs and former CIA directors and former FBI directors and DIA directors and NSA directors across Republican and Democrat administrations are in support of FISA 702 in its current form. These are the people that are making the decisions to keep Americans safe. And so I wish the reauthorization was longer than 18 months, Congressman. I think that this is something that I wish you all would consider for longer than that, so that regardless of who the president is in the future, he or she would have the benefit of, as you said, a tool that's indispensable across administrations, provides more than half of the important actionable intelligence that the president and the commander-in-chief relies upon.
Thank you for that. Director Gabbard, you're supportive of the 18-month extension the president's seeking without a warrant requirement?
That is the president's position, and that is the position of the intelligence community.
And you will be supporting that, correct?
I will support the president's decision to execute this.
Correct. Thank you. Director Gabbard, we implemented 2 years ago a number of reforms, actually 56 of them, that were part of the Reforming Intelligence and Securing America Act, RISA. And that was done in a bipartisan way. That was a reflection of what we thought were problems with FISA 702, going back during the first Trump administration and even before that. These reforms that have been put in place and that you have helped implement, I wonder if you could talk specifically about those reforms on the cutting down of FBI agents having access to querying of FISA information, the fact that there are criminal penalties now for FBI agents that are engaged in inappropriate activity as it relates to FISA. Please tell us some of those reforms and how those have been implemented. Director Patel.
Sorry, I thought you were asking for DNI. Absolutely. So we've gone above and beyond what RISA requires since I became director 13 months ago. We not only require supervisory special agents to approve the query request of U.S. persons, we also require the general counsel's office and lawyers to come in and agree with that request before we can proceed. Also, we have we used to, before this, had a default which allowed queries when we were utilizing our system to say it automatically searches 702. You now have to actually opt in and select that box to make sure that you are intentionally doing so. On top of that, we've reduced the number of personnel at the FBI from 6,600 before I got there to 3,500 that have access to it. Not that use it, but that have access to it. And we've also gone above and beyond what RISA requires in terms of if you misuse it unintentionally or recklessly. If you misuse it unintentionally, like you typed a name wrong in terms of spelling or whatnot, your access is suspended and be retrained. If you recklessly use it, you're immediately terminated your access forever.
Thank you.
Mr. Crow.
Thank you, Chairman. Director Gabbard, it is your job and the job of your agency and department to assess the views of Iranian leadership, their policy beliefs, and policy positions, correct?
Yes.
That includes now deceased Ali Khamenei of Iran, correct?
Yes.
And the now leader, his son Mujtaba Khamenei, correct?
Yes.
The son is considered more of a hardliner than his father. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So hardline that even some of Iran's leaders thought he was too aggressive. Isn't that correct?
That is the intelligence community assessment, yes.
Mujtaba, the son, is particularly close to the brutal Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and their most hardline commanders, correct?
That is the intelligence community assessment.
He was involved in ordering violent crackdowns on Iranian protesters, including their murder, correct?
Yes.
And we don't know if the son will continue his father's religious ban on developing nuclear weapons. Is that correct?
It is unknown at this time.
You testified before this committee last year that the elder, now deceased Khamenei, had in 2003 banned the nuclear weapons program or suspended it, correct?
There was a fatwa in place that stated that.
And that fatwa remained in place last year when you testified before this committee, correct?
Yes.
And that fatwa remained in place recently, correct?
As far as I know, it has not been lifted.
Yeah, you're aware of no information that would lift that fatwa?
I'm not aware of any intelligence reporting that states that. To be clear on the Mojtaba, the son who has been named to replace him, it is unclear of his status or his involvement.
What is FISA 702? My guess is the FISA stands for, it's like Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and it's how you get like warrants and stuff. Is that only when it's concerning Americans that are involved in some of these investigations? I think it's the process by which you secure subpoenas and stuff to investigate Americans and stuff. Yeah.
He was injured very severely through one of the Israeli strikes, and so the decision-making is unclear about what's happening in the Iranian leadership.
So it's unclear. So we're less certain of the positions of Iranian leadership and their intentions than we were 60 days ago, correct?
That's an accurate assessment.
This is an insanely candid.
Jesus.
I wonder if she is on the way out. I wonder what. I feel like this is a really crazy. She's like just completely like out of step with
the report that she's on the way out, I think.
Well, a report. It was a quote unquote. It was a scoop by Laura Loomer, which who knows?
Oh, that's true. It was.
Mm-hmm. Right. But I mean that maybe. I mean, no. Laura Loomer knows a lot of crazy shit. She's like Milo, though, right? If it's true, she might know it, but she also makes shit up, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
One of your jobs is to create products assessing Iran and the threats it poses to the United States, correct?
Yes.
And that includes potential outcomes for military action, correct?
It includes potential outcomes of a variety of scenarios.
Like in the likelihood of those outcomes?
Yes.
Generally, when you make assessments about threats facing the United States, you will look at, in Iran, in any instance, the likely scenarios that have come out of military action, correct?
The intelligence community takes all of those factors into account when they create these assessments.
When you look at the threats posed by foreign countries, you also assess timelines to those threats, correct?
What do you mean by timelines?
Like a breakout time, for example, for nuclear weapons or the development of ballistic missiles.
Yes, based on the information available at any given time.
In the timeline also for potential terrorist attacks, correct?
Broadly, yes. Assesses
it is
all
common
matters
practice
available
for the IC to assess the timeline of all threats. Nuclear weapons development, ballistic, right?
Yes.
Ballistic weapons development.
Based on the information available, yes.
Terrorist attacks.
Same applies.
Cyber attacks, timelines for all of those, correct?
When there is information available that point to that, yes.
In likelihood, as well as the timeline, correct?
Based on the information available.
Timing is important, is it not?
Okay, hold on. Just so I understand, because our structure of some of the government is confusing as fuck. For Tulsi Gabbard to be the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, she could be considered, or she is considered, the head. Like, all intelligence in the United States eventually flows up or through her, including even like military intelligence. Correct? Like, if there is a thing to be known that the U.S. intelligence community knows, then the DNI will know it, right? Not military, even on the civilian side, or I don't know if the civilian side makes sense. Like the DoD stuff doesn't report up or parallel through to her at some point. Yeah, I'm asking Mr. Moot. He's supposed to know the answer to this. I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
I thought we looked at this, and like the intelligence services on the military even feed up through the civilian DoD agencies do flow through the ODNI, like the NSA. Yeah, okay, that was my understanding. Maybe there's some secret military intelligence that doesn't, or more specified to each branch that doesn't. It's kind of crazy because if you listen to like everything she said thus far, she's basically said that there was absolute. She said that, okay, so first she said, we have an intelligence community that makes these threat assessments, okay? We know that the new leadership that's likely to take over, the son of Khomeini or whatever, is more radical, is less predictable. We know that they weren't, with the fatwa, did you understand that? Was that a fatwa to not?
To not make nuclear weapons?
To not assemble nuclear weapons? I understood that, right? Okay.
Yep.
And then she knows, and she's saying there was no reason to believe there was a some type of threat or whatever, or that she's not aware of any intelligence stating any of these things. Basically, she's like stripping all of the claims that Trump has made about this war. She's basically saying here, all of them have come from the White House. There's no connection to any part of the intelligence community that is delivering these assessments to Donald Trump. And she's also gone a step further and said that we might not even have aligned interests with our Israeli partners in this war. I don't know. That's a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah.
It is an important factor that goes into the assessment.
So it is your position sitting here today that you made no timeline determination as to threats that Iran had facing the United States, correct?
That's a very broad statement, but where the information is available, the intelligence community factors that into their assessment products.
You or the IC...
Like, her answers are also, like, very direct. Like, she's like the... I can't believe I'm saying this. Did she say that Trump won the election? I think she probably also pussied out of that. I think everybody did, except for like, fucking Dr. Oz or somebody. She's being very, very, very direct and cooperative with all of this, too. She's not fighting on any answer. I think all of this has been a pretty huge condemnation of the current administration. She's not being cagey or anything. And I feel like she's offering up way more information than she has to. I feel like for a lot of these questions, she could very easily say, like, I'm not at liberty to discuss that, or like, I can't give information about this, or it would reveal whatever, or we have to do this on the closed side of this briefing or whatever. She's giving a lot of information publicly on this.
Make any assessments as to the timing of potential threats facing the United States from Iran in the last 90 days?
I'm sure there was timelines factored into the intelligence assessments that were delivered.
Did any of them show imminence?
The imminent nature of a threat is determined by the president based on a totality.
Who joined?
So Reason Riffs. I'm just listening in the background. It's insane. Is she the only person to say that they then expected that Iran could have nuclear weapons by 2035? Did I hear that correctly?
What was the 2034 or whatever date that she? I don't remember. I don't remember what that was about in particular. So any chat might remember. But.
I thought it was she was saying that that's when they could have nuclear weapons by, which is basically, like
not
sometime
anywhere close to, yeah.
Exactly, and like it's basically saying not anywhere close. She's incredibly clever if she's playing the game that we think she's playing, right? Like she wants plausible deniability, right? Just as that's the impression I'm getting.
Well, everybody keeps reading it this way, but I feel like I don't know if she needs plausible deniability here. Like, what does she need plausible deniability from? It sounds like they just have deniability. Like, the idea that Iran was a clear and present danger to the United States, that they were imminently about to do something, that this is a war of necessity. It sounds like that intelligence literally just didn't exist.
No, I mean her as an individual. I don't mean the administration. I mean, she's going against the administration, but doesn't want to be openly being seen to do so. Like, she's throwing Trump under the bus multiple times. She's hinted that she wasn't involved in decision making that she should be involved in, right?
Well, she should be, but if she's not involved in it, it's because the White House is excluding her from the conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And she's stating that multiple times, as if to say, the leadership is
excluding
malfunctioning
me
here. So,
yes, yeah.
Yeah. And she should be the one that's informed and helping making these decisions.
Yep.
And in terms of objectives, there used to be a time where she could have easily just said, hey, this risks, on ongoing missions and, the lives of servicemen, right? Because now she's just admitted they're going after missiles, which we know anyway, right? But she could easily have denied that stuff.
Yeah, or just
and
not
almost
spoken to it at all and said that she can't. Yeah, 100%.
She's always been a bit of an enigma, but like it's as if she's on the way out or she's in this position, but she must have something on Trump as well, right? So she knows that they can't really get rid of her. But
well, I mean, she could just be. It could literally we could just read all of this as being kind of earnest, right? If she came in, Tulsi has always been publicly like very isolationist in terms of what she feels like U.S. policy should be. She's a big like NATO, fuck the West kind of thing, and I don't know if she'd made statements on going to war with Iran or something prior to her coming into the cabinet, but if she did, she would have been anti-war with Iran in all cases, 100%.
Maybe I'm just paranoid, but I don't trust, even though she's been consistent, I don't trust that she's ever been earnest. She always looks like she's got this little grin on her face just waiting to pop out, like when she's like she pulls this serious face often, and you can tell that she doesn't really feel that serious. She's putting on an act, right?
I understand what you're saying, but like people don't always have to lie, right? Like let's say that like if you're like let's say that you're stealing from your boss, and then somebody starts asking you like how you feel about them, and you really do hate them, and you're saying I fucking hate this guy, he's a piece of shit or whatever, right? Like you can lie about stealing from him while also being earnest about your opinion about hating him. Like those two things wouldn't be contradictory.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you may not consistently lie because it may not be in your interest. So it may just be in your interest to tell the truth. And I think that's what she's doing now. But why she's telling the truth is the more difficult question here. Like,
well, I mean, if we move from any kind of like Russian agent mind for her, which I say half meaningly, but I don't know anymore. It could be if she genuinely is like anti-interventionalist or views America as needing to be more isolationist in nature or anti, like invade and blow countries, I'm anti-interventionist, then I mean, like these could all just be genuine feelings that she has. And as the head of as the director of national intelligence, the head of the ODNI, she might just feel like we didn't give him anything for this. Like there's no reason for him to be doing this. It didn't come from us. Like all of this could just be genuine stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is the Occam's razor kind of direction to go with this, right? It just, it's a bit more complex to say that there's other interests going on in the background. But in terms of her position in the administration and how she's basically said that she's been cut out of it, there must be some, resentment involved in that as well, if that is the case. In which case, how much is she planning to go against the current administration? Like, how far is she going to go with this? And what happens as a reaction to this in terms of her position?
Well, I mean, this is about as far as she can go. Because, again, she's not like, she can't control the military or anything, right? It's just intelligence. But then also, in terms of the reaction, I just don't think Trump cares about his intelligence agencies much. It just doesn't seem like he uses them or does anything with them. He's obsessed with like the military stuff, and then he likes his domestic people, so like Department of Homeland Security, like ICE and stuff, and his federal officers. But it doesn't seem like I feel like I don't hear him engage much with his intelligence agencies, and he doesn't know how to use the DOJ effectively. I'm just seeing now this the Don Lemon case or whatever. Apparently the FBI or the DOJ hasn't been turning over any discovery to the defendants, which in my mind means it's because they haven't been doing a good job at collecting it or getting it ready. So they probably did the indictment on this case early, and they don't have good discovery because they just haven't done any work on this because it's all just a fucking joke. Like Trump just doesn't engage much. Like I don't think Trump's ever like, I need to get a different director of intelligence so that I can actually do what I want to do, because he just does what he wants to do anyway, and he doesn't use his intelligence regardless. Is what it feels like, as stupid as that is.
I mean, I can imagine that he just doesn't like hearing something that contradicts what he wants to hear. So, of course, that's what intelligence agencies often do. You know, they tell the hard truth, like invading Iran is going to be a big problem. And, you know, he doesn't want to hear that. So then he stops listening to them simply just because it doesn't follow the narrative that he wants to believe in.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That would be what I guess is happening.
Do you think this is Tulsi's exit from the administration for like a presidency run or no?
I feel like she would, I mean, if she feels strongly about any of this, I feel like she wouldn't leave because the fear would be that she'd be replaced by an actual crazy sycophantic person.
I mean,
yeah, but I don't think any of these people give a fuck.
I mean, they have to care to some extent. These people aren't here by accident.
Would she stand as a Republican? How would she become president?
Oh, like
Yeah,
what
she
would she
would
run
run as a
for
Republican.
office? Oh, I don't know about any of that shit. Maybe not. Who knows?
That's what I'm saying. I like this could be her exit from it, from the administration to run in the future and be like, well, I was anti-Trump at this blah blah blah.
Maybe.
That's the thing. She could be trying to set it up so she gets effectively kicked out and says, hey, I didn't want to leave, but I was kicked out, rather than actually completely burning the bridge and being obviously the one to do it.
Sure.
That's what I think is possibly. That's why she's having this plausible deniability for herself as an individual. I don't mean as an administration. Like, you know, there's so many contradictions, right? So if the objective is to prevent nuclear weapons, and then she says, well, they're going after the missile silos. And then, okay, you could say, well, getting rid of the Ayatollah was part of preventing, the plans to build the nuclear weapons. But at the same time, you know, the new administration in Iran is even more extreme. So it's actually contradictory to their objectives.
But that's not contradicting her assessment. The contradiction she's pointing to are. That's what I mean when I say she's throwing the White House under the bus. She's saying that they're trying to destroy the missiles and all this stuff, but like the next guy coming in is potentially even more radical than his father, and we don't know his position on any of these things at all, and we can't speak to like any of his motivations or anything. So
which is what we'd expect, right? Like trying to have a regime change from the air is insane, and even on the ground hasn't worked. So we'd expect that anyway, even if we didn't have that intelligence.
Well, no. We wouldn't expect that the guy coming next would be even more radical, because then what's the point of even trying to do the regime change? Now it seems like it's just a contradictory aim.
Yeah, but if you randomly generated a new leader in a situation where a country's been really obliterated, you're going to expect that there'll be so much upheaval and uncertainty that it will radicalize that next administration. They would have to gain the support of the people.
Maybe it depends on the popularity of the current regime and who's ready to take the place of the next one and who's got the support of the military and all that. But I mean, generally speaking,
historically, that has been the case, right?
Sure.
So that means getting rid of the Ayatollah was actually contradictory to the objectives and interests of the US. So basically, okay, there's different objectives, but it's not only that.
Well, yeah, but remember, she also said explicitly, you just said that was contradictory to the interests of the U.S., which is true, but she said that Israel and the U.S. don't have the same interests, and it sounds like she said Israel's interests are more with regime change, so killing those...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, those interests, they're not just different, they're actually
could be
going
contradictory
against the U.S. interest in the area, let alone U.S. interest more broadly. I mean, if you just read into all of this, it's so many cases of throwing the White House under the bus. I mean, they've been run over like 10 times, during this. It's actually pretty insane, and it's quite clever. I've respected her before in terms of her intelligence, not in terms of what I think her intent is. But
sure.
This is peak Tulsi. Yeah, this is insane.
Yeah.
All
right.
Anyway, I'm going to get back. I'm actually installing a couple of servers in my new flat, so I'm going to get back to that and continue to listen. But this is insane. This is
be
crazy.
careful.
Cool. Take care.
Don't let the AI invade your house.
Well, it's kind of doing it locally, but anyway.
Bye.
Of the intelligence and information provided to him.
It didn't even show that there were attacks anticipated within the next 90 days from Iran.
It's too simplistic of a statement to say that, because it depends on various scenarios occurring or not occurring. That were delivered.
They didn't even show imminence.
The imminent nature of a threat is determined by the president based on a totality of the intelligence and information provided to him.
It didn't even show that there were attacks anticipated within the next 90 days from Iran.
It's too simplistic of a statement to say that, because it depends on various scenarios occurring or not occurring.
Did those assessments show timelines for the threats that Iran posed to the United States?
The totality of threats, yes, there were timelines involved where it applied and where that information was available. But again, to your question about the determination of imminence, the president makes that determination based on the totality of information and intelligence.
The bottom line is there was no imminent threat, and you know that, and there's no product that shows that. I yield back.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. I want to expand on the questioning from my colleague, Mr. LaHood, regarding FISA 702. Obviously, it is the imminent issue right before us. Will expire in a month. Unequivocally, the most critical national security tool our nation has to keep us safe from fentanyl, foreign wars, and everything in between.
It's FISA.
Mainly to Director Ratcliffe, but any of you can answer this. One of the most perplexing debates that I've been subject to in my time here is this debate over what warrants are and when they're needed. In the 250-year history of this country, and going back to the very origins of law enforcement, we have always had a warrant requirement on the collection of evidence. We have never had a warrant requirement on the querying of already lawfully collected data, which is why we don't require police officers to get warrants when they run license plates, querying off of already lawfully collected DOT data. It's why we don't require police officers to get a warrant to enter the evidence locker in their police precinct, which contains already lawfully collected data. It would literally shut down the system. And that's not a warrant requirement. That's a secondary warrant requirement. That's a warrant requirement on steroids. So, Director Ratcliffe, or any of you, I know you've been subject to these questions as well. Is it just a confusion over the difference between the collection of evidence versus the querying of our already lawfully collected data? Is it a lack of understanding of what incidental collection is, which is a fundamental precept of law enforcement? But if we have a warrant requirement on steroids for now the querying of already lawfully collected data, just by the numbers, that would require an expansion of the federal judiciary by a factor of 100. It would literally shut down our law enforcement.
I'm going to make a lot of guesses here, so I'm going to tell me if I'm right or wrong in chat. My guess is going to be that, I don't know if this is part of FISA 702 or whatever, but my guess is going to be that intelligence agencies are allowed to collect huge swaths of data from either from corporations or social media or whatever, but that's because if they don't collect it as it's created or whatever, it's going to be gone forever and they can't ever use it. But let's say that you collect, so let's say that part of the CIA is I'm allowed to archive every single meta post that's ever made. But however, if you want to use this as part of an investigation, or if you want to build on something just to that, if you actually want to go to the database and access these particular things, then you have to get some kind of FISA warrant, I'm guessing, or some kind of warrant in order to actually go over to query the database and go over evidence that you've already collected. And this guy's saying well, if you've got the evidence already, then you should be able to go over anything you want, because you wouldn't have to query evidence collected as part of a police investigation. But my guess is for a police investigation, those subpoenas require you to have articulable, whatever the standard is for getting a warrant from a judge, whereas for the national security stuff, the collection requirements are probably much lower, so they can collect a much larger net of data. It's my guess.
Apparatus at perhaps the most dangerous time in our nation's history. So, Director Ratcliffe, or any of you, if you could just walk me through your analysis there.
Well, I'll start, Congressman. Thanks for the question. Again, thanks for highlighting this important issue. And as has been pointed out, reforms should be implemented where they're necessary. And I think, speaking for myself, and I know Director Patel supported the reforms from 2 years ago to make improvements, and they did. And so some reforms should be considered. A warrant isn't one of them. And with respect to the reforms that have been implemented, we're talking about, when we talk about Fourth Amendment rights and privacy concerns, we're at a 99.9% compliance rate with respect to that. So I would start by saying, why are you trying to fix?
Got a defib? No defib? No. Well, good luck, buddy. Cooked.
What's not broken with something that I can tell you from this seat, the fix would not work. And I go back to my comment before. DNIs, CIA directors, FBI directors, the people that have been in all of these chairs before on a bipartisan basis agree that a warrant won't work and don't advocate for it. Congressman, you're correct. This is lawfully collected information.
But it sounds like it's lawfully collected because it's going to be gated behind the requirement for some warrant. So if you didn't have that requirement, it sounds like they would have to go through an actual subpoena warrant process for every single thing they'd collect instead. So I feel like that's misleading there, unless I'm misunderstanding the underlying architecture of this.
And these things come at you very fast, and you have to make decisions very quickly, and sometimes in a matter of hours. You have to act on the information that you have lawfully, that has been lawfully collected to interdict drug shipments or terrorist activities, and a warrant requiring you to go to the court to seek probable cause for information that has already been lawfully collected only prevents that from happening. I don't understand. I understand that it's well-meaning for people that are proposing it, but again, I would defer to the people who sit in these chairs and make these decisions who would tell you that it doesn't work.
Anybody else want to comment on the warrant requirement?
So, Congressman, I'd love to comment. Thanks for the question. I do just want to add a couple of points. I agree with everything Director Radcliffe said. Not only is this already collected data on foreign personnel outside of the United States, but the data that is being queried has also already been analyzed to ensure that it contains foreign intelligence value, which I think is a very important part of this. And then when we query a U.S. person term, we're not querying for U.S. person information. We're querying for foreign intelligence that has already been evaluated at least once to contain foreign intelligence in the database that's being accessed. And then the final piece that I think is important is that both the FISC and the Department of Justice have established robust legal and compliance rules that we adhere to and that is audited by DOJ for every query that we make.
Thank you. I yield back.
Dr. Barra.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Gabbard, we've known each other for a long time. We were both elected to Congress in 2012 and served together.
Okay, so somebody says, collected data is not considered actual data. It all sits there in these massive databases, but because it hasn't been queried, it's not actually considered data. When somebody queries the database, it then becomes data, and doing that requires warrants. Okay, that sounds right.
For a while, I may not have always agreed with your positions, but I respected the consistency of some of your positions. Director Gabbard, following the January 3rd, 2020 drone strike that killed Qasem Soleimani, you gave a speech on the House floor 6 days later, on January 9th, 2020. In this speech, that is currently in the congressional record and available for anyone to view, you stated, quote, President Trump has committed an illegal and unconstitutional act of war, pushing our nation headlong into a war with Iran without any authorization from Congress. A war that would be so costly and devastating, it would make our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan look like a picnic. On February 28, 2026, the Trump administration, under which you are the president's principal intelligence advisor, launched an illegal and unconstitutional act of war, pushing our nation headlong into a war with Iran without any authorization from Congress. This war has already been costly and devastating. 13 American service members have lost their lives, including Chief Warrant Officer Robert Marsden from my home of Sacramento, California. And approximately 200 service members have been wounded. The Pentagon reported that the first 6 days of Operation Epic Fury cost $11.3 billion. That averages almost $2 billion per day. That was the first 6 days, and now we're in the 19th day of this war. That's ballooned into a regional conflict, putting the lives of Americans and our allies throughout the Middle East in danger. Director Gabbard, do you still believe that strikes against Iran that don't have congressional authorization constitute an illegal and unconstitutional act of war?
Congressman, thank you for the question. The cost of war weighs very heavily upon me and my colleagues here, especially for those of us who have experienced and seen the cost of war firsthand. My own personal and political views, as I mentioned earlier, I was asked and required by Congress and by the President in this role as the Director of National Intelligence to check those views at the door to ensure that the intelligence assessments are not colored by my personal views.
Director
and that's
Gabbard,
exactly what I am responsible to deliver.
Do you still believe that war with Iran would be so costly and devastating that it would make our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan look like a picnic?
Once again, in this role, it is essential that I do not allow any of my personal views on any issues to color or bias the intelligence reporting that we deliver to you and to the President.
Director Gabbard, in this hearing 1 year ago, I asked some questions, and I'll paraphrase my exact question. It's like, we should keep politics out of this, even if the President disagrees with a directive, if it goes against his personal wishes, if he's considering an order that potentially is unconstitutional or illegal or compromises our security. I want your word that you will always provide and give the honest advice to the President, even if it will make him angry. I asked you that question. I'm going to read your answer. And to your specific question, the answer is yes. I will inform the President of that accurate, timely, unbiased intelligence reporting, whether it is something that agrees with an assumption or a view or an objective or not. That's my responsibility to him and to the American people. Director Gabbard, there is no imminent threat of nuclear breakout. Did you deliver that assessment to the President?
I have delivered the intelligence community's assessments to the President.
There was no imminent nuclear threat to the United States. There was no evidence of imminence that Iran was going to attack American assets. That was different from anything they've done over 4 decades. That was going to attack our homeland. There was no imminent threat. Imminent is defined in the dictionary as something that is about to happen. Not something that's been happening for 4 decades, not something that is going to happen 3 months from now, not something that's going to happen a year from now. Imminent said this is about to happen. Did you deliver that assessment to the President?
I delivered the intelligence community's objective analysis of the threats, the severity of those threats, and the scope, along with assessments of the different scenarios and contexts that exist within the Middle East.
The president owes it to the American people to go on television, to explain to the American people, to the service members who have died in action serving our country, why we are at war with Iran. He needs to go on television and explain that directly to the American people, what the imminent threat was.
Gentleman's time has expired. I would advise members that a vote has been called. It's a single vote, and if members want to shuttle back and forth so we can maintain the continuity of the hearing, we'll do that. So if you start to see it, just to our witnesses, you know how this works. They'll be moving in and out to go address that vote and then returning to their seat. But at this time, I recognize Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, for the record, I would like to submit an article from Politico dated February.
Why does this guy sound like Kyle Kalinske?
2026, and the title of it is Head of State of the Union Dems Demand Trump Make Iran Plans Public. I think most Americans understand that if the President of the United States makes those plans public, then the enemies get to see them.
Without objection, so ordered.
And that was the date of the State of the Union. Director Patel, I'm going to come to you very quickly, and then I'm going to move on. But I listened closely to Senator Langford's testimony yesterday about fraud and the other things that are going on, and I want to bring your attention. This was in March 25th of 2024. An unsuspecting Uber driver named Lalitha Tulanda Hall drove to a house near Columbus, Ohio to pick up a package. She had no idea that the 81-year-old man who lived there had just received a series of phone calls from scammers who had threatened to kill him if he did not give the woman coming to his house $12,000 in cash.
Jesus.
He killed the lady, so she's dead. He now has a life sentence. Are you aware of any action or investigation that the Justice Department has taken to pursue justice, to bring the scammers and put them and make them pay for what they did?
I think you're referring to Congressman scam centers and scam compounds that are wreaking havoc on our citizens.
I'm referring to this individual case. This lady was murdered, and a man now has life in prison.
I can't speak to that individual case. I can tell you what we're doing generally if you wish, but as you said.
No, sir. I want to bring that case to your attention. I think that we need to pursue that. Someone is dead, and someone else has life in prison. And it was the scammers that did it. My heart goes out to both families, but the scammers are the ones that need to pay the price. They're the guilty party here. Director Gabbard, you made a lot of changes
to go to jail.
at ODN.
Wait,
This
so
was crazy.
A guy showed up at an apartment or something to drop off something, and then a scammer convinced the person whose home he was going to kill the person, or to give the person.
So, scammers calling an old dude. They're saying, "Hey, we're sending someone there to get the money. You owe us, I don't know, like $20,000 to bail your kid out of jail or whatever. Blah blah blah." Lady who just drives Uber gets a pickup to go pick up a package. She shows up. She waits there. Is like waiting outside to pick up a package. Eventually, the guy comes out.
Okay.
Or no, she comes to the door. She knocks. The guy comes out, holds a gun to her, and is like, "You're trying to kill me. You're trying to steal my money. Blah blah blah." Because the people on the phone, who were the scammers, were threatening him, saying like, "We have someone there at your house now. If you don't give over the money, they're gonna kill you." Blah blah blah. The lady refuses to give her phone over. And then the guy has a gun to her, and he keeps saying, "Give me your phone, give me your phone. I want to check your phone." She refuses. She gets in the car, and then this guy just shoots her dead. So he killed a Uber driver who was there for a package.
Okay, wait. So he killed the Uber driver.
Mm-hmm.
But who was on the phone with the scammers?
Scammers were on the phone with this guy who killed the Uber driver.
Okay. And why was he asking her for her phone? Because of the scammers on
Because he thought that she was one of the scammers who was threatening to kill her.
She wasn't like going to his house or whatever. She was just like happened to be there.
No, she was going to his house to pick up a package from Uber.
Why is Uber shipping a package from his house?
So Uber does like where they'll come and get a parcel from.
Yeah.
And then they'll take it somewhere else.
Okay. So it sounds like she was part of the scam. No?
But she had no idea.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's crazy shit. Yeah.
So, like, if I were to call you and tell you, like, you need to put money in a thing or your family's going to die, but the person that I've got contracted, quote unquote, to pick it up is I just do a random, like, Uber parcel.
It's a random Uber. Yeah.
Damn. So, and the guy got life in prison.
Well, he killed this lady.
Yeah. But I mean,
I get it, but he still killed a random lady.
Yeah, but damn, bro.
You should watch it. There's a cop slap of it.
There's oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You should watch the video. She tells him like 4 times that she works for Uber. Well, yeah, but isn't that exactly what a scammer person would say? Jesus. Okay.
ODNI changes that I think were necessary that I want to give you the chance to talk about. So what concrete steps in ODNI 2.0, what are they taking to address politicization, weaponization of intelligence?
Wait, did I watch this or did you guys watch this on anything else?
I watched it. Never being.
Oh, okay. Yeah, wait, link me.
You didn't see it.
Link it in chat, I guess.
Let me find.
The whole thing is on video. How long is the whole thing?
The whole video was like 10, 15 minutes.
Yes, I need the sheriff and the ambulance real quick out here. There's been a shooting.
The caller is the shooter. He's being advised to put the gun down.
He said it was a scam. Somebody called and told him that his nephew was in jail. He was after blood money.
It's the same play that they've been using on everybody.
Yeah.
It's always elderly people.
Yeah.
And then she showed up.
Oh. Yeah, he got bashed pretty good. She shows up here and takes 12,000 persuasion there. Okay there.
A man calls 911 to report that he's been the victim of a telephone scam that ended in a dangerous confrontation in front of his house. Now one person has been shot, and the threat may be ongoing. But it won't be long before a shocking revelation turns the entire case upside down. The following report is based on official police records, and some of the footage has never been seen before until now. In Clark County, Ohio, on the morning of March 25, 2024, dispatchers get a 911 call from an elderly man named Bill Brock, who says he's been forced to use extreme measures to defend his life.
Yes, I need the sheriff and the ambulance real quick out here. There's been a shooting.
A shooting? Who shot?
Some black woman come to the house here.
Who did she shoot?
Well, I've been threatened all morning.
Okay. Okay, where did the black woman go?
She's laying here on the driveway.
Did you shoot her?
Yes, I did.
Okay. She's laying in the driveway?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
She's bleeding some. And,
Okay, where did you shoot her at?
well, I shot her in the leg the first time, and I shot her in the shoulder.
Okay, so you shot her in the leg and the shoulder?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because I was threatened that she was going to come and kill me.
Much more will be said about the threats Bill was getting that morning, but for now the dispatcher is concerned about the immediate emergency.
Is anybody else with her out there?
No.
Okay, so she's by herself?
And I'm by myself, too.
Okay. Is that her in the background?
Yes.
Okay.
Even with the woman in clear need of urgent medical care, Bill says that the threat against his life may still be ongoing.
There was a guy on the phone, and he was telling me he was going to kill me and the family and everybody else around me.
Help me, please.
And he thought he would be on his way here now. He claimed he was in Springfield,
Okay, the mail said he was in the Springfield?
but I don't believe it. I'm not comfortable being outside here because they said they had us run over us. And
The stunning details of what led up to this shooting will come out in time, but for now police rushing to the scene have a more pressing question.
Yes, we do. Okay, and where the person providing the firearm is? Okay, where did you put the gun?
I've got it right here in my hand.
Okay, I need you to put the gun down before the officers and the medics get there. I need you to put it up somewhere.
I will.
The caller is the shooter. He's being advised to put the gun down. Did you put the gun up? I need you to put the gun up before they arrive, okay?
Yes.
Okay, put the gun up for me. Put it inside the house or something, okay?
Yes. But she's not going anywhere.
With that stark assessment, Bill puts the gun away. The woman is being treated by paramedics when the first deputy arrives at the scene.
Come here. You're all right. Stay by 1 second. Are you the shooter? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna pat you down, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to hang on with that. Yeah, hang on with that too. Might be set in my car, okay?
Yeah.
Set me for a log. I have the man. I'll be secured in my car. Not yet. Just let us figure it out, okay? Okay. You're not under arrest, okay? You're just being detained in the car for now, okay? Like I said, there's a squad coming to check you, okay?
Yeah.
So just give us a few.
I'm sure glad to see you guys out here because I've been on this phone for a couple hours with this guy trying to save me. Had a nephew in jail, had a wreck in Charleston, and just kept hanging on and needing on money. This woman was supposed to, figured it.
As the cops secure the scene, a med flight is ordered for the woman, who is still conscious.
Okay, I'm gonna have you stuff prepped. Anything?
As they wait for the helicopter, the deputies begin to learn a little more about what happened here today.
He said it was a scam. Somebody called and told him that his nephew was in jail and he didn't pay $12,000 now. The next thing you know, he tells them he's got the $12,000. He shows up here and takes $12,000 persuasion there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah.
So you were the only one in your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody came with this female?
No.
Okay. You didn't see anybody?
She was saying that was Springfield was ours, right? Because he was after blood money. There's $12,000 of an envelope in there that I was supposed to take to Springfield.
Bill tried to get some of this across in the 911 call.
She threatened to kill you?
No, it's a guy on the phone that's been trying to get money out of me.
It's the same play that they've been using on everybody.
Yeah.
It's always elderly people.
Yeah.
The federal government warns that so-called grandparent scams are growing more common as cyber thieves use.
Oh man, dude, this guy said way too much. This guy f***ed himself with this 911 call, which sucks. But I wonder if there should be a rule that like 911 calls or something can't be used as evidence or something against you. I don't know. Maybe not.
Like you have to be read Miranda, I guess.
Well, something like imagine if I'm in an area, and imagine if imagine I come to your house and I see you're like laying on your porch and you're like laying there bleeding or something, and I call 911 and I'm like, hey, like I came to my friend's house, he's bleeding, what do I do? And imagine like, oh, what does it look like? It's like, oh, it looks like he got shot. And they're like, okay, do you see anybody? And I'm like, no, I don't. There's nobody here. Like I drove down here, I haven't seen anybody like the whole time. Imagine if like I become the prime suspect in that, and now you have to play that in court. And it's like my testimony basically on the 911 call saying like, didn't you say that when you showed up at his house, you hadn't seen anybody around there in miles? And maybe the guy was like hiding behind the house and they just never found or whatever, right? And they're like, and that wound was fresh, right? When paramedics shouldn't, it's like, oh, fuck me. Like, well, fuck, if I would have known this 911 call was going to be played, I would have said shit. But yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if they do it under like spontaneous utterance or whatever it's called.
No shot, because this is not you just like saying some shit like, oh, I'm sorry. This is like you get like police reports and everything are super valid forms of evidence. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Social media to gain access to consumers' personal information. The FBI reported that they received nearly 200 complaints in 2023 relating to this type of fraud. This case, of course, ended differently than most.
They're in the white squad. They got one in the chest, one in the hip, I think, and two in the leg.
Yeah, tell that helicopter to look for a drone because they claim they had a drone circling around there watching me and one killed me.
Things are quickly worsening for the woman Bill shot.
Hey, I know you guys got a lot going on, but if you can, them pants, her clothes.
We don't have time for that. Working in a restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no worries about it. She's full rest.
Where's
right
the
now.
life flight?
The woman's injuries have left her on the brink, but neither of them made it through today's incident unscathed.
Are you in?
The life flight?
Yeah, I thought they said on here that they called like a life flight.
Isn't that where she's going? To get on the hospital?
Hey, I know you guys got a lot going on.
She's in a fucking ambulance right now.
Maybe they're driving her to the helipad.
Them pants, her clothes.
We don't have time for that. Working in a restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no worries about it. She's full rest right now.
Or they might just be putting her in the ambulance because they can keep her pumping there or something, maybe? I don't know.
The woman's injuries have left her on the brink, but neither of them made it through today's...
Oh, no worries. I know you guys got a lot going on, but if you can, them pants,
Somebody said
her
there's a
clothes.
helicopter right
We
there.
don't have time for that. Working in a restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no worries about it. She's
Where's the helicopter?
full rest right now.
We saw the helicopter.
The woman's injuries have left her on the brink, but neither of them made it through today's incident unscathed.
Are you injured anywhere?
Just a little nick on the side there where she slammed the car door on me.
Yeah, whole side.
Are you guys in this?
Oh, yeah, he got bashed pretty good.
With Bill detained and the woman being airlifted to a nearby hospital, the
There she
detectives
goes.
begin their investigation around back with an important piece of evidence.
I know. Unfortunately, there's blood on it. He has some blood on his ears and stuff.
There's a gun.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a revolver.
I haven't got pictures of her yet. I want to where I'm going. She's like a bull in a china shop.
This old ass metal door.
As they head into the house, the investigators notice the envelope full of money that Bill had prepared for the scammers.
Yep.
So why did he?
So they called him,
Oh, okay. You didn't say no more. I understand. Tell him that his son didn't. Yep.
and then she showed up.
As familiar as the scam may be, this one took an extremely rare turn. And when the man behind this scam calls the house, it takes another one.
You ready?
Holy
Do we want to know? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, who's it?
May I ask you who I'm talking to?
Yeah, this is the officer speaking.
Okay, what officer?
Yeah.
No, I need to know what officer, sir.
You're gonna be in trouble.
Okay. Let me ask you this. The female you said over here, you know who she is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, she's been in an accident. And this is actually an officer. It's Detective Cruz with the Clark County Sheriff's Office. I need you to dial a number. Get this number so I can explain more to you. Hello?
Rip.
Hello?
Did they catch the original scammer? My guess is
Nope.
going to be you'll have no idea because the phone stuff is just way too easy to route through any place, and you'll never be able to, with all the international cooperation of the world, you'll never be able to tell.
If you'd like to make a call, please.
Well, they know that she's been in an accident, so they can't say we didn't tell them.
As the deputies have their first interaction with the phone scammers, Bill remains shaken by the grim events that have shaped this morning.
Yeah, he threatened to come out here and kill me if I didn't pay.
Okay.
And she was going to get me. Okay. So I left the door on.
The guy sounded American. He did. It could be Americans doing the scams. It could also possibly be, as corny as it sounds, it could just be like live AI translated or whatever. Like I've noticed now on Instagram, you notice on Instagram that they'll show you reels in other languages and they'll just do translations on the reel. Like Audible.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, there's some they might be popping up and you might not even notice it. But like some of the real, like if the comments are all in Spanish and you just listen to a reel in English, if you click on the bottom left, it'll tell you it's like just been translated by like an AI speaker, and it looks. I think they might even change the mouth movements and shit of it. So it wouldn't surprise me if you could do real live or real time like voice translations, or like to get rid of accents or whatever. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Expected birthday arm.
I gotcha.
I feel. It's not a bad bouncer.
I understand. I've been in a shootout before. I completely understand.
Inside the house, the scammer calls once again.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry, we got disconnected there.
Okay.
What are you saying?
She was in an accident. This is Detective Cruz with the Clark County Sheriff's Office. She was taken to the hospital. I need you to call so we can get more information on her.
Okay, what type of accident?
It was a serious accident. We'll just say that.
A serious accident?
Yes.
Is she okay?
No, she's not doing well.
Oh, no. Yeah.
She just said she was taken to the hospital.
What hospital?
I'm not going to tell you that until you meet me so I can make sure you're family or something like that.
Okay, I'm going to be there.
Why didn't the guy try to contact the cops or anything? I mean, I haven't seen the whole court case, but assuming the scam is working as intended, I imagine that there's a threat from the scammers that if you try to call police or whatever, if they're saying they'll kill your family or whatever dumb shit they're claiming is would be the threat to make so you don't make a call like that.
Will you give me 20 minutes?
Okay, thank you.
Where is the gentleman that was there?
Huh?
The gentleman that was there. Where is he?
He's talking to us, so I need you to come.
Okay, thank you. I'll be there.
20 minutes, get ready. Let's see if he shows up.
But now knowing the police are on the scene and Bill is talking to them, the man never arrives. Meanwhile, Bill gets stitches for his head wound.
Yeah, I'm glad you got around because they threatened to kill me.
Yeah, and that too, because the threats as well. So you have a female that probably has someone else out there that you never know.
Bill says the scam caller made many death threats, but today's events only bring about one actual death. 61-year-old Lolita Hall, the woman he shot this morning, dies in surgery at Kettering Hospital.
Well, about the neighbors that were threatening to be raped and killed.
According to Bill's friends, his fears lingered. He stayed with his girlfriend Becky for the following days, hiding his vehicles because he thought the scammers would find him and kill him. But even today, the cops believe they have the basic picture of what happened.
He's already given consent, so he's complied with all law enforcement aspects. It sounds like the person that came to his house was in the wrong. He is the apparent victim of a possible robbery. He shot someone that attempted to rob him.
But this investigation is about to take its most unexpected turn yet. Detectives soon realized that Lolita Hall was working for Uber on the morning that Bill was being targeted over the phone. And just as Bill had no idea who he was really talking to that day, Lolita too was unaware that the pickup and delivery order she accepted that morning was part of a sophisticated scam. At 10:52, she arrives at Bill's house. Lolita's dash cam shows her waiting in Bill's driveway, apparently uncertain about the next step.
I don't know what door I'm supposed to go to.
Bill had been on the phone with the scammers for nearly 2 hours at that point. They claimed to be a lawyer and a judge calling on behalf of Matt, his girlfriend Becky's grandson, who had supposedly been arrested after a negligent car accident. At one point, they even put someone posing as Matt himself on the phone. The ruse was good enough to fool Bill for a while, but as Lolita was out in the driveway trying to decide what to do, he was beginning to realize that something wasn't right.
You sure don't look like anyone's here. I don't see him.
Bill says that the plan was for him to deliver the $12,000 to a parking lot near the courthouse, where he would meet with a woman in a black Acura. But when he begins to catch on to the scam, the men on the phone drop the act and tell him that the woman has come to him. He looks out the window and sees a black Acura parked in the driveway.
You can be like, hello. There is no bell to ring. Ma'am, there's no bell to ring. I'm not walking up.
Lolita, clearly uneasy about going to the door, remains in the driveway for nearly a half hour total. In the meantime, Bill says the scammers were getting increasingly hostile. They gave him a stark warning. If they didn't get a call from their woman confirming that the money had been handed over, they would kill him, his family, and those closest to him.
Can you let them know I'm here? Is there any way you can let them know I'm here?
It's not clear if Lolita is talking to anyone or merely rehearsing, but finally, just as the scammers are threatening Bill's life over the phone, Lolita decides she's done waiting.
Okay.
Lolita heads in the direction of Bill's back door.
Oh,
According to Bill,
Jesus.
she walked into his covered sunroom area through the door facing the driveway, proceeded to open the storm door leading into his house, and said, "I'm here for the package." Bill says that was when he drew his pistol and asked for her phone. Less than 2 minutes after Lolita was seen walking toward the house, she is seen again, and this time, she's not alone.
Stop. Stop. I'll call 911. Nope, you're not leaving. Hi. No, you're not. You're not leaving my house. Give me that phone. Stop. Give me that. Help! 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 Give me that phone. Help! I'll shoot the other way. Help! Oh, get out. Help! Yes. Yes, I know what you're after. You're after her. Help! 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 Give me that phone. Help!
But even as Bill calls for help along with her, he will later say he still saw Lolita, and more specifically the phone she was carrying, as a dangerous threat to his survival.
I'll shoot you in the head. Please don't. Don't, sir. Please don't work for. Over. You got up there. You can see it. You can see it. You can look, sir. Please look. Oh, hold properly. Oh, I'll shoot you. Give me the phone. All right. Please, don't shoot me anymore. Please. You need an ambulance. Please, let's talk.
Lolita can be heard begging Bill not to shoot her again for the next minute, but Bill is fixated on one thing.
Please, somebody help me. Give me your damn phone.
No additional gunshots are heard, and soon Bill calls 911.
There's been a shooting.
A shooting? Who shot?
Some black woman has come to the house here.
Roughly 2 weeks after the shooting, Bill's lawyer told Clark County detectives that he would not be submitting to a formal interview. The next day, he was arrested and charged with murder. At trial, the prosecutors argued that a reasonable person would not shoot a defenseless woman multiple times to protect themselves from words of a scammer. The jury agreed, and in January 2026, William Brock was convicted of murder, 2 counts of felony murder, kidnapping, and felonious assault. At sentencing, Lolita's son Mario called his mother his best friend. She didn't get to grow old like William Brock, he said. Instead, she sits on my mantle in an urn. William Brock, 83, was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison, plus an additional and consecutive 6 years for firearm specifications. He has filed an appeal. In March 2025, the estate of Lolita Hall filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Bill and the unnamed scammers, none of whom have been identified or arrested to this day. The lawsuit is ongoing.
Damn. You think the guy...
Yeah.
You think he deserved it?
Yeah. I think you gotta go to jail there.
Damn.
You can't just shoot someone because they...
Because they what?
You can't just shoot someone because they won't give you the phone. I understand all of the other circumstances, but she wasn't actually posing a threat.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he doesn't know that, right? That's the whole point of the scam. Like, in his mind, she's on the phone with the scammers, and if she tells the scammers that he's gone out to confront her, then I guess they're going to go after him and his family or some whatever bullshit they're trying to convince him of.
I mean, but it's not for him to shoot her, right? He should just call the police, and if she goes away, then he calls the police. Hey,
Well, yeah, but
so-and-so
didn't it
are coming
sound
to kill me.
Didn't they start the call off by saying that they used like a voice or whatever, or they got an impersonator of his son to say that his son was already in custody or something?
Probably, yeah.
So if you think your family is already being held hostage, and you think this lady has a phone where she's
no. He's the money's for bail money. They don't think he's being held hostage. He thinks that they. Like,
well, I think initially
the kid
it's for
is in
bail
jail.
money, but then once he starts to not trust them, don't they switch the story to, you're just going to give us this money or we're going to kill your family? That's what it sounded like. The details, I guess, of the call would.
It sounded like they're gonna come kill you, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious if the I'm curious if his impression at the time was that some family member is already being held hostage or not. I guess I'm also curious. He lived out in the rural lands. I wonder how far away he was from anything, such that maybe he thought that
He's not that far.
You don't think so?
Well, no, I know that area actually. He's like.
You know that area? Where is that?
That's in Ohio. That's near where I grew up.
Bullshit. Yeah, you grew up in the farms.
Probably like 10 minutes from a city, not like Miami.
10-minute drive.
Like, you know, I mean, from a 30,000 probably. Yeah.
That's a decently rural place.
Sure, I'm not saying it's not decently rural, but sometimes when you say rural, you could be talking about like, okay, we're an hour out.
Sure, that would be mega rural, but
sure, yeah.
What are we talking about? Cats?
The cops. We cop slopped a little.
You think that there's wild cats?
I don't know what. Hold on, Chad is being retarded. 10-minute drive to get to a city is not suburban. There are not suburban places that are. Like by the time you're 10 minutes out in suburban sprawl, you've created a new city. Link me a map of some suburban place where it's a 10-minute drive on going 55 miles an hour, not like going through 20 million stop signs or whatever. Jacksonville suburbs? Jacksonville is part of the city of Jacksonville. It's not rural. That's Jacksonville. It's a city. What are you talking about?
What was this guy's name again? What was the video?
Wait, what?
What was the guy who shot's name? I'm gonna look up exactly where.
I don't know. You linked it to me, didn't you?
No, someone in chat linked it. William J. Brown.
Technically, every place is a city, or do you only mean unincorporated townships? No, if you live at a place where you have to drive, like... I don't know, I'm trying to think of where... I don't want to dox anybody. Like, there are places... I don't want to say out in the country, because it doesn't mean anything. Where, like, it might be... maybe, like, a 30-second drive to, like, the next house. And then you might be 10 minutes away from the closest like gas station, like by long road, but not like 10 minutes. Like, oh, I've got to go through stop signs and blah blah blah. But like you gotta drive out your driveway and you're on some gravel, unpaid bullshit, and then you have to drive 10 minutes just to even get to like a small town area of like a population 2,000 center to even like fill up in gas or whatever. These are like
so. He's 20 minutes from Springfield, which is a city of. Springfield population.
Yeah, Springfield sounds like a big city, but if you have to drive 20 minutes just to get anywhere, that seems like if he were to call 911,
60K?
If he were to call 911, is this like a 10-minute plus drive for the cops to get there, or 10, 15, 20 minutes for the cops to get there? Like,
for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of in terms of like, why can't he just call the cops? If he feels like, but I don't know if he felt like his family was being held hostage or not. I don't know what the order, because the presenter for this video was just kind of talking through it.
Yeah, the nearest like hospital, like actual hospital for this lady is like a 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah. For you guys are so fucking retarded. Hold on, I'm not gonna get triggered by a bunch of city slickers. They have cops for outside of cities. Kind of, yeah. But like one of the largest complaints for people that live in like out in the boonies is emergency services take a while to get there. Like that's an issue, right? Not even just hospitals, but like calling the cops, calling firefighters, anything like that. Like emergency service availability for rural areas is like harder than city areas. Like it's a thing. It's a deal.
My wife was near passing out in the bathroom from fucking blood loss from a miscarriage like a month ago or whatever. And I called a fucking paramedic. I called 911 in Toronto. It took them almost an hour to get. Like this guy it would have taken cops a while to get there.
Okay, well that's
it's not
Canada.
an instant
okay.
thing.
That's a Canada.
Yeah,
thing.
that's some Canada shit.
That's some Canada shit. Okay.
Can we talk about cats now?
What about them? Quick.
Do you think that there are cats that live out in the forest? Just wild, like house cats that are just like chilling, no people nearby for 20, 30 minutes?
My guess would be no. The only reason why I would guess that is because my guess is going to be in... I guess there could be, like, it wouldn't be impossible, but my guess is going to be the more urban-y, the more city-like a place is, the more there's going to be like trash cans with food or stuff being left out. There's going to be like easy access to stuff like that. Although I guess it could be more risky because of vehicles. But my guess is you'd want to be kind of nearish a city because you could just go and loot so much easy shit as a cat. Would be my guess.
Imagine how cute it would be to be walking in the forest and then like some big fat orange cat was just laying in the middle of the forest.
That'd be crazy.
My God.
But they'd probably be like behind a tree or on a branch or some shit looking at you and you'd never see them.
Yeah, and they'd be ready to kill you also.
Damn. Well, they could be chill.
So do you think that guy deserved it?
I would need to hear exactly what he thought the threat was, I think. That would be an important thing to determine how I would feel about that.
I'm caught up on this cop slop drama, by the way. I think we watched this one together, Moot, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Do you think the old guy deserved it?
You think that he could word himself out of that then?
I think he could have.
Well, I think it would have depended on the facts of like on the phone call. Like if they were just saying on the phone call like we're gonna come and kill you, blah blah blah. If that's what they were saying and he decides to just kill this woman outside because he just wants to like catch him or whatever, then that's not acceptable. That's obviously not okay. But if they were threatening like his family and like the city or were making it sound like they could like imminently kill people close to him or whatever, then I mean. I'm a lot more sympathetic to. I mean, it's a boomer fuck.
I'm sympathetic, but I don't think you can ever word your way out of that, because like when cops are asking like, okay, what was happening? It's only his word. Like even if he retains
but he doesn't have to answer
like
anything, right? If this is a court case, right? He could just not testify. This is why killing people 1v1. This is why killing people 1v1 is so OP because there's nobody else to testify against you, right? So it's up to the state to prove what happened.
Well, I mean, they have body cam footage of him asking for a phone and then him saying,
well, sure. But I mean,
no.
He didn't know that at the time. I don't know if he would have beat this case in particular. I'm not sure.
I just don't think there's ever a world where you beat that case.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, possibly not, depending on what the facts are. Yeah. Or depending on the state. True.
Intelligence and unauthorized leak.
It's also a lot on the jury, right? Like you see like some super old dude. Obviously had no intent to kill someone, thought that he was doing the only thing he could. Like, I mean, maybe manslaughter, but so even if he...
Well, clearly this jury didn't feel that way. This jury
well, no, but I'm saying...
crucified.
Well, I don't know what happened here, but like, to me, if there's no intent and he wasn't being crazy and I'd have to get caught up on it, like you could find him guilty, but then not give him that serious of a punishment.
Well,
right?
yeah,
like,
he got 15 to life, I think, is what the... I
don't think that is good. Like I think most, I don't know, penal system should be mostly rehabilitative if it's dealing with first time offenders.
Sure, but I mean this guy's like 81 anyway, right?
Yeah, but are we just like punishing him for something that...
Yes, he murdered someone.
Yeah, but you know.
I'm sorry, hold on. I'm getting so triggered by spoiled rich. All of you are spoiled rich and white, okay? All of you are, and that's the only way you can disagree with me. Not really, I'm sorry, but you're saying, did either Dusty or Dan actually watch? Like, what the fuck was an old woman walking backwards begging? How can you shoot here? So I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but scammers in general are not like shredded, wearing a tank top, wearing some fresh fucking yays, are not like the most well put together people. A lot of scammers look like fucking losers. Yes, there's a reason why the people that do scamming do fucking scamming, and it's because they're not usually doing too hot in life. So the idea that like, oh my god, how could this person that looks like a fucking loser be a scammer? I thought it would have been some fucking bougie-looking Turkish dude with a hair transplant for an international, well-traveled person. I thought it was going to get scammed by Hassan Biker in person, not E-Rob. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. But like, yeah, come on, chill, Jesus.
And how will these reforms help rebuild public trust in the intelligence community and help the United States of America?
Thank you very much for the question, Congressman. I committed to all of you before taking this role that I would execute on that, to bring back ODNI's focus on its core mission, to cut the fat, to cut away any detractions away from that, and to ensure that our intelligence community was providing objective, timely, and relevant intelligence to the president.
You're not allowed to shoot scammers. He's not shooting what he thinks is a scammer. He's shooting what he thinks is a person who's part of an operation that's going to kill his family, is my understanding at least.
And to policymakers. I conducted a ground-based review of the mission.
Listen, his crime there was far less severe than that crazy old dude that shot and killed the pregnant teenager or whatever that broke into his house. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, but that guy's got stand your ground. Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, he should have went to jail too.
And I think he was more on the right than that one dude who fucking shot at the dudes that were calling him a pedophile in the fucking mall. That was also fully acquitted.
Oh, I remember that.
I don't
remember
that
that. The fucking
was
YouTuber
crazy.
that was doing like pranks.
There was some
This
retarded.
guy's crime was being in the wrong state. If he was in Texas, he would have been off.
Well, maybe, but yeah, Jesus.
Or what about? Well, this is a ancient history meme. But you remember that guy who got his kid killed by some serial killer, and he was just waiting at a payphone as they were walking him by in the airport.
Yep, we've
They
all
just fucking
this is posted on
blasted him.
Reddit 4 million times. We know, Dan.
Yeah, that guy, he got off. All right, that guy got off. Why can't this guy get off?
True. Well, because that other guy
Because
had
why?
actually killed somebody, and this guy was just killing an Uber driver. It was kind of
Yeah, but that guy was killing someone with intent and malice and planning.
sure. But are you asking me why people would be sympathetic towards a parent whose child was killed?
You know
Is
what?
that
I'm
the
sorry. My bad. Making conversation. I'll just go
Sure.
fucking
Being
slice
retarded.
my wrist.
Thank you. I know.
Sorry,
He
sorry.
just
Yeah,
does
let me go
this.
do it. Hey,
Wait,
can
you're telling
anyone
me or
direct
Dan
me to the
retarded?
nearest razor store, please? I got a appointment with Destiny.
forget,
Oh shit! Are
across
you gonna
the
get a
street.
new phone?
That's my.
Wait, does
fucking
Razer
line.
still make phones?
I think there was
Yeah,
a
they do.
Razer Fold or whatever the fuck it was, right?
The Razer Fold? Yikes!
Yeah,
Like
I
some
knew
new
Razer.
shit. You remember? Oh God, are these phones still around? The Virtu or whatever the fuck it was. It was like a gold-plated Android phone for people that are like, yeah, I'm rich. I have a gold-plated phone. And they cost like $4,000.
You just put on the video.
Jesus, why are you hating Dan so? Wow,
fuck you.
Mooten. What the f***, Mooten? Wow.
Just put the video on, man.
I don't
fuck
remember it.
Tulsi Gabbard.
But didn't that sounds like what the Trump phone was going to be? Have they shipped those yet to anybody at all?
Nope.
Yikes.
Let me make sure, but I haven't heard.
Abilities and measuring effectiveness of ODNI, which resulted in a reduction of
Nope,
force
still not out.
by roughly 40% and a narrowing of focus and reorganization that consolidated and coordinated the experts within the ODNI in order to be able to deliver those effects. Leaking continues to be a prolific problem across the IC. We have and continue to implement tools and capabilities within the Zero Trust framework to be able to get after those leakers and refer them to the Department of Justice for investigation and
Leakers,
prosecution. We've seen we are continuing to focus on the issue of analytic tradecraft and the integrity of it, once again, to make sure that the analysis that's being conducted is not being colored by anyone's political or personal views on any issue. To that effect, we have and continue to conduct re-looks at different intelligence products that have been provided in the past. As the chairman mentioned, one related to anomalous health incidents, to identify politicization of these products in the past, and also make updates to intelligence community directives to ensure that these things don't happen again.
Could you speak briefly to China's presence in the Caribbean and the Western Hemisphere?
I'll be able to speak to this more in the classified setting, sir.
Okay. Director Ratcliffe, I'm going to have questions for you there as well. We have not heard much about Haiti lately in the news, but it's very close to the United States. My understanding is that 1 in 4 Haitians, about 2.5 million people, now live in an area controlled by an armed group. Can you speak to what is happening in Haiti?
Yes, sir. This was something that we talked about within the annual threat assessment. Haiti, along with Cuba, continue to be areas of volatility. Haiti, as you mentioned specifically, is being controlled by a gang, and we've seen increasing threats on U.S. persons within Haiti.
Okay, can you kill people that do this shit? Like, why is he just running up and looting the Rocketeer that I just solo killed?
Yeah, you should shoot him.
I got one. Why are you looking for him?
Come on, give him the loot, cuck.
There you go. Good luck. What?
Should be at least another one. Maybe it's on top of the.
Nah, sometimes it's
Yeah,
sometimes
give
it's
him the
only
other
one.
one.
Did I get another
Nah,
one?
Give him the other one, man.
This guy is a hook shot, and he's.
You need to
You're
kill
good.
him.
Good luck. I just.
You're actual arc cuck. Just give him all your gear, man. I mean, fuck it.
God damn it. The audacity.
These two countries continue to create challenges where, with increased instability, may be one of those drivers of increased migration flows to the U.S.
Thank you all for your service.
Gentleman's time's expired. Now recognize Mr. Gottheimer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
If I can start by talking about something I was disappointed in from the administration about comments made by members of the administration that Israel drew the United States into conflict with Iran, seeming to buy conspiracy theories that scapegoat Israel, while dismissing that Iran poses a persistent threat to America and our service members and diplomats in the region. Well, the president then clarified this is not the case and that America entered into a joint operations with our ally under our own accord. Many still seem confused about what precipitated this conflict and the threat Iran posed to us directly. So if I could ask Director Radcliffe just a couple questions, yes or no, if that's okay with you. Is the Iranian regime committed to America's destruction, in your opinion?
Yes.
Does the Iranian regime have American blood on their hands since its founding in 1979?
Yes.
Has Iran plotted assassination attempts against Americans on American soil?
Yes.
Was Iran developing a nuclear weapon prior to our military action last June? And did Iran remain committed to developing a nuclear weapon in the lead up to this conflict?
Yeah, so I want to clarify on that because there's been much talk about a fatwa against the development of a nuclear weapon.
Can you come back to that 1 second? Let me finish
Yeah,
this.
you
That's
bet.
okay. If left unchecked, do you think Iran would have the ability to develop missiles capable of reaching the United States?
Yes.
Did Israel force the U.S.'s hand and make us take action, as some have claimed?
No.
Director Gabbard, do you agree with the CIA director's assessment on that last question in
Yes.
particular? Great. Do you want to go back to that point you want to make?
Yeah, much has been made by some about a fatwa against the development of nuclear weapons. Notwithstanding the fatwa, what we know,
Which is
and
what
the
Tulsi
intelligence
Gabbard
community is
said.
in agreement on this, is that Iran possesses at least 440 kilograms of uranium enriched to weapons grade 60%, which doesn't have a civilian use. The only use for that would be the development of nuclear weapons.
Thank you, Director. Director
Well,
Gabbard, I
maybe
want to raise
they're
serious concerns about your
making a
recent
new
hiring of Dan
civilian
Caldwell,
use.
a strict critic of U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, who's argued that U.S. forces in the Middle East are, quote, more of a burden than a benefit, has claimed that Iran's nuclear program does not pose a risk to America, despite the IC's assessment to the contrary. Dan has also said that our relationship with Israel has no benefit to American national security. This follows the resignation of Joe Kent this week, a senior ally of yours who is a conspiracy theorizing white supremacist with a tattoo, Panzer referring to Nazi tanks. He has made known his backwards opinions of Israel in his resignation letter, scapegoating them for U.S. intervention in Iran and Iraq. Director, what role do you anticipate Mr. Caldwell playing in shaping intelligence assessments or internal discussions related to Iran and Israel? And can you guarantee to this committee that no individuals in your leadership are undermining the objectivity of intelligence at this critical moment?
Sir, my understanding is one of my elements sought to hire Dan Caldwell months ago for a purely administrative role that would not have any position over the intelligence analysis or assessments on any topic.
Thank you. Director, as you know, the Iranian regime has been responsible for the deaths, as we talked about, of scores of Americans since coming to power in '79. Iran and its terror proxies must be crushed. I've been clear on that point in the last weeks and throughout my time in Congress. I supported the decisive action taken on February 28th to remove key regime leaders and degrade Iran's ballistic missile and naval capabilities. However, I think it's really important the administration make its goals clear to Congress and to the American people. Director, were you in a meeting to discuss a possible strike on Iran?
Congressman, there were several meetings that were held in advance. I'm sure I was in at least some of them.
Did the intelligence community brief the president on the potential impacts the conflict could have on global supply chains and on oil and gas prices prior to the outbreak of hostilities? Were you in a
yes.
meeting? Were you in any meetings where that came up?
Yes, that is the intelligence community's assessments, and those were provided.
Director, did the IC, Director Radcliffe, if I can ask this to you, did the IC brief the president on who would succeed the supreme leader if he was killed and the likelihood that a replacement would be a hardliner?
Was the president, say it again, was the president...
Did the IC brief the president on who would succeed the supreme leader if he was killed and the likelihood that a replacement would be a hardliner or could be a hardliner?
So to be clear, the president's objectives with respect to Operation Epic Fury did not include regime change. That may be different from what Israel's objectives were, but yes, the president was briefed in the event that Supreme Leader...
That's great. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just have 20 seconds. Director Patel, does Iran pose a threat to the homeland, and what specific steps are you taking to detect, prevent, and disrupt terrorist plots targeting Americans at home?
Iran, as the world's largest state sponsor of terror, does pose a continuing threat to the homeland. And just last year, our Iran Threat Mission Center, housed in the FBI, our fusion cell, saw a 43% increase in Iranian spy actors willing to steal our information and attack our citizens. So that's just one example, sir.
Wow. Thank you. I yield.
Dr. Jackson.
Good morning. First off, I want to say thank you all for your time today, and thank you for our service to our country. Much appreciated. I thank the chairman for his opening remarks on anomalous health incidents, AHI. As many of you are aware, one of my primary responsibilities in this particular committee, I am the subcommittee chairman of Oversight and Investigations, where the investigation of AHI is and has been a central oversight effort. And so I am going to ask a quick question about this. Director Ratcliffe, during the Biden administration, the CIA very poorly, in my opinion, handled this issue. Since then, a CIA doctor has provided perjured testimony under oath and obstructed our congressional investigation. A quick question for you. Do you affirm that the CIA personnel are under no direction to make false statements to Congress in order to conceal CIA equities or activities related to the handling of AHI during the Biden administration?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I want to ask Mr. Patel, I got a question for you here. As a member of this committee, I also have a regional responsibility that includes Africa. I'm very concerned about the radical Islamic terror threat that exists there and is growing by the day. Whether it's al-Qaeda-affiliated groups such as JNMI, AQIM, al-Shabaab, or ISIS-inspired groups such as ISIS West Africa, ISIS Sahel, ISIS Somalia, or Boko Haram. These are radical, dangerous groups that want to kill Americans. After 4 years of an open border during the Biden administration, where we know countless individuals with terror ties, many to these groups, cross our southern border, and at a time when we are actively engaged with the largest state sponsor of radical jihadi terror, can you confirm that the threat to the American people in this setting is much higher due to the Democrats' current defunding of the Department of Homeland Security?
As I highlighted earlier, Congressman, the FBI works hand in glove with the Department of Homeland Security and our 59 established Homeland Security task forces around the country. And those officers are now going 1 month without pay, but they're still showing up to work. But yes, funding would absolutely help us protect the homeland.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One more question. Anyone that feels inclined can answer this. But according to the Council on Foreign Relations, another Africa-related question, 51% of global terrorism-related deaths occurred in Africa's Sahel region, including the Lake Chad Basin. Does the intelligence community assess that Boko Haram, ISIS West Africa, and other terrorist groups operating in the Lake Chad Basin are a threat to the U.S. interest, whether it's here in the homeland or regional U.S. interest? If so, how does this lack of counterterrorism cooperation that we're currently experiencing with the allied states of the Sahel, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso impact that? And tied to that, how does the rise of alternative security forces such as Russia's Wagner Group, or now Africa Corps, how has that impacted our counterterrorism efforts in the region?
Congressman, the continued rise of these Islamist terrorist groups, as you've pointed out, in Africa, West Africa, and around the world continues to be a serious concern and major focus of the intelligence community. The challenges within the region are very complex because they have to do with governance challenges in many of these countries. They have to do with economic challenges as well as external influences, both with funding and equipping of these terrorist organizations. So yes, it has made our counterterrorism, longstanding counterterrorism efforts in these regions, as well as those of our allies in this fight, such as the French and other countries, far more difficult because of the very real threat within that region to U.S. persons. If we are not able, if the U.S., if the Department of War is not able to read with Economic our very news of the
such as Wagner Group, or now Africa, how does the rise of alternative security forces such as Russia's Wagner Group, or now Africa Corps, how has that impacted our counterterrorism efforts in the region?
Okay. Interesting.
Congressman, the continued rise of these Islamist terrorist groups, as you've pointed out, in Africa, West Africa, and around the world continues to be a serious concern and major focus of the intelligence community. The challenges within the region are very complex because they have to do with governance challenges in many of these countries. They have to do with economic challenges as well as external influences, both with funding and equipping of these terrorist organizations. So yes, it has made our counterterrorism, longstanding counterterrorism efforts in these regions, as well as those of our allies in this fight, such as the French and other countries, far more difficult because of the very real threat within that region to U.S. persons. If we are not able, if the U.S., if the Department of War is not able to coordinate with and get the support of the governments of these countries in order to tackle this terrorist threat, then it's not a safe or operable environment for them to continue that fight.
Thank you. And the assumption I'm working off of, too, is that the Russian influence via Wagner or Africa Corps has made it very difficult for us to develop those relationships and get those agreements so that we can continue to make sure that this is not being brought home to the homeland. Is that correct?
That is a factor of many.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I yield back.
Ms. Houlihan.
Thank you. My question is basically starting with some HR questions in there. First for Director Patel. If you could help me a little bit understand, I come out of the military family as well, but I don't know very much about the FBI's HR process or the growing up of an FBI expert. Could you help me understand how long it takes for a senior counterintelligence expert, especially one maybe focused on a very narrow threat, to be developed? How many years, I guess, would be my question.
Thank you, Congresswoman. That varies. Sometimes right out of Quantico, new agent trainees are placed on the counterintelligence mission set, and some people come in from the fraud section, so the answer varies. It could take a couple months to a couple years.
And the next question is, when a person comes up in your system in the military, it was always the needs of the Navy or the needs of the Air Force. It was never the needs of the airman or the soldier or the sailor in terms of prioritizing our readiness, in terms of making sure that we met the mission. Is the FBI similar?
It is similar, ma'am. It's a dynamic threat landscape, so we flux and surge based on the CICT, cyber threats, and other threats to the homeland, and violent crime mission has seen a surge as well.
So my specific question is that there was a report that came out in February from CNN that the FBI had let go or fired dozens of agents and staff members from a counterintelligence unit tasked with monitoring Iran. And apparently the reason, at least reported in the press, was that these individuals had been involved in the investigation of classified document handling from President Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and that this was the reason why they were summarily let go. First of all, are you aware of those firings, and do you concur with the rationale or reason for those firings?
I'm aware of that, and I know there's a pendency of litigation, so I'm not able to comment on them.
Did you yourself order those firings?
The FBI, every time there's someone who violates their code of conduct or ethical standard, conducts an internal investigation with the careers there, and they present a decision point to me. The Iranian Threat Mission Center has seen an increase of 43% in arrests for Iranian spy actors, so the Iranian Threat Mission Center has never been stronger.
So I'm asking about whether those people were fired because they were involved in the investigation of the document handling by President Trump, not for any behavior issues. Is that your understanding as well?
Again, ma'am, I can't comment on them because those are in pending litigation.
I guess I'm a little stymied here, Director, because it feels as though literally when there was a possible pending war, I'm outside of this intelligence circle in many ways, even though I serve on the Intelligence Committee. You collectively must have been aware when these firings happened that there was a meaningful chance that...
Bro, these Hassan articles are too much. Holy shit. Vanity Fair dropped an interview with Hassan post-Oscars. Hassan Piker came to our party and says he got framed-mogged by real celebrities. Some highlights. On the left, he's heralded as the only voice capable of seducing young men disaffected by party politics, in part to his pairing of uncompromising leftism with alpha male charisma and aesthetics and having giant biceps. Jesus Christ.
the U.S. might be engaged with a war in Iran, and having these very experts or qualified folks summarily dismissed at this time, it just feels like an odd choice in timing. Were you aware at the time that this was going down, that this may end up weakening the mission and the readiness of that group?
Mission, as I stated, has never been stronger when you see a 43% increase in counterintelligence arrests and 21% increase in cyber arrests against the Iranian Threat Mission Center. My focus is on providing the American people the strongest FBI as possible. I don't work on timelines. I work on evidence that's presented to me.
I guess my concern is that it feels as though, and I very much honor the tone and tenor of this hearing, that this is about making sure that that we depoliticize what is the most important thing that we all do, which is keep us safe. And it feels as though this issue is a political issue. And I just am worried that we are taking really good, really qualified people and picking fights with one another across party lines, rather than making sure that we protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe. With the remainder of my time, Director Gabbard, I have a question regarding the fact that the Secretary of the Treasury loosened restrictions this week on Russian oil exports, and now that the Russians are able to sell oil again. Did the IC assess that clearing the way for increased Russian oil sales would benefit Moscow, possibly?
I don't believe there's been a formal IC assessment on this topic yet, as it is underway.
So I would highly encourage that, because it feels as though by easing these sanctions, we are directly providing the Kremlin with revenue, revenue that will be used directly to kill Ukrainian soldiers, and an increased likelihood that Putin will be...
So, meaning, oh, come on. I'm going to die to this thing. Oh my God. So what she just said there was that there was an assessment, or there was no assessment done from the intelligence community about whether or not these, the lifting of these sanctions would have any impact on anything, literally, which is another just funny thing. Trump really just doesn't. Remember when I used to scream? It was like 5 years ago, even, I think. Where I used to shout about, like, why does Trump watch Fox and Friends and shit? Like, you literally have the entire intelligence. Whoa, hello? You literally have the entire intelligence community available to you. Oh my God. Is this guy about to defib me? Oh, well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. That's my good karma. And I'm like, why doesn't he ever use his intelligence community? He's got so much available to him. Why does he watch the news for information? And I guess maybe he just doesn't know that. He literally never engages with the IC at all. He doesn't care at all about he's more information available at his fingertips than literally any other individual human in all of human history. Give him something? I have literally nothing I can give this guy.
Successful in his war with Ukraine. I thank you for your time, and I yield.
Ms. Wagner.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank our witnesses for being with us today. As we sit here in Washington, our armed forces and our intelligence assets are engaged in conflict with the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism, Iran. A radical, ruthless, and murderous regime that has killed and maimed thousands of United States troops and citizens over the past 50 years. CIA Director Ratcliffe, can you elaborate for the American people on the threat that Iran posed to our American personnel in the region prior to Operation Epic Fury? the extent you can in open hearing?
Sure, Congresswoman, happy to address that. I think it's well documented, and as you've encapsulated, Iran has been a constant threat for the last 47 years. Hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans killed, certainly thousands of Americans maimed as a result of activities of Iran and its IRGC over the years. But particularly, no cessation with respect to the threats to U.S. interests and forces in the region, not just from Iran, but from its proxies, from Iraqi militia groups like Kataib Hezbollah, Lebanese Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, all of these proxies, if you will, of the Iranian regime, funded by the Iranian regime, committing assaults and attacks on American interests.
Wait. How did he have such good internet? Wait, I think this is in... Okay, quick Hassan slot break.
I want to go to Cuba. Would you be down?
I love Cuba.
Oh, yeah? You'd be down?
Yeah, I filmed a documentary
I think I got,
there once.
The Cuban government actually hit my contact from the embassy and told him that if the only thing stopping us from coming to Cuba was the consistent internet access, we can make it happen.
Yeah, Cuba is...
Oh, my God, bro. How is this guy... Dude, somebody clean up my U.S. politics. This motherfucker is getting help from the government of China, from the government of Cuba to go and do propaganda trips? What the fuck? Hello? Nobody writes about this? Nobody on the left media? None of the gay people or the thirstiest women care to ask a single question about any of or man, I'm sorry. I didn't read the Vanity Fair article that was talking about his big biceps. Maybe they do have some critical reporting in there? Nobody gives a fuck.
Sick.
Wait,
the government reached out to you?
So yeah, of course. It's well, not reach out to me. There's there's a middleman there. Because I had a doctor from Cuba. Cuba does this thing called medical missions, and they've been doing it since I believe like the 70s, and it's incredibly successful. They have a massive, very
when was this video posted? 11 months ago.
Robust like medical program because kind of they have to because they're under an incredible sanctions regime by the United States of America that the rest of the world thinks is abhorrent, except for America and Israel that keep consistently vetoing it over and over again. But this has created a major issue, obviously, where Cuba has basically had to like educate their own doctors, and because they have an abundance almost of doctors now, that they have been sending their doctors out as like medical missions and also generating revenue for the country this way as well. Like, they send the doctors out.
This is especially important for the relationship with Venezuela, I believed.
To like Jamaica, for example, or other countries where they need additional help, and a piece of their salary goes back to the Cuban government because like they've been it's like military. You know how like soldiers are paid by the government? It's like doctors. Instead of sending soldiers overseas, they send doctors. And I was talking to a doctor from Cuba yesterday about this, and he told me that there's a couple different things that are happening in Cuba right now that I can go and visit. And
Cuba's just sick to be. I went to Cuba before any other Americans were really allowed to go. I went on a student visa to film a documentary, and I had a fucking blast. I had so much fun. I played street baseball. I lived at an organiponico, a urban like farm, and it was so sick. It was so awesome.
We can do it fairly soon as well.
Dude, Cuba.
We can either go for May Day. May Day is a huge deal because Cuba is a socialist country, and May Day is like the International Day of Solidarity for Workers.
Let's do it.
We could go
on. We'll go to Cuba, and then we'll go to Miami. No. Why not?
Because we're talking about like an awesome place to go to, and you want to turn it into like the pedophile crypto paradise trip.
What?
I hate Florida so much. Sorry.
I just wanted to go to Miami. We can go to the beach. So anyway, he can go to Miami. And
we'll you stay in Miami. You can stay at the Ritz-Carlton.
Do you think that Cuba doesn't have beaches? No, we can go to Cuba, go to the beach, but then we can also go to Miami. We can do it all.
No, I don't want to.
I know Cuba has beach. It's an island.
Cuba has beach. Beach, many beach in Cuba. Oh Jesus!
Right? They've got a lot of beach. Is that like an AI video? Cuba is known for its beautiful beach. It's right next to water. It's surrounded by water. Of course it has.
Yeah. That's sick. I'm glad that you're down for it. Austin can stay behind. I think
I'll go. I think my dad Cuba. Actually, spent part of his life growing up in Cuba. Also, yeah, he lived in Cuba.
I did not.
Also, of the three of us, I speak the best Spanish. It's not even close.
We would be going with March.
Shit. So, but he's operating the camera.
Obsolete.
No, he's operating the camera. What about that, Austin? We would need you to run camera for the Cuba trips.
No, I can't. No, he's not gonna be able to. He's not gonna be able to handle that responsibility. No, March can do both. He's got it all.
I'll go to Cuba. We've been talking about a couple trips, chat, Cuba, and also China.
It's just there's limited amount of space.
Yeah,
so
did he promote like the people organizing this or any? He must have on his stream, and I just don't get linked it because why would anybody link me that? Like you'd think he would try to get his audience to donate or something for the mission or something, right? Like what? Or I don't know. I don't know these people. It's so weird.
You guys,
he's already been.
There's no way you guys can navigate an airport without me.
He's already been.
I've been to Cuba.
He's already been there. Mark speaks Spanish.
Yeah, but Marsh doesn't speak Cuban Spanish like I do.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? What's the difference between Cuban Spanish and regular Spanish? Well, Cuban Spanish is Cuban Spanish, and what's the difference? There's no regular Spanish. There's lots of different types of Spanish. Mexican Spanish, he speaks Mexican Spanish. There's just. But what notably? Well, notably, there's a few different words. They drop the S. Well, now
Austin would have known that if he knew anything about Cuba.
And they speak a little quicker. He doesn't make it shut up.
Also in the wrong direction. But yeah, no, you can come too. Cuba's gay as fuck, by the way.
I know. I've been to
Miami. Please stop comparing Cuba to Miami.
Wait, I'm not trying. Wait, is that
It's imagine
We're
if
going to send you back on a raft. to
imagine
Miami.
if there was a socialist revolution in a country, and then like a lot of people.
Okay, the big also comparison. I hate traveling and I hate swimming and I hate doing anything outside. Okay, so let me just precursor that. I don't know how none of these guys have done anything anywhere before. I guess, or I imagine Will has. In my opinion, Miami's beaches are disgusting. Unfortunately, a lot of U.S. beaches are very meh. Beaches in the Caribbean are otherworldly. It doesn't even seem real how clear the water can be, how beautiful it can be, super blue. You got like the sandbars, you got the underwater life. There's a billion things. Is Mr. Mooten here? I don't think he is. He left. Me and Melina felt so bad after going to Aruba for 2 weeks when we took Mr. Mooten and Peach on a snorkeling thing, because we were like, snorkeling in Aruba was magic. It was like a Disney adventure of a million different types of super colorful fishes swirling around you, and it was like, oh my god. And then for Miami, we even took a boat out like a mile from the beach, and we went in the water, and the water was choppy and it's brown and murky, and there was like one half dead fish like barely clinging to life scraping the bottom of the floor. I was like, oh my god. The water down in the Keys I think is a bit better. Maybe there are parts of like southern Florida beaches that I haven't been to, but like in my opinion, even the Keys don't compare to just the islands of the Caribbean, and the water and the movie sand and the lack of so many people is just beautiful. It's absolutely fucking breathtakingly beautiful compared to fucking Miami. But I don't know, whatever.
That were not so fond of said socialist revolutionary country went directly to the nearest area that they could go to inside of the country that is not fond at all of the socialist revolution.
Is I have been around a lot of Cuban people because there's a huge Cuban population in Miami, Florida.
No, I'm very familiar. These are very different.
I'm not saying that the Cuba that we're saying is the same as the Cuba that the Cuban people that I've surrounded myself with. What I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to not be is what I'm really trying to say.
Yeah, you're definitely not stepping.
No, hey.
Guys,
why are you letting me drown like this? Help me!
Because it's funny.
Yeah, but are people gonna be mad at me? Austin did stunt work recently. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. I want to watch that video, but last thing I will say is,
can you help me?
They're not gonna get mad at you. They're gonna get mad at me.
Why?
And possibly even Will, because he's been to Cuba already.
What did I do?
Not the Cubans in Cuba, but the Cubans in Miami will get mad at me for saying I like Cuba and want to go to Cuba.
Oh, but no, Cubans in Miami are not going to be mad about
First
you
of all,
saying that
I love
Cuban people. I just want to be very clear.
Yeah. Yes, me too.
But
They all hate Castro, but I've only heard phenomenal things about how beautiful Cuba is from every ex-Cuban. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about the people or anything bad about what it looks like. It's usually they just hate the regime.
Point is, there's some very flamboyantly dressed people in Miami, and I love them all. And I support both places equally.
Very cool. Okay.
Even the serial killers in Miami? No, not those. Except those.
Yeah, everyone but the serial killers.
But I dislike them equally. Such a politician.
That was friggin' epic. Jesus.
We are now
State-sponsored trips, boy. Why do I have 2 Hassan streams open? Double the obsession. Commercial break in progress. Hold on. Let's see what he's up to. Epic Cuba streams. To be fair, if I traveled somewhere, these would be the streams I would do. I ain't going outside.
You can't have a country with these motherfuckers, man. It's just like, I don't know. Do we have an America to send them to? Is there a place that we...
Like, dude, I can't. My brain is falling out of my head. You're an American streamer covering American politics inside of a hotel with an internet connection that was guaranteed and provided to you by an enemy of our country right now. It's just not to take sides on anything. I've said a million times, I don't think the U.S. should be embargoing Cuba. I think the U.S. being hostile towards Cuba is cringe as fuck, right? I'm not supportive of any of that. I like that Obama was starting to thaw tensions. I think it's stupid as fuck. But this is just like, this is such an unbelievable thing to be watching. I'm just saying Putin would never, okay? Putin would never allow for this type of stuff. I'm just saying. Jesus Christ.
Persistently.
So they did pose
Absolutely.
an absolute threat.
A constant and immediate threat at all times.
Thank you. General Adams, as director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, can you inform the American people about the threat our armed forces have eliminated thus far?
Yes, ma'am. Representative Wagner, thanks for the question, and I will like to go in...
Okay, hold on. With these Comet igniters, I'm not the only one, right? Oh.
Detail. I'm going to cover a little bit here. We will be able to cover more detail in the classified session, but the goals that the president has set out that have been accomplished and executed by the Central Command were aligned along the DNI's discussion earlier. 1, eliminate their ability to power project. And that was inclusive of ballistic missiles, but it also includes their UASs. And so we have been very effective. We can talk about specific numbers in the closed session.
Okay.
Their ability to reproduce both missiles and UASs we've been very effective. And you can tell from the news, in fact, the chairman talked about it this morning, we have sunk their Navy. And so those specific objectives have been very well accomplished, and we'll go into great detail in the closed.
General Hartman, as acting director of the National Security Agency, can you explain how weakening the Iranian regime is impacting the availability of resources to our adversaries like China?
One sec.
Mike, please.
Hey, thanks for the question. Obviously not able to go into any classified discussion here, but certainly weakening the regime and weakening the collaboration between Iran, China, Russia, other adversaries has a global effect of making the world safer.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for all your insights, and thank you for keeping our troops and our American people safe. As you know, I chair the first ever subcommittee on open source intelligence. Over the past year, our subcommittee has been working tirelessly to ensure the intelligence community is leveraging the vast amount of commercially available information to the highest degree of efficiency and cost effectiveness. Director Ratcliffe, as the CIA is the functional manager of open source intelligence, does the CIA know which data has been acquired across all agencies within the IC?
Thanks for the question, Congresswoman. As you know, the CIA's open source enterprise is driving the open source collection across the entire IC in support of the administration's top priorities. Two of those priorities I've already talked about: counter-narcotics and threats from adversaries' use of emerging technologies. Those collections, as a result of our open source, are up 70% and 40 or 45% collectively. The CIA does lead the IC in pioneering new uses of AI to extract insights from the vast amounts of open source data that are there that we then share with analysts, warfighters, everyone across the IC.
I thank you. My time has expired. I have a lot more questions dealing with open source that we will do in closed session. So I thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Before I recognize Mr. Gomez, I want to make sure that all members have had an opportunity to vote because they are prepared to close that vote on the floor. If you haven't, please go do so at this time. Looks like we're good. All right, Mr. Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to get right into it. Director Gabbard, last year you testified that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon. Do you stand by that statement? Yes or no?
Context matters with that
yes
statement.
or no?
Iran had all of the materials and capabilities to do so.
Mr. Chairman, I reclaim my time. It's an easy answer. You either stand by what you said last year or not.
It is a serious question that requires the totality
Director
of the
Gabbard, I reclaim my
available.
time. I reclaim my time. Did you, when President Trump was asked about your testimony, he said you were wrong. Were you lying or not?
I stand by the intelligence community's complete assessment.
Director Ratcliffe, when it came to the director's testimony, she said that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon last spring in Congress. And so the Supreme Leader has not authorized the nuclear weapons program. Do you agree with what she said or not? Yes or no?
The director's right here. She can speak for herself.
Oh, so I thought this was an intelligence community briefing. Let's move on. Trump also said he didn't care what you thought or said. Should he care about what you have to say when it comes to intelligence?
I continue to provide the president with the intelligence community's assessments on all matters.
So let me just kind of get this straight. The department, you said that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon last year. President Trump said he didn't care what you thought, and you were wrong. They engaged in Operation Midnight Hammer. He then says it was obliterated. We hear later reports that in open source reporting that it was only set back by a few months. Then at the beginning of this war, he said that they were weeks away. I just want to kind of get a sense. Were they weeks away of achieving a nuclear weapon? Yes or no?
Congressman, this is a serious matter, and you've made some very serious mischaracterizations.
It said my sandwich was dropped off. They took a picture of it. I can see the apartment number is mine, but my sandwich is not out there. Do you think you just took a picture of it and then took it and ate it? I need to get a thing, like a ring cam. XQC took your take.
Literally my area of expertise when it comes to international relations, when it comes to talking about anti-imperialism. Not only do I have a degree in just this, but also on top of that, I've spent the last decade or so talking about exactly this scenario. So no, in comparison to the average commentator in the United States of America, both to my right and
you can absolutely tell that somebody's an expert when they're at work and they have 20 tabs of Twitter open. And clearly they're on the job while researching it. Very important information.
Liberal content creators as well.
Guys, this is like Einstein having books behind him. It's Hassan with Twitter tabs. I'm watching a genius at work, dude. That's impressive shit.
I do have the specific knowledge to communicate.
So why didn't he have any journalism piece and analysis on the shot caller? Why not? Why didn't he study? Because I mean, he studied that. He's the expert to debunk his own claim.
He regurgitates American enterprise.
Who's talking about?
Please just make him stop talking. I can't take it anymore.
Sorry, me talking? Or him? Yo. Wait, guy's not on stream anymore? No. The guy get fired?
Wait, what is this?
reinforcing his long-running theme that America carries too much of the burden within NATO. And then 3, there is a domestic aspect to it as well. He wants voters here in the United States to hear the message that America is doing too much. Why should we be defending them?
Can you guys at least hear when the lower the bit rate, you himbo? I did. Chatter. I don't know if you know this. I'm in Cuba. Okay. Are you aware of that? Like, dude, I'm basically running an operation that's put together with like strings. Okay. As long as you can still hear the audio, even if the video cuts out, like, you know, it's gonna be a little. It's gonna be shitty.
He hasn't lowered the bit rate. Why does he need to stream? It's literally, you're not playing a game or anything. He's only at 1080p, right? He's not doing 1440. Why does he need 7.5 megabits per second? It'd probably look fine with 2 megabits per second. Like, I don't know why he thinks he needs so much bandwidth. Also, damn, he's like eating up like half the islands upstream right now. What the fuck?
Excellent. Good job there.
Starlink? He said before that he explicitly wasn't going to use Starlink, so.
Oh God, help by AI. Like that's also. It cuts in and out, dude. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I'm literally in a country that hasn't had oil shipping. I'm in a country right now, an island nation that has not had a single barrel of oil come on its shores.
Then why are you there consuming their energy just to stream about U.S. politics? What the fuck is the point? Why would you do this? To go eat up the little bit of internet, the little bit of energy they have?
For the past 3 months, and you guys are like, meh. Yeah, everything falls apart at times, okay? You live in the United States of America in the lap of luxury, and your internet cuts out. Like, what the fuck what are you talking about? Not even a comparison.
As you say.
Okay.
Yes or no? Were they weeks away?
It would be a disservice to you and the American people to answer this question with a mere yes or no.
Reclaiming my time. Were they weeks away or not? The American people need to know if this was an imminent threat or not. If they're weeks away or not. If they're months away or not. None of this dodging. Were they an imminent threat? Yesterday you said that only the president, the only person who can determine what is an imminent threat is the president of the United States. Do you stand by that statement?
Yes, I do.
Director Ratcliffe, do you agree with that assessment? That the president is the only person that can determine if something is an imminent threat or not?
The president's commander-in-chief gets to make a decision about what's an imminent threat. The intelligence community, the intelligence...
Reclaim my time.
Reclaim my intelligence community has provided a body of intelligence that supports
the reason why is that if the president can determine and ignore what you're doing, why do you guys even have a job? Why do you even advise them? So you're saying tomorrow the president of the United States can say China is an imminent threat, and then he can take his own, no matter what the intelligence says, he can take his own action. So that's what you're basically saying. Okay, let's go on. Director Gabbard, you said that North Korea has intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach the homeland. Yet, the Defense Department said that Iran was at least 10 years away from achieving an intercontinental ballistic missile that can reach the homeland. Which one is a more serious threat, North Korea or Iran?
These threats are taken within the context of the total body of intelligence reporting.
So that's, it should be, and that's my point. It's not just about having the capability of building a weapon. It's if they can actually deliver that weapon. If they can, they have the intention of doing that. How many weeks away are they? We haven't heard that they were weeks away. We haven't heard that they were months away. But that's what we're waiting for. Imminent, to me, means is that they're mobilizing troops. They're moving things into position. Artillery. They're getting ready to attack. But everything that we've heard is that this is not the case.
Gentleman's time's expired. Mr. Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all
No one's
for being here and for
disputing
the
that.
work you do. It's a marvel that just 1 year of strong leadership from the White House has shifted the conversation in this room from that of appeasement and passivity from the Biden administration to that of American strength brought about by the doctrine in Venezuela and Operation Epic Fury in Iran. And it's not lost on me that as we sit here, we have one side of the dais talking a big game on threats, and yet they're unwilling to even fund our Department of Homeland Security. I want to thank President Trump's leadership in each of your efforts. Because of your efforts, Americans are safer today with 2 less despots to deal with. Nevertheless, there remains work to be done. While Venezuela and Iran are in decline, aggression from adversarial nations like China and Russia and near constant threats of terrorism and cyber warfare continue to persist. The Chinese Communist Party in particular remains a top adversary that routinely deals in bad faith, and this was highlighted most recently by White House Office Director of National Drug Control Policy Sarah Carter when she delivered recent remarks in Vienna saying, quote, "We know that China's weak export controls and lax enforcement allow its chemical industry to foster friendships with the drug cartels. At the same time, China's overly effective controls over rare earth minerals wreak havoc on legitimate industries," end quote. Of course, we're now seeing reports of a new synthetic opioid called cyclorphine that is said to be 10 times more potent than fentanyl and undetectable on fentanyl test strips.
What?
As you know, President Trump may meet with President Xi in the near future, where trade and export controls will most certainly be discussed. Director Gabbard, what is your assessment of the quality and quantity of AI compute that China can indigenously manufacture?
The majority of this question should be addressed in a closed hearing. The intelligence community's assessment is that China continues to rapidly advance its AI capability.
I could kill this
Do you assess
dude.
that export controls on semiconductor manufacturing equipment and AI compute have been effective, slowing the development and deployment of Chinese AI?
The intelligence community's assessment is that one of the effects of those export controls is China has increased its focus on developing its own organic capability.
What do you assess would be the economic and national security impacts if the U.S. decided to loosen export controls and allow the sale of NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs or large numbers of H200s to China?
I don't believe
What
there's
does
an
AI have to
intelligence
do with
community
Fent?
assessment.
What are you talking about? Fent is not only a super potent drug for the human body, it is also a super potent reactor material. That's why they have George Droid out there trying to secure Fent for the Fent reactors. And if China's going to be hoarding all the Fent now that they're not exporting it to U.S. citizens to kill us, now they're going to be using it to power their AI research.
That specific scenario.
I think that these national security implications should be weighed heavily when conducting these talks, considering that fentanyl overdoses are only down in the U.S. thanks to the president's leadership in securing our borders and taking the fight directly with the cartels in our hemisphere and not the empty words and actions of the Chinese Communist Party. Our adversaries are constantly conducting cyber operations on U.S. government and private sector networks to steal information and money or conduct disruptive cyber attacks. We've just been tracking the Chinese Typhoon actors for several years. And just last week, the Wall Street Journal reported that Salt Typhoon actors, which were responsible for targeting U.S. telecom, may have accessed sensitive FBI networks. I may have more to follow up on in the closed session. For now, I want to discuss how the overall U.S. government posture is going to change based on President Trump's cyber strategy, which was released last week. Been frustrated for some time about the unwillingness of prior administrations to decisively take action, including the use of offensive cyber operations. Director Patel, beginning with you, what can we expect from the FBI moving forward to be more aggressive on both defensive and offensive cyber activity?
Thank you, Congressman. So as you stated, the president just launched a new national security cyber strategy, and within that is what the FBI just launched 60 days ago. It's the most comprehensive cyber program we've ever put out called Winter Shield. And what we do, connecting Pillar 1 and Pillar 4 of the president's strategies, is go on offense and defense. And so what we've done already is while we are always going after nation-state actors, we also have to engage with the private sector communities because they're going after the private sector as well. We've held 355 engagements in the last 60 days with enterprises across America to harden their networks. And as you recall, just a couple of months ago, our banking infrastructure was hit by a ransomware attack from overseas. In one weekend, the FBI disrupted and kicked off every one of those bad actors from that network, saving the American people their valued billions in those bank vaults. So this is some of the things we're doing, but we need constant engagement with the private sector.
Great. General Hartman, what efforts are underway at NSA to bolster intelligence collection and threat detection and coordination with other federal agencies to target adversary?
They'll drop another bastion here eventually, right? They do that?
Operations.
Congressman, thanks. Significant effort to really focus our cybersecurity director, working very closely with Director Patel and our Cybersecurity Collaboration Center, which has thousands of analyst-to-analyst relationships with private organizations across the country. We need more work, not just from an offensive standpoint, but working across government and certainly working across private industry. And we're both dedicated and resourced to doing that, Congressman.
Thank you for what you do. Yield back.
Gentleman yields. Mr. Quigley.
Thank you. Lightning round, please. General, I understand tomorrow is your last day before retirement?
Yes, Congressman.
I can think of better ways to finish things for you, but we appreciate your being here. I want to respectfully ask you and each of you, if you have full-time personnel dedicated to analyzing and collecting foreign threats on the 2026 elections. And if so, just yes or no, and how many personnel we have.
Congressman, I'll get you the exact number, but certainly we have people paying attention to those.
Thank you.
Congressman, yes, we have an election crimes coordinator in each one of our 56 field offices and election crimes coordinators at headquarters.
Thank you.
Yes, we have personnel dedicated both to election security as well as foreign intelligence related to election influence.
Thank you.
Yes, we do as well. I don't know the numbers, but what we do collect, then we contribute to the larger IC coordination.
Thank you.
And Representative Quigley, we do not, to my knowledge, have anyone at DIA on that topic.
A question again for all of you. Well, first, Director Gabbard, you've seen the reports about whether or not Russia has helped Iran in targeting in the current war in Iran. Can you confirm that, or is that something we're going to save for a closed session?
We'll save that for the closed session, sir.
But within that context, on CNBC, Steve Witkoff said on a recent call with President Trump, Russian leaders denied they were sharing this target information, shock, surprise, all that they would do that about U.S. military assets with the Iranians. Mr. Witkoff said, so you know, quote, we can take them at their word. Let's hope they're not doing this. Just from your own sense, and for many of you who have been fighting in the Cold War for a long time, a long lost sense of a Reagan doctrine, just General, it is your sense that you can take Putin at his word on anything involving military, diplomatic, or intel assessment?
Hey, Congressman, from an intelligence standpoint, we don't take anyone at their word. From a foreign standpoint, we execute intelligence operations to provide that information to decision makers.
I appreciate that. Mr. Patel,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I agree with the general.
Yes, I agree. We don't take anyone at their word. And from an intelligence standpoint, we don't rely on single sources of intelligence and always look for multiple sources to confirm.
Wow.
Director?
Yeah, Congressman, I actually answered this question yesterday. I don't take Putin, Xi, Kim Jong-un, Supreme Leader, any foreign adversary leader at their word. Rely on our intelligence to reflect what those adversaries are actually doing.
General?
We absolutely do not take any of those enemies at their word.
Can I get a hallelujah?
No. Yeah, I
understand that you have...
he thought they would actually hallelujah. Cringe. Anybody else cringing? Oh.
What are you doing, General?
We absolutely do not take any of those enemies at their word.
Can I get a hallelujah? Ms. Gabbard, I understand that you have to put your own personal views aside in your position. But I honestly think that the issue our grandchildren are going to be most upset about us with is climate change. So, you know your quote, and when you talk about climate change, as a member, it threatens the safety and security of the planet, especially in places like Hawaii, where we are already experiencing its devastating effects. But respectfully, it's not in worldwide threats. Used to be in worldwide threats. So help me understand. Who makes the final decision on what goes in here and what is a threat?
She does, right?
Congressman, it's a collection of the intelligence community's assessments that the National Intelligence Council and our experts there work on. This year, we've structured the annual threat assessment around the president's national security strategy to address the most tangible and direct threats to our security and our interests.
I get that part. Did you make the case that maybe climate change should be considered a worldwide threat when we are this collective process? Did you make the case with what you said not that long ago?
Yeah, once again, we focused on the most tangible and direct threats, given the complexity of those threats that exist here and on the homeland and around the world.
So that's stating that that climate change isn't in any way a tangible threat now or in the future. It's basically saying we think so little of it as a threat, we don't even mention it.
I think the changing of the climate, the weather, the environment is a factor that goes into the different intelligence community assessments on effects.
Gentleman's time's expired. Ms. Tinney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much to our briefers and for your service to our country in multiple cases for some of you, and everyone who serves in the intelligence community to give the support to everyone that's serving. I fully support President Trump's efforts through your agencies over the last 18 days. We have to emphasize it's only been 18 days. And I think it was a courageous decision. And to the American people, I know many have recited this, but for the past 47 years, Iran has been the world's largest sponsor of terrorism. The Islamic Republic of Iran has operated with impunity. They've destabilized the Middle East, brutalized their own citizens, and have the blood of countless Americans and others on their hands, and now they're paying the price for that despotism. And I want to thank our service members and President Trump in making these difficult and stunning decisions.
Wait, oh my God, these guys are so cringe.
But it is also stunning what the Iranian people and so many in the Middle East and around the world have suffered from the regime. And I want to point out that in 2022, when Mahsa Amini was killed in the hands of the so-called morality police by the Iranian regime, it spurred, I would say, probably one of the most profound women's rights movements of our time. So many women stood up in the face of certain death, or at least imprisonment, definitely having an eye gouged out, like so many others, to stand up. And I am so grateful that these people now have an opportunity to actually have some kind of regime that would give them a chance at freedom after all these years. And I wanted to ask Director Gabbard, some of these people, and many of these people, do not seem to have access to outside information. Can you characterize what the access would be to the internet or cell phones for those in Iran who have no idea about anything and are only receiving the propaganda from the regime?
Congressman, I can expand on this in the closed setting, but I will say briefly that throughout the period of protest that we saw previously and during this ongoing conflict, the access of the Iranian people to basic things like power or internet or cell phone access is extremely limited.
So I want to ask the General, since General James, in the same vein, do you think that the internet suppression by the Iranian regime is an objective that would be protecting the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps?
Yes, ma'am. It's a TTP, and we will go in great detail in the classified, but it's definitely a TTP to maintain control.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I look forward to that. I want to turn to the northern border, which I represent, most of the northern border with the state of New York. Across the Lake Ontario shoreline, we know that many on the foreign terror watch list. In 2024, 358 suspects were found and arrested on the northern border. Fiscal year 2025, that number has been reduced to 307.
Canada?
I want to ask Director Patel, how would you characterize the type of those types of people that you have obtained, arrested, or encountered on the northern border? Cartels, Islamic terror, organized crime. How would you characterize those people if you can?
Thank you, Congresswoman. With the solidification and reinforcement of the southern border, the northern border has become a target of opportunity for foreign terrorist organizations, cartels, those that wish to conduct espionage activities, basically all of the above.
How would you characterize the partnership of our Canadian friends to the north and their willingness to stop these individuals, especially in the last year or so?
At the FBI, we have engaged with the RCMP and their intel services at levels never seen before to specifically focus on the fentanyl productions north of our border. The cartels have shifted their operations to produce the lethal fentanyl that kills so many Americans. So that's one example where we're focused and locked in with our partners north of the border.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. One last thing I just want to ask. Upstate New York is now the new home to Micron, one of the world's 3 leading memory manufacturers and the only U.S. leading memory company. Memory produced at Micron is an integral component of the GPUs used to train America's dominant frontier models. I'd love to find out, Director Ratcliffe, what would be the economic and national security implications if China were to catch up on the U.S. on memory, GPUs, critical minerals, all those things that go into everything leading up to this, including the advent of AI?
Well, what you've seen, Congresswoman, is that when China can take advantage of things in the supply chain like critical minerals, they'll do that. This is particularly problematic in the area of all emerging technologies, and AI in particular. Obviously, whoever is dominant in the technology fields in the future will dictate the rules in the international marketplace. It would be devastating if China were ahead of us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I yield back.
Mr. Cohen. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Patel, you had a question from Dr. Jackson about the shutdown we're in now with Homeland Security, and I believe you said that this would be harmful to America because of the threat from Iran. Is that correct? Do I recall that correctly?
It looks like it's about to die. Damn.
How many days before we invaded Iran did you know we were going to launch an invasion?
We can get into those details in the classified setting, but I work with my colleagues across the spectrum here to give me advance warning so that we can reinforce.
Was it 2 days, 3 days, a month?
It was sometime before that, sir.
Sometime before that. So with that knowledge, why did you fire at least a dozen agents in Counterintelligence Unit 12 that specializes in Iran counterintelligence, which makes us much less secure and safe with this war going on from Iranian attacks potentially against our country?
As I said earlier, Congressman, I don't work on timelines when these terminations occur. There are internal investigations conducted by the careers at the FBI that highlight unethical or inappropriate conduct, and it's up to me to make the decision. But our Iran Threats Mission Center has never been more resourced. As I've highlighted, a 43% increase in counter-espionage arrests from Iran alone, and 360 ongoing terrorism investigations with Iran-affiliated
And the people you fired, those 12 people, they were experts on Iran, were they not?
I don't believe so.
They worked in counterintelligence, did they not?
I'm taking you at your word, sir. I'm not familiar with
You're the chief director. I'm not. You should know the answer. You fired the people. Where did they work?
People were terminated for violating their ethical obligations and the high standards.
Was the ethical violations that they dealt with the case of the classified documents that were found at the bathroom in Mar-a-Lago, was that the ethical issue?
As I said earlier, all those matters are pending litigation, so I'm not going to comment on them.
Director Gabbard, are you familiar with CI-12?
I'm not, Congressman.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. In the intelligence community's unclassified annual threat assessment from last year, it said, quote, Iran's large conventional forces are capable of inflicting substantial damage to an attacker, executing regional strikes, and disrupting shipping, particularly energy supplies to the Strait of Hormuz. It seems the IC was entirely correct in its assessment about Iranian retaliation in the Strait. Did the IC's assessment about the Iranian capabilities in the Straits of Hormuz change in the past year?
No, Congressman.
Does Iran still have the capability to threaten shipping in the Straits of Hormuz?
Seems like
with
it.
Missiles, mines, and small boats?
Their capabilities have been largely degraded, but yes, they still have means to threaten passage through the Strait of Hormuz.
And how long can they keep the Strait closed?
Based on current events, I'd have to get an updated assessment from the intelligence community on that.
Did you have an analysis of the impact of a war on global supply chains and the price of oil and gas?
I believe that assessment may have come from the Department of Treasury or Energy.
Jesus.
It didn't come through your office?
It came from their element within Department of Energy or Energy.
Do you know if the president was briefed on those assessments?
Pretty crazy.
I believe so, but I can't confirm.
So if he was briefed on those assessments that was a problem, and the Straits of Hormuz could be shut off, and that's causing a great problem in the world's economy with oil prices going up to under $120 or something a barrel, and an effect on all countries' economies, why would the president not have taken actions to strengthen defense around the Straits of Hormuz?
All I can say is that the president ultimately is responsible for making the decisions based on the totality of information and intelligence that he has available to him.
The intelligence that he has available to him, that's a scary thought. Does the IC know where Iran's enriched uranium is?
The IC has high confidence that we know where it is.
And can you tell us that in classified?
We can speak more about this topic in the classified setting.
Okay. Could it be, we have methods of destroying it?
This is a conversation for a closed setting, sir.
Do you have any idea what the purpose of the Marines being sent, the units that are being sent over there, is the idea that we will put troops with boots on the ground in Iran?
ODNI and the IC is not involved in the operational planning and movements of the Department of War assets.
Thank you. I'll be very honest with you. When you made your original comments, it was kind of scary because of all the craziness that goes on in the world. Can't wait for the classified setting. Thank you.
Mr. Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see some old colleagues. I'm going to start, and thank you for your service, gentlemen and ma'am. I'm going to start with General Hartman.
Look at how charitable Hassan is with all the aid he brought. Wait, what?
Okay, it doesn't matter. These guys will.
Adams, do you know how many days it's been since Russia went into Ukraine? I'll answer it for you. It's 1,480. Do you know how much money the United States government has spent, the taxpayers have spent in the war in Ukraine?
Whoa! What is this? This just looks like currency or something.
I'm going to round it for you. It's about $200 billion. I mean, maybe it's a lot more. Maybe it's a little less. It's hard to tell around this place. To the best of your knowledge, was Russia an imminent threat to the United States when they went into Ukraine? To the best of your knowledge. Sir?
Congressman, I wasn't in this position.
I understand.
When that decision was made.
I'm saying to the best of your knowledge. I know it goes back 1,480 days, but...
So certainly I don't think it was in the best interest of the United States for...
was Russia an imminent threat is what I'm asking.
Not my decision to make or advice to provide.
Okay. How about you, General Adams?
Like General Hartman, I was in a different position many 4 years ago. And to make that assessment, I guess, can I ask you to clarify? Are you saying...
Was Russia going to attack the United States 1,480 days ago?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah. All right. You recall who the president was at that time? Gentlemen? I'll help you out. It was President Biden. Do you know who the Speaker of the House was at that time? The name Ms. Pelosi ring a bell? Do you recall this Congress declaring war in Russia and Ukraine 1,480 days ago, or any time between then and now? I don't either. Do you know, gentlemen, how many American service members have been killed or maimed attributed to Iran, the IRGC, their proxies, etc., roughly? Any idea? Could we say probably 1,000 killed, if not 10,000, over 10,000 killed and maimed? Probably a reasonable assessment.
Over what?
You know how many uniformed service members have been killed by Russia in the last 1,480 days? American uniformed service personnel? I'm just asking. I don't know.
Wait, what? Did I miss something? Wait. Did you just say thousands of American soldiers have been killed by Russia? Or hold on, what?
I don't either. Do you know who the Speaker of the House was at that time?
I must have misunderstood.
The name Ms. Pelosi ring a bell? Do you recall this Congress declaring war?
Or is he making a point?
Russia and Ukraine 1,480 days ago, or any time between then and now? I don't either. Do you know, gentlemen, how many American service members have been killed or maimed attributed to Iran, the IRGC, their proxies, etc., roughly? Any idea?
Oh, that's a lot.
Could we say probably 1,000 killed, if not 10,000, over 10,000?
My understanding is the majority of the time that we spent in Iraq, that when you hear about American soldiers that were hurt in Iraq, it was probably by extension some kind of some force or some Quds Force related thing or something. Basically, Iran. It was Iranian, like coordinated, funded, trained. Like sometimes they're people, is my understanding. So when he's talking about this, he doesn't mean that we were like at war with Iran or whatever. But I think a lot of the deaths that we suffered in Iraq for whatever period of time were as a result of Iraqi stuff or Iranian stuff. Why the fuck is everybody killing my bastions?
Killed and maimed, probably a reasonable assessment. You know how many uniformed service members have been killed by Russia in the last 1,480 days? American uniformed service
Also
personnel?
the Beirut barracks.
I'm just asking. I don't know of any, but do you know of any? It just seems to me that there's almost like a political narrative being constructed here, and I just want to, point out this. It seems like a bit of an irony. I'm going to go to the director of the FBI. It's good to see you, Mr. Patel.
You know what? I'm going to be mean. I'm going to kill the people downstairs. Hold on. Maybe. No, because they killed the Bastion. That'd be mean. I wouldn't even win. Never
mind. Crossfire Hurricane, Round River, Plasmic Echo, Arctic Frost.
What was the point this guy was making?
Seem to have emanated from
just the
counterintelligence division of the FBI.
bound?
Is that a reasonably correct assessment, generally speaking?
Generally speaking, Congressman, I want to be careful here because there are a number of ongoing investigations.
I understand. There's a filing system that with prohibited access. Is it possible that politicized investigation and filing system violated Sixth Amendment rights to the discovery and Congress's Article 1 oversight authority? Is it possible?
Without giving you a definitive answer that rests with the DOJ, let me just talk about prohibited
His
case
point
files.
is Iran attack good,
Prohibited
Ukraine
case
defense
files
bad.
are basically files that prior directors had created to essentially hide what was going on. They do not exist in our Sentinel systems. They do not exist anywhere. And if you search for that specific case, it won't even come up, which is why I, as the first FBI director to do so, have terminated prohibited case files. And as you know, I'm wed to constitutional oversight here at Congress and have delivered 50,000 pages, which is 400% more increase than my two predecessors combined.
Director, would ensnaring individuals or organizations based solely on their political affiliations or viewpoints be a potential violation of the Fourth Amendment?
I believe so.
Have any of the personnel associated with these activities, and I understand that investigations may be ongoing, have they been removed from duty pending the outcome investigation?
Yes, many have.
Okay, moving on. I'm concerned about a lab that was found in a clandestine Chinese biolab that was found in California, and then one that was found later in
a clandestine Chinese biolab was found in California? What?
Las Vegas.
Yeah, Nevada. And I'm wondering, are you concerned about a lack of vision or imagination in agents that solely work on a case and can't see that China has the has the capability and the impetus to do these things all around the country and things like those things? And have you done anything about changing that training or that operational conduct of agents?
I can only speak to what I've done, and this FBI is keenly aware of it. We're the ones that figured it out, not just in Las Vegas, but places like Michigan, where we arrested multiple individuals who were pretending to be researchers at the University of Michigan while bringing in lethal pathogens and trying to steal our trade secrets and our agricultural secrets, which is national security. So this FBI is laser focused on the Chinese threat, especially related to biolabs and agricultural theft.
Appreciate the response. I yield the balance.
Mr. Fallon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Operation Absolute Resolve and the arrest and capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife. It was incredibly complex. It was bold. It was unprecedented. It was a wild success. It really harkens thoughts of Raid on Entebbe 50 years ago, except this actually remarkably exceeded that in its success. It was historic, and it altered undeniably the geopolitical landscape in the United States' favor. So our military and our IC should be lauded, and I want to offer a hearty and deserved congratulations to all of you that are testifying before us.
Give
today.
yourselves a big pat on the back.
Director Ratcliffe, I want to just visit with you a little bit. First, I do want to take a point of personal privilege. I attended Coach Holtz's funeral Monday. He was very proud of you. How long has Iran been pursuing a nuclear weapon, Director?
Biolab article. Maybe I'll check it later.
Congressman, let me respond. Appreciate the kind remarks, and I also want to congratulate the people of the 4th District of Texas for getting a lot better representation than they ever did from the guy that was previously in that seat. Notwithstanding, as I talked about, a fatwa that was issued, I believe, in 2004, Iran has had a dedicated nuclear program beyond civil limits for the development of nuclear weapons. They currently possess at least 440 kilograms of highly enriched uranium at 60% weapons grade that would be capable of putting together 10 nuclear weapons.
Director, what nation state has achieved 60% enrichment and then not produced a nuclear weapon?
I'm not aware of any.
There's none. You get to 60%, there's a reason you're at 60%, because you are pursuing nuclear ambitions. So we have sanctions have been imposed in the past, and yet that pursuit continued. Their economy was teetering, the pursuit continued. Their people were suffering, the pursuit continued. Under the Bush, Obama, Trump 45, Biden now, Trump 47, that pursuit continued. Then last June, Operation Midnight Hammer. Nuclear program was dealt a significant setback. But not only that, the autocratic, illegitimate regime in Tehran.
The joke is he was the representative from that district
the
class.
American resolve under this administration should be taken very seriously.
Thank you.
I want to read you a few quotes. Iran will never be permitted to build a nuclear weapon. Barack Obama, 15. The message to Iran should be loud and clear. We will never allow you to acquire a nuclear weapon. Never. Hillary Clinton. Iran will never get a nuclear weapon on my watch. Iran can never develop or acquire a nuclear weapon. Joe Biden. Make no mistake, as president, I will never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary to defend American forces and interests.
We get it. You're a glazer, bro.
60% enrichment. No nation state that achieved that hadn't produced a nuclear weapon. We can either talk about it, kick the can down the road, and let them get a nuclear weapon and get danger close to it on the precipice, or we can take action now, and this is what this administration chose to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Mr. Stubbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Every day, the brave men and women of our intelligence community, armed forces, and federal law enforcement work to protect our homeland from a constant and evolving array of threats. But since Democrats chose to shut down the Department of Homeland Security, those threats have grown more acute. Our country has already experienced 4 terrorist attacks since the shutdown began. The consequences are no longer hypothetical. They are unfolding in real time. At a moment when the global threat environment is intensifying, terrorist organizations are resurging, and adversaries continue to encourage violence against Americans. Congress should be reinforcing our defenses. Instead, Democrats have sidelined the very department responsible for keeping the homeland safe. Not a single Democrat here on this committee voted to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. That was not an accident. It was a political decision made at the expense of the safety and security of the American people. As threats to our homelands rise and our enemies grow more emboldened, this decision has weakened our defenses and replaced action with dysfunction. Each day, the threat environment worsens, and with it, the risk to the American people, which is indefensible. Do each of you agree that the reckless Democratic shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security has affected your agency's ability to detect, deter, and respond to threats against the homeland? Specifically, has it impacted intelligence sharing, operational coordination, or your capacity to prevent attacks? General Hartman.
Congressman, it hasn't had a significant impact on the foreign intelligence mission of the National Security Agency.
Director Patel.
The shutdown has had a significant impact on how we protect and defend the homeland.
Director Gabbard.
This has directly affected the intelligence elements within the Department of Homeland Security negatively.
Director Ratcliffe.
I would agree with the Director of National Intelligence.
General Adams.
No significant impact on the Defense Intelligence Agency and the foreign threat that we analyze.
So, Director Gabbard, you, in your opening statement, talked about the threats to the homeland and the changes that you've made as it relates to the border and the changes that the president has made. After 4 years of open border policies under President Biden, during which cartels and gangs expanded their operations into American cities, what specific actions has ODNI taken to disrupt these criminal cartels and networks and stop the fentanyl poisoning and murdering U.S. citizens?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. We've taken several actions to be able to get after this threat that the president made a priority. Number one being making historic shifts in intelligence collection towards addressing this threat. I believe it is the biggest shift in intelligence capabilities that we've ever seen, or certainly in a long time. The integration and cooperation between our National Counterterrorism Center with the DEA and other Department of Homeland Security elements is also unprecedented. We have taken and coordinated the collection of individuals, known and suspected terrorists, known and suspected cartel members, leaders, and in inputted that into the TIDE system, which has radically increased and improved our ability to identify those who are cartel and gang members trying to enter our country and those who may already be in our country. National Counterterrorism Center has been working again in coordination with our interagency partners to get after the financial networks that these cartels and gangs rely upon to be able to continue to fund. As Director Patel has spoken about, we have national counterterrorism elements that sit within the Joint Terrorism Task Forces and support the interagency efforts to continue to get after this threat very effectively.
Thank you. Director Patel, Mr. Cohen was asking you about a recent firing of counter-espionage agents with Iranian expertise. You and the FBI are taking, will continue to take, all required steps to keep the American people safe during President Trump's historic military action against an oppressive and evil Iranian regime. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and there's 36,000 people employed at this FBI, and I reject the notion wholeheartedly that the termination of those that were weaponizing law enforcement are the only ones that can do the mission. There's a 43% increase in counterintelligence and espionage arrests just related to Iran alone, which is a record year for the FBI.
Well, and you plussed up nearly 1,000 agents in the field throughout the United States since this has occurred?
Yes, sir.
And there's a document that you posted on X, and I think that's what you have in front of you, about all of the wins and the changes that the FBI has made under your leadership and President Trump's leadership during 2025. In the little time that I have remaining, could you just highlight some of that for the American people?
Thank you. Under the Trump administration, this FBI has literally had a historic year. We have 112% increase in violent offenders arrested last year alone, a 20% decrease in homicides, 20% decrease in robberies. We have disrupted 1,800 criminal gangs. That's a 210% increase. We've seized enough fentanyl to kill 178 million Americans. That's a 31% increase. We have gone after the most vulnerable in our society, protecting children. 490% increase in arrests on those that prey on our children online. We have located, found, and identified 6,200 missing kids. That's a 30% increase. We have dismantled and taken down 1,700 child predators. That's a 17% increase. And those that wish to traffic our young American citizens and women, 300 human traffickers have been arrested. That's a 15% increase. And seven of the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world have been apprehended in the last 13 months. To put that into perspective, there was 4 in the prior 4 years. So this FBI under President Trump is fully stocked to get after every single fight we have, and these are just some of the statistics. So I thank you for letting me highlight those.
Thank you. My time's expired.
Mr. Crenshaw.
Thank you all for being here in this marathon, two-day marathon. Appreciate y'all. I want to talk about FISA. Because we all have scars on our back from 2 years ago when we reauthorized FISA. I anticipated being easier this time, but I still want to go over the myths that the public believes and that many members of this Congress believe. Mr. Patel, I'll focus on you here. Myth number 1 has to do with 702 versus FISA Title I. Trump was targeted with FISA 702. Is that a myth?
That's a myth. It's not true.
Well, it's just real quick. How was President Trump targeted under Crossfire Hurricane?
Under FISA Title I, Title III authorities, information was presented to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, a search warrant to surveil individuals associated with the Trump campaign, which was later revealed through the House Intelligence Committee's work that the information collected was not only unverified, but individuals lied in that application, individuals that were government officials.
I think it's worth pointing out that whether this process was FISA or in regular court, it was still lies told by the people trying to get the warrant. It had nothing to do with FISA. It was simply the people trying to get the warrant were lying. Okay, myth number 2. A query means that we're spying on Americans, means we're reading their inboxes, we're getting inside their text messages, all of that. Is that true?
No, I'm going to borrow General Hartman's answer. A query of 702 is pursuant to lawfully collected information of non-U.S. citizens overseas.
Right, so if you query an American citizen, are you accessing their inbox?
No.
You're just seeing if they have spoken to somebody who was a foreign intelligence officer, let's say, and you would know they've spoken to them because they would show up as part of that conversation.
In foreign intelligence collection.
In foreign intelligence collection. So if you wanted to get inside their inbox, you would have to get an actual warrant under current law, right? A U.S. person.
A warrant or a subpoena process, yes, sir.
Okay. So that's a really important distinction.
Congressman, if I could just,
Sure.
but you wouldn't use FA 702 to do that.
Yeah, idiot.
Correct.
To get in the, I just want to be clear about that.
Yes, you would not. You would use your regular court process.
No authority under 702 to collect intelligence intentionally against U.S. persons.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, so when somebody, and let's say their name rhymes with, I don't know, Tucker Carlson, is claiming that the CIA is spying on him,
That's his
I'm
name,
going to guess
though.
here, because I don't know, I'm going to guess that the most likely scenario is that in the process of him speaking with Iranian intelligence officials, it is incidentally collected. Nobody is spying on Tucker Carlson or his inbox, to my knowledge at least. Number 3, another myth. A warrant requirement, should it be required by...
Wait, is this guy talking shit? After he tried to kill me? No shot. That guy.
law is it's for a simple query that should be easy to get, right? What's the problem? It's easy to get a warrant. We do it all the time. Would it be easy?
In my opinion,
I'm sorry,
no.
bro. I just don't trust that guy.
And the reason it wouldn't be easy is because oftentimes these queries are part of a very typical analytical process, and they would not meet the judicial standards of probable cause. And I've seen many examples of this. I would love if you guys had some examples that are declassified. I've seen them in a classified session. So I guess my point is, and now that we've debunked these myths, is you put that warrant process on a simple query, you're taking away our analysts' ability to connect the dots from the outside actors, which we can collect on. They have no constitutional protections, but you're removing our ability to connect them with the inside actors, which is kind of where it matters. It's like giving up when you're right at the goal line. That makes zero sense to do, and that's exactly what this would do. I've already heard Director Ratcliffe's answer on this, but 18 months clean reauthorization, is that, I don't know where that number came from, but would you rather have it longer?
As Director Ratcliffe said, I'd like 5 or 10 years.
Okay, me too. We went over that really quickly and well. I'll yield back. Thank you.
Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, panel, for being with us this morning. And let me start with Director Gabbard. You've heard from Mr. Stubbe, you've heard from Admiral Jackson, you've heard from Ms. Tinney, all this aspect of who we've encountered at our borders, north and south. And during the Biden administration with the open border that has been overly discussed today at length, there's this known and suspected terrorist, and I want to congratulate the Trump administration for getting, I think, 1,300 people identified out of the country under your 13 months, so congratulations on that. But for 3 years, in both classified and unclassified sessions here, I've raised this issue that we don't have the data and we don't track it in a fused way, meaning Border Patrol, TSA, FBI and follow-up, DOJ and prosecutions. And we don't really have that at our fingertips for oversight purposes. And I asked you at last year's Worldwide Threats, would you commit to helping us achieve, as the ODNI, that fused data? You agreed, but it was only 3 days ago I got that commitment from you in writing. So let me ask you again, can you help drive that process across the bureaucracy to get that regularly provided to the intelligence committees?
Sir, thank you for the follow-up on that. We have continued to work to improve that consolidated use of systems that will better help us identify who is in our country, who are known or suspected terrorists, to include those who are members or leaders of cartels and gangs and drug traffickers. And we're continuing to pursue that, particularly with the Department of State and their screening and vetting practices, as well as the Department of Homeland Security's. I will say that there has been a drastic improvement in our own screening and vetting systems, and that coordination is occurring, but there are still some silos that need to be broken down.
Also, in follow-up to the discussion today, I heard my friend from California, Mr. Barra, assert that President Trump's action in Epic Fury was unconstitutional. Do you think it was unconstitutional, the decision taken by the president?
That's a legal question, sir, that I believe has been asked and answered by the White House counsel.
But don't you think in Article 2 power in the War Powers Act, the president has the right to defend American interest, allied interest?
He does.
And he can do that for 60 days? And did the president and you consult with the Gang of Eight in Congress before the president took military operations?
My understanding is the Secretary of State fulfilled that responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's clear. I don't recall President Obama, for example, declaring war for 7 months of operations in Libya. So I think there's a lot of hypocrisy here as we try to defend American interests. Wow. Mr. Klein asked you about, and made a good comment, I thought, about, and he talked to Director Patel about this, on this issue of Winter Shield and doing a better job of coordinating offensive and defensive cyber here in the homeland. And I think that's another place, Director, where I think you should play an outsized role to coordinate, again, this issue of all operations. I'm very concerned that we don't have a fused, I'm going to use that word again, civil defense posture on cyber defense because we're too compartmentalized. We're too siloed between who's with the military and not with the military, who's got classifications and who doesn't. Would you work with me on trying to design a way for our governors, our private sector, the FBI to work better on countering state actors in our private sector?
Yes, sir. I would look forward to working with you on that. And we'll just comment, this would have to be done in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security and CISA, given their statutory responsibilities. The integration and coordination with the private sector remains one of the biggest imperatives, but also in some cases challenges for folks who choose not to work with the U.S. government.
I agree. I sit on the CISA subcommittee here, and I'm very concerned about it. And I think our whole committee's been concerned about the assessment we have on offensive cyber, so we look forward to that. Finally, Director Ratcliffe, thanks for you being here, and it's wonderful to see you. Thanks for our decade of friendship. I want to say that I've traveled significantly with the chairman to Latin America, and I want to say your stations throughout the Western Hemisphere are doing an outstanding job. Would you say that we're back on track countering great power rivals in the Western Hemisphere?
Hell yeah.
I would. Thank you for the compliment
back,
for the workforce that I'm privileged to lead. And I do think the president's policies in making the Western Hemisphere a priority are really clear. Obviously, the success of Operation Absolute Resolve. It's funny, Congressman, no one's talking about Venezuela because things are going so well in Venezuela. But it really shows the commitment that the president has to taking care of business.
Not because he's starting wars with and doing horrible new things every day, and you can't even focus on a thing.
Central and South America. And I think that you'll continue to see continued progress with respect to that.
Thank you, and I thank all of you for your service to your country, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Before we dismiss, I'm going to ask all members of the audience, all members and staff to remain seated until the witnesses have cleared, giving them an opportunity to proceed to our closed setting, which we will reconvene at 11:30 to resume in HVC 304. With that said, please remain seated until the witnesses have cleared, and this proceeding is adjourned.
Wow. I guess.
Welcome back to a series. Awesome. It doesn't matter if grapes happen on October 7th. Hassan Piker quote. Classic. This person hijacked.
The N-word thing is like, yeah, we're creating Al-Qaeda. True. And despair. First Lady Rama Dawashi used the N-word in an X post from 2013. Brother, it was not called X back then, okay? It was called Twitter. And it was in 2013. Oh, my God. Tumblr included a post blaming white people for creating Al-Qaeda. True. And disparaging U.S. troops fighting abroad is not brave, nor are they fighting for anyone's freedom. Double true. Oh my God, the more I read about her, the more I'm like, she's cooler than Zoran. She's so much cooler than Zoran. It's crazy. Yeah, no, the N-word thing is like, yeah, she's 15. I don't give a shit, and neither do you. Don't even, don't try to come at me and be like, oh my God, it's not your place. Like, come on, okay? She was 15 years old. If you're really gonna stress this, in July 2015, New York City First Lady Rama Dawashi retweeted a thread that said, Tel Aviv shouldn't exist in the first place. Yeah.
Wait, was that edited in? Hold on.
2015, New York City First Lady Rama Dawashi retweeted a thread that said, Tel Aviv shouldn't exist in the first place. Yeah. She's so awesome, dude. Okay. Oh, maybe she should have ran for mayor. What would the perfect Zoran response to this be? I condemn my chud wife.
Do it.
I am divorcing her immediately, and I am marrying my true love, the nation state of Israel.
It's so cringe. What the f***? Maybe the Israel stuff is boring even to him now, but he has to force it so hard, and he's really trying to sell the reactions.
Right, so, Hassan having a real good time here, laughing and smiling. He found a fellow terrorist supporter. Hassan, for the first time in his life, he feels seen. He feels heard. He feels understood. It's really comforting for Hassan to see other people also support terrorists, just like, a real great guy right there. Real great guy, real role model for the people there. But little did he know that this would backfire super hard because Hassan constantly glazes this woman, and Hassan's fan base cannot tolerate that Hassan is glazing someone who said the N-word at one point. So his subscribers start confronting him one by one in a non-stop chain of rage baiting.
Those views are reprehensible and don't represent her anymore. If he says that, I will lose my mind, dude. Very arrogant of you to decide that people should be accepting of saying slurs just because of their age. Black people throughout their lives have had to listen to peers say slurs at them every day because people think they understand our culture. Sorry, I'm a white supremacist, I guess. It's obviously unacceptable at every age, but if you think that I'm gonna cynically lean into, great man, it's ridiculous, man, shut your bitch ass up. Shut the up, dumbass. Really? You want to lean into Zionist propaganda about the wife of a mayor who's being cyber stalked? Get the out of here, dude. Suck my dick. You are currently defending a Nazi government's Nazi-ass defenders by putting black bodies in spaces. How the does...
I like how for Hassan, like any bit of like criticism online is like cyber stalking. Like, what does cyber stalking mean to him? I feel like stalking usually implies some amount of like following and harassing or whatever. But for him, yeah, it's like anytime anybody's critical of anything he does, or I guess people around him is like him getting cyber stalked. The whole N-word thing with this with Zoran's wife though is super cringe. I also really wish that like we just need a whole different way to refer to like the soft A thing or whatever, or versus like N-word as a slur, because like I still don't think I would care. Well, I care a little bit more if she was like calling people the N-word as a 15-year-old. But when she's just like typing in like the N-word with the A, it's like, what is it? What happened? When she was like 15, she tweeted calling somebody like a ninja or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck cares? Why are we talking about this? And like everybody, like Brianna Wu and all the warriors, all of our Israeli warriors on Twitter are like desperately trying to cancel her. Like, oh my God, I can't believe she said this horrible. What the fuck? Racist is. I was like, this is really what we're talking about right now, really?
That feel? You're a black American in the United States of America, and you are actively participating in propaganda for the active, ongoing Nazi states initiatives to undermine and ridicule and bully anyone that places the humanity and the emphasis on Palestinian children. That's what you're participating in. Who do you think has it worse? You as a black American or Palestinian children that are being slaughtered? Shut your bitch ass up. Virtue signaling. Oh, I can't believe it.
N-word.
That's crazy, man.
Take some heat off her.
Crazy.
Call him the N-word.
Be smart. Be smart. You're an idiot.
Oh my God. Be smart coming from Hassan is absolutely diabolical. That is diabolical, right? But dude, honestly, never ask Hassan Piker what he thinks about black people. Worst mistake of my life. Never ask Hassan his opinion on black people. Bro literally morphs into a white supremacist instantly. Like, he said it. It's not even me. He's the one saying it.
When it comes to black folks, you really don't want to talk about us unless it comes from voting. When is the last time?
Oh, this is an older thing.
Time you spoke about Sudan? I'm going to you. Any other black folk want to engage in radical activist language in this chat? Suck my cock. You think you have a pass in here to speak like this? Go post a clip about how much of a white supremacist I am. Suck my dick. You don't understand black people. Shut the up. Black people care about the border. I don't give a fuck what black people care about.
But guys, can I just say, I love this, okay? His woke scolding audience, the one he weaponizes against absolutely everyone, to cancel any person who blinks in the wrong direction, right? To cancel Ethan for his Reddit post decades ago, right? He made a bunch of edgy jokes decades ago, and yeah, Hassan had no problem exploiting that. Also, I love how he uses the same tactics as he does against like swap tubers and Asmongold. He says, oh yeah, it's just Zionist propaganda.
Okay.